comrade Gui Xiaoyun. If you don't come clean with me right now, I'll report to your family that you've skipped classes and gone out with that wild boy to drive around. While eating, several of her roommates gathered around her with evil smiles. The girl being teased is the top player in the game who has always been dominating the score rankings, Yunyo Wu Gua. At this moment, she was being besieged by her unscrupulous roommate, looking extremely embarrassed. What are you all talking about nonsense? Gua Xiaoyun blushed and explained, I was really playing a game. Maybe the backup battery had enough power. After all, I bought it from Nanhu. You're just talking nonsense. The roommates rolled their eyes and thought to themselves, do you really think one section is better than 6? Moreover, they had already seen the inside of the game room, and there was no one there at all. One of the girls with the wine-red hair smirked, you guys shouldn't pressure her, she's a freshman in college and it's her first time driving out, so she's bound to be shy. She's not like you old hands who can effortlessly bring up sensitive topics about men after the fact. What is a man's sensitive spot? Xiaoyun hesitated and instinctively asked the drivers, what is it? In the cafeteria, a group of single dogs also perked up their ears, eager to hear the opinions of these female drivers. Of course, it's the thread, what else could it be? When Shanshan said with a roll of her eyes, and the coding another woman beside her chimed in, nanny or more. The group of brothers nodded continuously, not worthy of a senior sister with such extensive experience, who knows them so well. As the topic finally shifted away from herself, Xiaoyun heaved a sigh of relief, then, looking at the food in the bowl, she had absolutely no appetite. What's going on? I've been lying in the game pod for almost 3 days now, not having taken a drop of water, yet I have no sense of hunger at all? Hey, have you heard? Yesterday, a monkey escaped from Dream Island, and now the whole city is on the hunt for that monkey. When Shanshan suddenly shifted the topic, did a monkey escape? Upon hearing this, the expressions of those around her changed instantly. A novel virus has recently broken out in the federal South African region, rapidly infecting a large area of South Africa through monkeys. The transmission speed is extremely fast, and it is almost a 100% fatality rate. The situation has now caused great panic, with both the Federal Eastern and Western Alliances separately sealing off all channels there and conducting a comprehensive quarantine of monkeys imported from South Africa. This large-scale quarantine has led many zoos to voice protests, arguing that it is unnecessarily causing panic and greatly impacting the profitability of large animal reserves. Involving the interests of various capitalists, the quarantine work has encountered various obstacles in many places, yet the quarantine work in the central China region has been carried out extremely smoothly. The reason is simple. Throughout history, this land of central China has never had a large capital that could challenge the government. Even after the federation was established, the strong stance of the government remained unchanged. After the announcement of the quarantine, 80% of the zoos have been cooperative. Some, like the owner of this dreamy circle, after protesting, was reportedly summoned for a cup of tea yesterday and has not returned yet. The zoo was also sealed off on the second day, a project worth hundreds of billions, and the regional administration sealed it up without batting an eye. This instantly made the remaining zoo owners in the central China region become compliant. This may be a bit domineering, but the effect is also very obvious. Since the Federation was established 200 years ago, South Africa has experienced 13 major epidemics, with the most severe one almost sweeping over half of the D-globe. However, as the most populous region in Central Asia, it has never been affected. Federal citizens in Central Asia have always felt that those world-class plagues are far away from themselves, but even so, upon hearing that monkeys have escaped, their faces changed one after another. After all, it is said that tens of thousands of people have died outside, and there is still some unease in their hearts. You said, where would that monkey go? The red-haired senior asked curiously. Should be right in our university town. Suddenly, Gua Xiaoyun, who had no appetite all the time, said, ha? Upon hearing this, everyone around was momentarily startled, and several girls were so scared that the meat on their chopsticks fell back into the plate, scolding, you little brat, you've even learned to scare people now? Not scaring you. Xiaoyun casually played with the rice grains and said, the South African monkeys imported from Dream Island are the koala bear and the golden bear monkey, both distributed in the B14 area of the zoo. That location is surrounded by water on 3 sides, and the only way to escape is to pass through the B16 snake area, heading northeast from that part of the South Mountain. The direction you pass through is either the Panlong area or our university city. The Panlong area is the lighting area, and the entire route from the South Mountain is a highway. If you were to go that way, you would have been spotted by road control and caught long ago. Moreover, monkeys are arboreal animals, so heading towards our university city is the normal choice. The crowd, she said it sounds like it makes a lot of sense. Xiaoyun, a group of roommates stared blankly and asked, where did you get to know so much? Gua Xiaoyun was taken aback herself, then stroked her chin and said, 2 years ago, when it first opened, I went for a visit. You're just boasting. Several roommates rolled their eyes fiercely. You've only been there once and you're so familiar with it? You even know what animals are in which zones? And it was 2 years ago? Do you really think you're a child prodigy with photographic memory? Xiaoyun fell silent after hearing the counterargument, for she also felt that what she had said was rather incredible. Her memory was not bad, but she certainly had not reached the level of photographic recall. Moreover, even if she knew about animal distribution and could analyze the direction that monkeys took so clearly, did she really know the terrain of that area so well? She noticed that since she started playing that game and became a developer recently, it seems to happen all the time, that some casual memories from the past would suddenly pop up when needed, feeling as if her brain were a highly efficient intelligent computer. Are you so obsessed with playing games? Just then, a loud noise came from outside the cafeteria, followed by the sight of their bald deputy principal, accompanied by a group of people in military uniforms, walking in. The crowd was startled by the grandeur, but Xiaoyun merely narrowed her eyes, silently thinking, could it really be that accurate? According to her calculations, the route of the monkey to the university town runs from south to north, and her school is located under the South Mountain. It is highly possible that the monkey is hiding in their school. Classmates, please don't be nervous, the associate principal tried to smile reassuringly, but the smile was so ugly it was almost worse than crying, which only made everyone more tense. Surely you have also seen the news about the monkeys from Dream Island escaping yesterday. The military has tracked down the monkey and it has been successfully captured, and the crisis has been averted. However, since the monkey appeared at our school and we found that it was fed by someone 2 hours ago, it is very likely that there has been direct contact with that monkey. Therefore, please all students cooperate with the officers to find that person out. Hua Xiaoyun heard this and her face twitched, her mind racing. Suddenly, an extremely casual moment from her memory popped into her mind, causing her expression to turn dark. Just now, when Shanshan brought up the topic of monkeys, the with the auburn hair beside her body stiffened noticeably, and her expression flickered with a hint of unease. This scene, in fact, did not catch Gui Xiaoyun's attention when it was happening, as her mind was entirely occupied with thoughts of the game pod. She barely noticed her senior sister's unnatural expression, almost ignoring it subconsciously. Logically speaking, such an unintentional scene should be consciously forgotten by the brain. But at this moment, upon hearing the bald-headed principal's words, the accidental scene was instantly retrieved by her brain, and it was linked to the current situation. Although surprised by her own abilities, at this moment, Hua Xiaoyun was more concerned about the information conveyed by this scene. Could it be isn't that the case? When contemplating that possibility, Hua Xiaoyun's heart suddenly felt as if it had plunged into an ice cave? At this moment, all the students in the cafeteria were looking at each other in astonishment, feeling that the sudden plot twist was incredibly thrilling, and for a moment, they didn't know what to say. As everyone was bewildered, the officer behind the principal quickly scanned the expressions of the various cadets. Hua Xiaoyun's heart skipped a beat. Glancing at the pale-faced senior sister Xinya beside her, she suddenly thought of something and immediately sat up straight, blocking the instructor's scanning gaze with exquisite care. Yet Xin and the faces of the surrounding students had a distinctly different color, pale without a trace of color, obviously in a state of fear. Not really. Xiaoyun's expression grew increasingly gloomy. If the images just transmitted only showed this possibility, now, with her expression, she could almost be certain that the person the bald-head principal mentioned as feeding the monkey was her. Oh my god, does this senior sister have shit for brains? Everyone in the world has been talking about the monkey that changes color these days, and you actually dared to feed it? Even if you didn't see yesterday's news, wouldn't you find it strange to see a monkey suddenly appear on campus? How can your heart be so big? On the other side, the officer scanned the area and found nothing unusual. Furrowing his brow slightly, the principal, seeing this, hurriedly said, "Students, please rest assured, our Huazhong region is very strict in inspecting exotic species. That monkey is most likely in a healthy state, and this virus is not transmitted through the air. As long as you are not scratched, the chance of infection is almost non-existent. It's just in case, though, please come forward and admit it yourself so that we can help you immediately." The with auburn hair, upon hearing the words, her face turned even paler, and she trembled as she was about to stand up when Gui Xiaoyun quickly grabbed her. Joking aside, don't be deceived by that bald guy's gentle tone. As soon as the senior sister admits it, she's sure that everyone sitting at that table, including herself, would be quarantined, and not a single one would escape. Several 100,000 people? Upon returning to the base on Mars, Shiyu had not been there for long when she suddenly heard this news, and she sprang up from the bed like a spring, her face flushed with anger. What's going on? 301,496 people. The response was as mechanical as an intelligent machine. This figure only includes the data collected by the authorities. Some field data has not been recorded. CA asked hurriedly, has the epidemic been controlled? What kind of joke is that? Now, to Sia, every D-ball is a golden egg that can hatch a golden phoenix. She treats the thousands she has as treasures, buying dorms and consulting instructors, and he tells her that the direct loss is tens of millions? Of course, Shiyu, who had already treated D-ball as her private property, could not tolerate such a thing happening. How many tens of thousands of people? How much money had she lost? Intelligence. The D-ball Federation's Eastern and Western alliances have both imposed blockades on the South African region and sent volunteers and troops for support. However, according to this intelligence calculation, the virus mutating into an airborne form is only a matter of time, and the D-ball Federation is fundamentally unprepared. What would happen then? Shiyu heard the words and her heart skipped a beat, asking uneasily. The situation in South Africa is dire. Without a vaccine, there is a 65% chance of a widespread outbreak of the virus. Additionally, with the country's already unstable political environment, it is difficult to effectively organize resistance forces. There is an 85% likelihood of riots occurring. Preliminary calculations suggest that in the event of riots or a virus outbreak, the South African population could suffer losses of at least 10 million or more. What, 1,000 times? Shiyu's expression turned dark as she walked back and forth, and after a moment of silence, she asked, is there any way to resolve this crisis? Lord, you have just recruited new people and need to organize daily affairs, so you cannot leave the base. Moreover, this time, your personal presence is not as efficient as the efficiency of the players going there. Oh huh? Shiyu was taken aback. Players? What do players have to do with it? Do you mean to say? Intelligence, it's time for an epic mission. Shiyu, what kind of joke is that? He immediately understood what the smart system had in mind. It actually wanted to use players to prevent the outbreak of the virus. Has this intelligence gone mad? What kind of terrible product did I buy myself? Intelligence, is the Lord not trusting his people? Shiyu, I don't trust you, intelligence, Lord, you're jesting again, when have I ever disappointed you? Xie was slightly taken aback. This guy, apart from being a bit of a gossip, had indeed not disappointed him, at least not so far. However, he could not agree to such a crazy plan just like that, and thus raised the first question: what if we get exposed? Intelligence, no, this intelligence has investigated, South Africa is very backward, and most of the plague zones are equipped with primitive facilities, lacking multiple surveillance. Moreover, the situation is chaotic now. As long as the plan is well executed, it will never be exposed. Then what about the players themselves? Wouldn't they doubt? Shiyu questioned again. Intelligence, as long as the plan is well executed, those simple-minded Hulk players should be able to be deceived. Then what about the developers? Shiyu asked with a somber expression. To carry out such a task, surely a developer skilled in analyzing the situation would lead the team, right? Can they not see the problem? Intelligence, Lord, do you believe that without this incident, developers would not have become aware of the so-called lies of the game? Xie hesitated upon hearing the words, not responding, clearly accepting the AI's assertion. Now, the base is developing smoothly. Under intelligent design, those innocent players seem to have not discovered any flaws, but naturally, they will gradually find problems over time. For instance, in terms of physical evolution, although the bodies players evolve are not the same as their original ones, as their life level increases, their brain development will gradually enhance as well. By then, players will find that they can do things that ordinary people cannot. The fastest fermentation should be among developers, as their evolutionary direction is the brain domain. Now, everyone is still within the first-tier life category, so it's not too exaggerated. Developers will only discover their ability to project their spiritual energy when they enter the second and third tiers. However, even now, these developers should be able to detect anomalies. For example, memory, reaction speed, and brain computational ability will experience a qualitative leap, even to an exaggerated extent. Those with stronger adaptability may even find that their brain's computational ability is not inferior to that of computers. When they figure it out, the secret of the game will naturally not be a mystery to this group of people. The AI continued, Esteemed Lord, it is better to turn the passive into the active than to be exposed passively. By means of this mission, we can pre-explain the game's secrets to the developer players and sign a confidentiality agreement. This is that reliable? Shiyu worriedly asked, Of course. The intelligence system firmly replied, with a clever mind, it's natural to calculate the pros and cons. This is also a benefit of the developers. If the Lord still doubts, let's look at an example, shall we? What examples? Shiyu hesitated and said, Intelligence, there is currently a developer player caught in a virus crisis, who has been quarantined by the local military. If her choice is to try to reconnect to the game and seek our help, it proves that these developers know how to choose the right path. What if she chooses to leak the information? Shiyu asked back, this intelligent being would rather eat feces and commit suicide. Xie, for some reason, he suddenly felt an unexpected anticipation for the other person to leak secrets. People are mostly selfish. Xiaoyan realized this deeply only at this moment, because if she hadn't eaten with this senior sister today, even if they were very familiar with each other, she might have reported her under the excuse of public safety. Even if it's not openly reported, they would secretly tip off the instructor, wouldn't they? How could it be that they would instead prevent her from confessing? There have been data indicating that the majority of people infected with the virus are unwilling to be quarantined. Many, even though they know they are infected, still resort to all means to return to their hometowns, either to return to their roots or to seek revenge on society, or simply to see their families. Despite being aware that they may infect their family members, friends, or even their closest loved ones, the majority still choose to do so. There are many reasons for this. Some people are just hoping for the best, while others have given up entirely, which is hard for outsiders to understand. But only those who are in the midst of it know that in the moments when death is approaching, a person's selfishness can be revealed in the most vivid way. Xiaoyan is one of the many ordinary people who harbor such a sense of, as a well-educated college student, she naturally knows the consequences of a virus leak, which could potentially lead to the deaths of thousands or even tens of thousands of people. However, she still clings to a sense of, much like the bald school principal said, the monkey might not be a sick monkey, and everything might just be a false alarm. So there's no need to make a mountain out of a molehill. She didn't want to be isolated, even if it meant betting the lives of tens of millions of people. Xiaoyan, that with the auburn hair no longer had the appearance of an older sister, and she was scared, saying, I truly didn't mean to. Xiaoyan narrowed her eyes slightly, showing no trace of sympathy. In a situation where she might be infected by the other party, she had no mood to sympathize with them. However, at this moment, to prevent the instructor from noticing anything, she could only whisper to comfort her. Don't worry, senior sister, as you've heard from the bald instructor, the monkey is very likely healthy, and you were just feeding it, so there's no need to worry. Xian had been harboring a faint hope herself, and after being told by the other party, she nodded repeatedly, a look that made Xiaoyan's eyes bulge with emotion. However, she still had to encourage this mood of the other person. But will the school isolate all of us? Yet Xian worriedly asked. Impossible. Guo Xiaoyan shook her head and said, our university, including the teachers, has over 70,000 students. C City doesn't have the resources to isolate everyone. At most, they can seal off the schools and prevent us from going out. Should we block the school? Yet Xian immediately became anxious again. Seeing the other person's posture, Xiaoyan secretly complained, what a useless fellow. but had to continue to put on a reassuring demeanor, directly holding the other person's hand and saying, "Don't worry, as long as no one shows symptoms of the virus in these few days, everything will be fine once the monkey experiment results from over there come out." So yeah, Xian's mood slightly relaxed upon hearing this, but Xiaoyan's heart sank abruptly, because when she had held her senior sister's hands just now, they felt like ice cubes. In such a hot day, it's not possible for a person's hands and feet to be so cold, is it? Now take a close look. The senior sister's face is pale. At first, I thought she was scared, but now it seems truly unusual. How can someone be scared like this? Does that senior sister? You don't look too good. You might be interrogated separately later. Come have some chili to moisten your complexion. Yeah, Xian was taken aback and stammered. I can't eat spicy food. It's best not to be able to eat spicy food, as this makes it easier to show a flushed face. Don't Xian said pitifully. Xiaoyun, come on, open your mouth. At this moment, Xiaoyun's emotions were almost at the boiling point. Although she didn't want to admit it, she knew in her heart that she had a high probability of being tricked by this guy. She doesn't know if the virus can spread through the air, but it can almost certainly spread through saliva. If it were to spread through blood, it would be impossible for it to reach such a terrifying scale in the news so quickly. Sister, from the appearance of her body, it seems she has probably caught it, and those of us who had dinner with her are probably also. Oh, it's truly the worst-case scenario. Thinking of this, and seeing the other person still acting pitifully, Guo Xiaoyun couldn't help but wish to stab them with a chopstick. Yaxin also noticed the coldness in the other person's eyes, shuddered instantly, and dared not fluff up anymore. She obediently opened her mouth. In my heart, I couldn't help but think, how can this girl's eyes be so terrifying? What are you doing? The two female roommates sitting across the table saw Xiaoyun picking up large pieces of chili skin with chopsticks and stuffing them one by one into Xian's mouth, and their expressions turned eerie. Just now, there was a lively discussion in the cafeteria, with loud noises. They didn't hear the soft conversation of the two people opposite them, and upon seeing this scene, they were momentarily confused. Xiaoyun stuffed chili peppers into Xian's mouth while saying expressionlessly, "Sister, you don't look too good. I'm afraid she might be troubled by those soldiers." Xian nodded repeatedly with tears in her eyes, leaving the two in a state of disbelief, silently thinking, can there be anyone more troubled than you? The principal at the door, seeing no one admitting to it, grew a stern look on his face. Since no one is admitting to it, please cooperate with the investigation. Everyone is to line up after eating and return to their dormitories in an orderly fashion. Under no circumstances are you allowed to leave the dormitory without permission. There will be guiding you to the cafeteria during meal times. Please maintain order and do not engage in any extreme actions. This statement caused an immediate stir among everyone present. What does it mean? Are they being imprisoned? What kind of joke is this? A group of people suddenly started a commotion, and the principal was about to speak further when an officer softly coughed and then stepped forward. Quiet. The officer's voice was deep, and combined with his stern face and the aura that set him apart from ordinary people, he immediately subdued the mischievous monkeys in the cafeteria. But Xiaoyun seemed very ordinary. The pressure exerted by the officer was vastly different from what she encountered with the soldiers she met in the game. She didn't feel any pressure at all. About the news of the virus, I'm sure most of you have seen it as well. This virus is extremely dangerous, and even with a 1 in a million chance, for the safety of you and the people outside, we have no choice but to do this. Also, please understand, this time, a whole battalion of Marine troops was transferred from the military district to fully seal off the school. Outside, there are fully armed soldiers. Please cooperate and do not make any extreme actions. People heard the words and their faces turned ashen instantly. Was this a naked threat towards them? However, most people were honest. After all, this was not online, and no hero dared to jump out and say something playful like, "You have the guts to kill me." Even in the face of a threat of force, even from a group of mischievous children, they are still very aware of the times. Xiaoyun continued to feed chili without expression. Only until the senior sister's face turned bright red did she put down her chopsticks, nodded, and said, "Yes, your face looks much better." Yaxin, where is normal? My lips are all swollen. Xiaoyun ignored her and stood up, raising her hand and smiling. "Principal, we've had a good meal here." The principal and the officer both hesitated slightly, feeling that the girl seemed either too naive to understand the situation or too relaxed to keep a straight face, yet she could still smile so brightly? But little Yun's face was smiling, yet her heart was filled with immense anxiety. She had to hurry back to her dormitory. In this nearly desperate situation, she knew in her heart that she had not reached the end of the road. As long as she could return to the game pod, as long as she could get back into that game, that particular game, it could save her. Xiaoyun, look at how you've bullied your senior sister. Her two roommates, feeling sorry for the whose mouth was swollen like a sausage, glared at Guo Xiaoyun with a look of reproach. Yaxin, what the hell? Guo Xiaoyun gave a resentful roll of her eyes, too lazy to pay attention to them, and directly peered out the window, her mind racing. A standard brigade in central China usually consists of 1,500 people. Tianfu district belongs to the Southwest Division, so the nearest troops to be called upon should be the garrison troops of the Yangtze River Division. As it is a special area, the composition of a brigade may be a bit larger than in other places, possibly around 2,000 people. Their school covers an area of over 5,200 mu, with 4 campuses, A, B, C, and Hushi. The total floor area of the school buildings is nearly 1.6 million square meters, and even excluding the old campus, it is nearly 600,000 square meters. It is impossible for a battalion's troops to completely seal off this area. The school has a park-like exterior wall, and adults can easily climb over in many places, making it impossible to completely encircle the school. Therefore, as long as one breaks through the dormitory blockade, it is still possible to escape. Xiaoyun looked outside, silently calculating the best route if she were forced to flee. After all, she couldn't be sure whether the game was exactly as she had imagined in her heart, so it was best to prepare for the worst. Xiao Yun, you're being addressed. Several roommates, seeing that she wasn't responding, and the senior sister kept whining, all of a sudden their faces turned, staring at her. Guo Xiaoyun turned around finally, looking at the two senior sisters who were still in the dark and the one acting pitifully beside them. Feeling a surge of impatience, she waved her hand and said, I need to go play the game and complete tasks. You guys can rest on your own. I'll be out before lunch. Don't disturb me if there's nothing important. Walking without looking back, he entered his room and shut the door, and even the other roommates could hear the click of the lock. Hey, what attitude is that dead? Her short-haired roommate immediately got angry. Alright, maybe it's just from being startled. When Shanshan coaxed softly, making it sound as if we hadn't been frightened at all, why would you take it out on your senior sister? Did she provoke you or something? Her short-haired roommate was indignant and couldn't calm down. Beside her, Xinya, with her eyes hidden behind her hands, revealed a hint of shyness, still lowering her head and whimpering without speaking. Welcome back, player 117, Rain Girl with no grapes. The familiar voice resounded, causing a spark of joy to flicker in Xiaoyun's eyes. She had already checked the game pod once before entering, confirming that it was indeed devoid of electricity. With a tentative heart, she lay down inside, opening the screen as usual. The screen still lit up. If it wasn't because the Nanhu battery had mutated, then it must mean the game chamber had been modified. Certainly this is definitely not a serious game. With the intelligent prompt, Xiaoyun strolled out of the nutrition chamber, looking around at the familiar surroundings, and said softly, Is it okay? Just letting me out like this, aren't you afraid that other players might get infected with the virus? And unlike those giants or elves, their developers don't have new bodies, nor do they need to return to their original flesh in a nutrient chamber when they log off, so she guessed that her current body was that one on the D-ball. An unknown virus has been detected, but its level is below level 1, and it does not possess the infectivity to break through the immunity of level 1 lifeforms. Please rest assured, players. Guo Xiaoyun shuddered upon hearing the words, though she had guessed as much. Upon hearing the other party's admission, the tense nerves in her body relaxed slightly, and she silently thought, saved. Please players follow the route map instructions and report to the Lord's house. Guo Xiaoyun nodded in obedience, knowing that her fate was now entirely in the hands of that so-called Lord. There is a separate residence for the Lord within the base, which is normally off limits to players. Seeing the Rain Girl heading towards it, the surrounding players began to chatter once more. Player A, is there another new task? Player B, this is unfair, always prioritizing those with high scores. We low-level players have no sense of experience. Player B, that's right. Watching the group of green giants with their ignorance and envy, Guo Xiaoyun sighed softly, thinking to herself, bricklaying is truly pitiful. As they journeyed into the Lord's chamber, with the protective door closing behind them, Xiaoyun remained silent, gazing at the towering Lord seated before the table. Xie gazed at her most outstanding developer, her feelings complex. She was both pleased that the other party was indeed outstanding, knowing to seek help here first, and regretted that she couldn't see the intelligent feces eater. But to be honest, if the AI loses, what form will it take to swallow shit? Does controlling a machine to swallow shit count? Am I really being tricked again? Do you have nothing to say? After a long silence, Shiyu gave a light cough and then asked proactively, Is there anything on your mind? Xiaoyun fell silent for a moment before looking up and saying, That's what you call a fraudulent contract. In our place, such contracts are not considered valid. Cough cough. Shiyu choked, surprised that the other party would bring up this matter first. Feeling quite embarrassed, annoyed, he asked, Shouldn't you be more concerned about your own situation at this moment? What is there to worry about? Xiaoyun rolled her eyes and said, The AI just said that the virus cannot infect lifeforms above level 1. I checked the information, and I am also a level 1 lifeform, right? The virus should be ineffective against me, shouldn't it? Xie covered her head, hence it can be said that having overly intelligent subordinates is not necessarily a good thing. Are you really planning to keep us working for free like this? Xiaoyun continued to ask pointed questions. How could that be? Shiyu said seriously, I am a benevolent lord, how could I do such shameless things? Xiaoyun, so when are you going to issue the salary? Young person, don't always bring up money. As a new employee, you should be more concerned about your own growth and future. You should care about how much you can accumulate and how much contribution you can make, rather than constantly asking your boss for a salary. Xiaoyun, so you're just not willing to give it? Shiyu, this guy is truly immune to persuasion. It seems the strategy of concealing information from the public must continue. Just think about how simple and uncomplaining these people were when I was a player, working overtime without any complaints. Money, what is that? No one even mentioned it. Now, upon realizing that I am an employee, I have transformed into that ugly, money-grabbing demeanor. Cough, you are not yet regular employees. The master has spent a great deal of cost to evolve you, and no company would spend resources to cultivate people without compensation. Can you understand this point? Guo Xiaoyun hesitated for a moment, and with no idea that her genes were only worth 15 yuan, she naively nodded, unable to refute for a while. But the master of abilities is not a stingy person either. Alright, the virus intelligence on you has extracted a sample, and an antidote has been made from your immune serum. This time, the master will issue a large-scale task, and you will lead the command. If you can perfectly resolve this virus crisis, the master will make an exception and allow you, and in turn, to enjoy the salary of a regular employee. How about that? How much? 500. Daily wage? Dream on? Of course, it's monthly salary. Xiaoyun, what kind of joke is that? We earn more than 500 yuan a day just by carrying bricks. Shiyu, young people, don't take advantage of the fact that I'm an alien to make up nonsense. I've investigated the bricklaying situation in your area, and the most they pay is 150 yuan a day. Xiaoyun, I made a mistake. A day operating an excavator is not just 500. Shiyu coldly smiled, casually pulling up a set of recruitment data, which read, high salary of 8,000 yuan for excavator operators, including meals and accommodation. That's also a monthly salary, isn't it? Your monthly salary of 500 is too low, right? Even selling plastic water bottles for a month wouldn't earn that much, would it? Shiyu, that's because you don't know the purchasing power of our celestial currency. In your central China region, 100 federal coins can't even buy 10 gene of apples, while here, 100 can buy a truckload. For an ordinary resident on a level 7 planet, having an annual income of 500 celestial coins is considered a well-to-do family. How can you still complain that it's not enough? Is that so? Is it really? Xiaoyun doubted, but I saw that set of mecha on your planet the other day, and it seemed like it would cost over $1 billion. That is the cutting-edge product in the high-end market, of course not something you can afford now. When you evolve to that level, you will naturally have that purchasing power. If you want to move towards the direction of control, then. As soon as he heard about the chance to own the mech, Xiaoyun, his eyes lit up instantly. Ultimately, half believing and half skeptic, he was coaxed out by Shiyu. After Xiaoyun left the Lord's chamber, an intelligent voice echoed, shouldn't mechs be matched for the people by the Lord? It seems that Lord's words imply that they are supposed to purchase them themselves? Isn't it what you said to follow the games? I took a look at the game on this planet, and don't those players have to spend their own money to buy equipment? Intelligence, you actually plan for them to pay for their own weaponry and equipment? Cough, this will be more like a game, won't it? Lord, you've turned bad. You weren't like this before. Were you duped by those goblins? Shiyu, shut up. On the second day of the Lord's return, the originally listless Lu Lei suddenly came to life upon seeing so many NPCs, and with great enthusiasm, he observed for a full day before starting to write his second guide in the morning glow column right away. Hello everyone, it's me again, your beloved Lao Yi. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude to all the netizens for liking my last strategy post. It has been a month since it occupied the top spot on the game thread hot search, and it has never been surpassed by the humorous post Jigu teaches you to eat dumplings. I am deeply relieved. Many friends have been urging Lao Yi to update the second post. Here, Lao Yi would like to explain that it's not that I don't want to update, but there really isn't much to update. The initial stages of the game only have so much content, and everything that needed to be said has been covered in the first post. There isn't much more to say in the second post. Fortunately, although the pace of this game is slow, we still know that it cannot remain unchanged indefinitely. 3 days ago, the Lord individually selected the top player from each race with the highest honor points to accompany him back to the Grand Alliance for a procurement mission. Grandpa, I am honored to be the representative of the Wood Elf. First, let me share my experience with this mission. Firstly, Grandpa wants to say that this game is definitely not a half-finished product. I know that recently, as the popularity of this game has gradually increased, many companies have hired internet trolls to bash the game. Grandpa, I am truly impressed. There are only a few thousand players in the game, yet there are nearly 700,000 one-star reviews from different users in the review section. Some even go on at length to criticize it as a half-finished product. I really want to ask, have you played it? Have you played it? You fucking played it. Why don't you show your ID? There are only so many players in there, usually all crowded in the beginner village. If you give me a name, I can absolutely prove your existence. Below, Grandpa first presents a series of screenshots, which can prove Grandpa's words. These screenshots come from the scenes we have experienced during our mission journey, including thousands of miles of interstellar trains, a college scene resembling a celestial palace, and a super large free trade market, especially the trade market. Its scale far exceeds Grandpa's imagination. A single market may feel larger than our entire city, and we walked for 3 hours, yet we could still see countless shops. The variety of goods is dazzling to Grandpa's titanium alloy dog eyes, with items ranging from high-tech products to magical props, interstellar monsters, and even mechs. Yes, this game features mechs. Here, I would like to apologize to all the players I previously advised against choosing the career of a developer. The latest news is, only developers can become mech pilots in the later stages of the career, and besides mech pilots, developers can also choose to be magic users. Those who have fallen into this due to Grandpa's last article and have not chosen to become developers, Grandpa sincerely apologize. In fact, Grandpa is also very aggrieved. The game is so secretive that who in the hell would know that such a shitty profession has such a bright future? And who would have thought that a sci-fi game would even have a wizard? However, Grandpa still has to say that the profession of a developer is extremely boring in the early stages, akin to a production line worker. The better ones, like the rain goddess Dala, are immersed in various algorithms, and the fun is far less than that of the fairy and the green giant. If you can't bear it, Grandpa still doesn't recommend this profession. Now let's talk about the changes in this game. There is a new batch of NPCs hired at the base, seemingly for our advancement guidance. The largest group is the developer advisors, who offer guidance in disciplines such as mechanical engineering, chemistry, biology, agriculture, and even medical science, according to the Lord's regulations. Regardless of whether you want to advance into the wizard line, mecha warriors, or other spiritual professions, you must choose an engineering discipline to study. Those who aspire to become mecha warriors must master both mechanical and mechanical engineering disciplines. This is just like taking a university course over again, learning knowledge in a game. Grandpa, at my age, I've never heard of such a thing before. What a positive and exemplary game it is. Once again, my condolences to the developers and players. Certainly, the best news for developer players has to be those several magic-focused advisors in the base. The magic department has a total of 4 mentors, each teaching arcane, elemental shaping, prophecy, and demon specialization. The magic specialties are so finely divided. I wonder how the later combat system will be, since everyone is just beginning to receive instruction. Grandpa me isn't clear on the characteristics of these 4 magic professions, especially the prophecy line. What exactly is this thing used for? During combat, will the prophecy specialty use a left fist strike or a 1,000-year-old killing move? The Green Giant has many mentors as well, totaling 16 with the formidable chief instructor. P.S. That headmaster is truly formidable. Unlike the complex developers, it seems that the Green Giant is a definite warrior race. According to the Lord's regulations, Green Giant players can apply for teaching after accumulating 200 hours of brick moving. So, the newcomers should just, don't complain. We've all been moving bricks for 2 months before you, okay? Moreover, applying for teaching requires points. Where do you get points if you don't move bricks? The teaching content is all about combat systems. Grandpa, I'm going to get a general understanding of it. It's mainly divided into 2 major categories, the frenzy system and the weapon specialization system. The specific training content of the frenzy system seems to be about guiding the blood to become frenzied. I've interviewed 2 players who have learned about frenzies, and they said that when they are frenzied, they feel like they can do anything, but after 5 seconds, they have a feeling of exhaustion that can kill them, and the contrast is incredibly satisfying. The specialized training for weapon expertise is rather straightforward, focusing on the training of cold weapons. There are 10 mentors, each corresponding to 10 different types of cold weapons. Currently, the most popular are the gun series and the axe series, while the least popular are the bow series and the iron fist series. However, regarding this point, Grandpa, I am somewhat curious. This seems to be a science fiction game, and Grandpa has seen such large scenes before. It's set in an era with mechs and warships. What is the use of this cold weapon training, though? The last one remaining is Arwood Elf Mentor, and I don't know why, but Arwood Elf Mentor is now only one, a very beautiful and cute girl, just like someone stepping out of a painting. This girl's current job is to guide us with sprites into formation. For this statement, Grandpa, I still don't understand what it means. After a day of guidance, everyone has become bizarre, with the smaller changes being from a sphere to an ellipsoid, and the bigger changes turning into a blob of soap. This Grandpa turned into something resembling an ice cream. According to the young female mentor, the formation of an elf is a very important process, and different forms can predict one's future profession. So, Grandpa is curious, what kind of profession will that soap become in the future? One more piece of news, just now, the Lord announced that there will be a large-scale cooperative task in the future. A group of players with excellent training results will be selected to participate. The specific criteria were not mentioned, but Grandpa estimates that he doesn't stand a chance. Since the last time I was squashed by that guy, the Liver King, on the planet, Grandpa seems to have come back with a new body. The Grandpa who was already familiar with the externalization of spiritual power now has to adapt all over again. Grandpa guesses that this game is a death reset system, where although you can be reborn, the evolved body you had before cannot be replicated. So please be extremely careful when executing missions outside, and never touch things you shouldn't. Grandpa, I am a case in point. Originally, I was the first player of the elf class, but now, after being reborn, I am struggling to keep up with some newbies as a guide. It seems like this mission won't be mine this time. That F*** god of grinding must have had a chicken's awful ancestor. I will fight with him to the end of my life. Alright, that's all for today. If there are any new developments, Grandpa will update them as soon as possible. Also, if there's anything that hasn't been mentioned, please let the big shots in the game correct me. Grandpa is off to find a wife for guidance. See you all later. Shiyu, after reading the post, habitually scrolled down. The post had only been up for half an hour, yet the comments section already showed over 10,000 comments. The missing person has finally returned. Hey, you should talk more about it. Are there any requirements for the wizard profession? Can one definitely become a wizard just by choosing the developer? Exactly, you just keep saying your counselor is beautiful. Give us a screenshot. Wow, this train screenshot is awesome. Where did you get the art designer from? They're F*** amazing. This mech is so cool, I tell you. Look at the details, the texture. I've decided, I want to be a mech pilot. I'll study mechanical and electrical engineering, and if necessary, I'll go back to college for another round. By the way, are the mechanical and electrical engineering specialties inside reliable? Will what I learn be useful in real life? Grandpa, are you sure you've turned into ice cream? A pile of shit is still shit, isn't it? No one's laughing at you. By the way, speaking of elves determining their professions based on their forms, what profession would you be? A dung pusher? It seems that no one doubts the game's peculiarities. After reading the comments, Shiyu nodded contentedly. So as long as a confidentiality agreement is signed with the developer and players, it should still be possible to keep this hidden for a long time. What's the deal with this mission, is it or not? Shiyu is somewhat worried. According to the intelligent big data calculation, the outbreak of the virus and the outbreak of unrest are likely to occur in a month, while the task planning time is 7 days, which means players only have half a month to train. Can they really be sent to execute the mission? Thinking of this, Shiyu once again began to worry. Indeed, it's hard to be a boss. Snap. A familiar unlocking sound echoed, causing the 3 people in the dormitory to flinch, thinking, it's time for dinner. The school has been locked down for 3 days now, and without the internet, several girls can only gather together to gossip to kill time, but obviously, Guo Xiaoyun did not participate in their boring activities. But they discovered Guo Xiaoyun's abnormal behavior. This guy had no electricity the other day and no internet these 2 days, yet he claimed to be playing games. Apart from mealtimes, he was locked inside all day long, not even going to the bathroom. If she didn't show up for meals at every mealtime, even out of politeness, her roommates would even wonder if she had become a fairy. And she's incredibly precise about the timing of the meal breaks. Every time she comes out, the soldiers at the gate will soon them to go eat. Certainly, a few seconds later, the sound of soldiers knocking on the door came from outside. Time to go out for dinner. Several people quickly got up to tidy themselves up and stood obediently at the door. The soldier reminded that there's only one chance, and if you miss it, you won't be able to have this meal. Because on the first day, they deliberately ignored them, resulting in the whole day without anything to eat, and they could only watch as Guo Xiaoyun, that stubborn girl, returned with a round belly, looking enviously. Since then, several young ladies dared not act up anymore and went out to eat on time, always appearing extremely proactive. With Guo Xiaoyun's characteristic of being as punctual as a human alarm clock, they would almost always gather at the door as soon as they heard Xiaoyun's unlocking sound. Several people arrived at the dining hall quickly under the escort of soldiers and were seated at a 4-person table. During the school lockdown, students are only allowed to go out during meal times, accompanied by soldiers, entering the cafeteria in a highly orderly manner, and are forced to sit at tables designated by their dormitory units, without the freedom to choose their seats arbitrarily. The purpose of doing so is quite clear. If someone contracts the virus, this arrangement will minimize the spread, infecting at most one dormitory. At the dining table, Guo Xiaoyun ate as usual, wolfing down her food with a terrifying appetite, drawing a series of sidelong glances from those around. Several roommates are also baffled. Once such a quiet girl, how has she changed so much after being stimulated? Eating as if she's in a hurry, is it really necessary? It's bad enough just like that, but now she stares at them blankly after every meal, with an eerie gaze that's even more terrifying than the dead fish eyes of the ghost in the 5D movie. Jingzi, it's broad daylight, yet it's so terrifying that they almost drop their chopsticks. I said, can't you stop doing that? Short-haired roommate Yanan couldn't help but cover her head. Xiaoyun remained expressionless, still staring at them blankly. Can't you eat faster? I still need to go back to the game to complete my tasks. Due to the limited manpower of the army, the rule is to escort each dormitory back collectively. Since the roommate didn't finish eating, Xiaoyun couldn't leave alone, which is why there was a deathly gaze directed at the roommate after the meal. Bang! Yanan abruptly put down his chopsticks, clearly at the peak of his explosion. When Shanshan saw the situation and quickly put down her chopsticks, rushing to persuade before Yan interrupted, Xiaoyun, you should eat slowly in your daily life, eating so fast is bad for your health. Guo Xiaoyun remained unmoved, continuing to speak expressionlessly, in the game, we need to complete tasks, and the time is urgent. Where did the game come from? Xianya couldn't help but put down her chopsticks, frowning and saying, the school has been disconnected from the internet, what game are you playing? These past 2 days, the blockade outside the school has been causing chaos, with many media outlets closely watching the situation. How could the school dare let students go online and speak recklessly? They directly pulled the internet cables, but fortunately, they didn't resort to the extreme measure of cutting off the electricity as well. Guo Xiaoyun looked up and replied, single-player games? What single-player games? Are they fun? When Shanshan asked curiously, these past 2 days, she had also felt rather bored, as the women were always gossiping. Gossiping too much also got boring, and perhaps like Xiaoyun, playing some games might be a good choice as well. Funny, what's the name of it? Xiaoyun, the queen's 3,000 male slaves. The girls, when Shanshan suddenly covered her face, Xiaoyun, you should play such games less often, it's easy to become a pervert. Xinya echoed, exactly, and when can one play such games? Do we really need to be so eager even when eating? Are you that thirsty? This remark caused Wen Shanshan to furrow her brow immediately, feeling that her senior had gone too far. Xiaoyun raised her head and glared at the other party coldly, causing Xianya, who was unnerved by the gaze, to what's wrong with you? Isn't it? Every time it's like this, it ruins our meal, and these past few days have been bad enough already. Unhappy days are not self-inflicted by some people, aren't they? Xiaoyun coldly interrupted her, saying, Sister, your complexion has improved a lot these 2 days, you dare to shout so loudly to attract attention, do you think your body is fine now? Xinya suddenly choked up, fiercely glancing at the other party, but did not continue the argument. Xiaoyun saw the other person's appearance and her dislike grew even stronger in her heart. She actually didn't want to inject the antidote serum into the other person, but she couldn't help it. After all, she couldn't just let the other 2 roommates and herself perish together, could she? And once the entire dormitory was infected, but she was not, she would definitely be taken for research. Such a thing, she naturally could not allow to happen, so she had to sneak into the rooms of the other 3 girls last night and inject them with the antidote. Although the school's virus issue was resolved, she couldn't lift the school lockdown, as the authorities would undoubtedly impose a lockdown for a period of time to prevent the virus from spreading, and she couldn't openly inform them that the virus had been resolved. It's really nothing much anyway, she's usually a homebody who doesn't go out, the only trouble being these mandatory mealtimes. In fact, after learning the true background of the game, she realized that it didn't matter if she spent every day inside, because that place was real to begin with, she could rest and eat there, completely unnecessary to waste time in the cafeteria like she does now. And as a top student, she was instantly captivated by the new knowledge imparted by the NPCs. Every day, she was immersed in the ocean of new knowledge, unable to pull herself away. She longed to absorb every bit of new knowledge, second by second, and had no desire to waste even a moment on the unpalatable food served in the cafeteria. But she couldn't stay indoors either, otherwise, not eating for a few days would definitely raise suspicions among those around her. It would be if the soldiers forcibly entered her room and found her missing. That's why she had to eat so greedily. It was just her desire to return to the base as soon as possible and continue her journey through the ocean of knowledge. These days, due to her outstanding performance in several courses, several mentors have been marveling, and Shiyu has decided to open up the arcane course for her. She had always aspired to be a mech pilot, yet she was reluctant to become a wizard. However, when the knowledge of arcane magic was presented before her, she couldn't help but glance at it, and after that, she was instantly enchanted, constantly holding that tome of arcane basics close to her. Now, she is taking 5 basic courses plus 1 magical specialty, yet she finds it effortless to learn, feeling more and more that the developer's bloodline suits her perfectly. Now, she no longer envies those laborers toiling with bricks. Indeed, reading is truly interesting. Due to her exceptional learning ability, Lord Shiyu has finally confirmed that she will take on the role of the overall commander for this large-scale antivirus cooperation task. The task was set for 16 days later, and Lillian felt a bit worried, not knowing how long the blockade would last here. If the blockade hadn't been lifted after half a month, it would be very inconvenient for her to operate. After all, this task is not just about stopping the virus. Mom, I'm not avoiding blind dates, I'm genuinely busy. The company just took on new business, and I have to work overtime every night. Where do I find the time for blind dates? What? A female teacher and a D-cup? So what? A D-cup can't stop me from working overtime, can it? Son, finding a job is not easy for me right now. You don't need to keep worrying about that aspect. Once I'm done here, I'll contact you proactively, okay? That's it. I'll hang up now. I still need to fix the bugs for the manager. After hanging up the phone, Pu Yunchuan heaved a great sigh of relief, then directly turned off the phone and lay down in the game pod. While opening the game, I muttered discontentedly, I really don't know what my mom is thinking. She's always telling me to go on blind dates, as if going on a blind date would magically make me have a daughter-in-law. She's overthinking it so much. It's really fun to play games. So, programmers are not unwilling to leave their comfort zones, but they are very self-aware. Welcome player, GU2 Beautiful returns. The accumulated hours you have worked have exceeded 48, which have been automatically converted into points. As of now, your total points are 271. After a familiar prompt sound, Pu Yunchuan stepped out of the nutrition chamber and clicked the transformation button to switch to his green giant body. After a bout of dizziness, Pu Yunchuan awoke from a dimly lit room. Yes, it was from the room, not from some sand pile or some mining factory. After this lord returned, he not only brought back a batch of mentor NPCs but also provided them, the players, with independent dormitories. Dormitories are something akin to compressed files. As long as you find a slightly even terrain, pressing the decompression button will automatically form a small iron house. A 1-bedroom, 1 living room, and 1 bathroom apartment, equipped with all the amenities and decorated with a high-tech feel. This benefit has greatly earned praise from these Green Titan players. With the dormitory, they no longer need to be sent out to sleep on the sand because of their large size. Although the Green Titan is tough and sturdy, it's still not very pleasant to have to call for teammates every time you log in to dig yourself out of the sand pile. However, there are also drawbacks. With the room, one must always pay attention to the room's hygiene, and can no longer urinate or defecate anywhere as before. It is necessary to use the toilet converter in the room to solve this, and one must manually control the converter to transform their feces and urine into organic fertilizer crystals, which are then sent to the little elves at the Ministry of Agriculture. The game actually has bowel movements and urination? It's a bit too realistic, isn't it? After a round of complaints, Pu Yunchuan opened the system and accessed his schedule and information. Player, G, you are so beautiful. Race, Green Titan. Life level, first. Profession, minor. Accumulated points, 271. Attribute panel, strength, 1-6, agility, 0-4, spirit, 0-1, constitution, 1-9. Wow, the constitution has reached 1-9. ES heart leaped with joy. The Liver King ranked first is only at 2-0, so his constitution should also be considered outstanding. As long as he improves his skills further, the spot for this large-scale mission should be secure, right? Thinking of this, he hurriedly addressed the system. System, please help me schedule a mentor. Intelligence, alright, may I know which mentor you would like to schedule an appointment with? What is Professor Hyerxen's latest available slot? Inquired. Searching in progress. Please wait, player. The tutor Hyerxen is available in 4 hours. There are currently 27 players scheduled, with only 3 slots left. Would you like to book an appointment? My god, indeed, he is the most sought-after mentor. Thinking of this, Pu Yunchuan dared not hesitate and quickly nodded, saying, yes. Appointment successful. You have booked the mentor's gun combat expertise level guidance and the level battle chi guidance course. Please arrive at the designated training ground on time 4 hours later, and try to maintain your energy in the meantime, preferably not applying for work within 2 hours. Please note that once the reservation is successful, it cannot be cancelled. Please arrange your time properly and do not miss any classes, otherwise, the community will deduct the fee as usual. Understood. This game is indeed demanding, thought to himself. Since a group of training mentors joined the base, their relentless bricklaying life has finally changed, becoming training plus bricklaying. In summary, bricklaying remains the mainstream occupation, but now the points earned from bricklaying have a substantial effect. Generally speaking, on a public working hour basis, an average of 12 hours of bricklaying public working hours can be exchanged for 6 points, and 6 points can be used to apply for a 1-hour professional guidance class. They have a total of 16 professional mentors for their Green Titan program, with 5 specializing in radicalization training, and the remaining 10 focusing on weapon specialization training, with 1 overall instructor. The chief instructor is currently in charge of the basic training, mainly helping Green Titan players to strengthen their bodies and enhance their basic attributes. It has to be said that the chief instructor is incredibly imposing. His muscular physique is so persuasive that even though his classes are expensive, there's still a large queue of players waiting every day. Of course, in addition to basic training, the performance and skill training is also a criterion for evaluating participants in this large-scale task, leading many players to earn points recently. The skill course chosen by Pu Yunchuan is the weapon specialization route, currently focusing on the gun specialization. And unlike traditional games where you master skills with a simple ding, here it's truly a hands-on training. The mentor will teach you how to grip the gun and how to exert force, making it feel like a scene from a martial arts novel, and teaching it with great professionalism. And it's truly the kind that takes you from not knowing anything to slowly becoming someone who seems to be able to dance like a pro. It's incredibly interesting. He's seen the game's realism before, but he never thought the details would be taken to this extent. This is truly a masterpiece. Those dead trolls on the forum still keep calling it a half-finished product every day. These losers will only ever be able to make 5 cents per item in their lives. These martial arts feel very authentic. Where did the game planner gather the information from? Can it be used in reality? Pu Yunchuan often thinks about this question these days. Sometimes, when he sees the clothesline on the balcony, he can't help but feel the urge to dance with it, but he's afraid that his roommate might scold him for being a fool, so he hasn't dared to make such a foolish move. Looking forward to waiting for another 4 hours, Pu Yunchuan sighed softly. Gun proficiency is almost the most popular course in the weapon specialization series. After all, players are mostly from the central China region now. The popularity of the spear in the category of heavy weapons is extremely high among the people of central China. After all, in the ancient history of central China, famous generals were all known for using spears, while those who wielded curved swords or axes were either bandits or extras. There are still 4 hours left if we need 2 hours to maintain our energy. Why not start by moving bricks for 2 hours first? Pu Yunchuan thought to himself, after all, the points have been used up too quickly recently, one cannot only spend and not earn. Thinking of this, Pu Yunchuan decided not to delay any further. Skilled in his choice, he selected the nearest mining point, reserved a workspace, and then ran off. Therefore, he had to earn points by working on bricks and train to improve his ranking, leaving him no time to care about what size D cup was. Oh, how shamefully embarrassing. My schedule is once again fully booked. Don't these dog players ever work a day in their lives? What use are you, this group of parasites, to society? A Green Titan player logged onto Mars somewhere and immediately started to reserve a mentor, only to be prompted to wait for 6 hours, causing them to become extremely angry. In addition to the commandant, all warrior trainers in the game must be booked in advance. Typically, tutors can only teach 30 students at a time, according to the tutors, and beyond this number, the quality of teaching will decline. So those who want to attend guidance classes must make an appointment, and they can only be matched with players who are at the same learning level for the appointment. At first hearing of this rule, many players expressed confusion. With so many people in the base, wouldn't this rule make the mentors insufficient? But it turned out to be enough, because the content of that 1-hour guidance is something that you might not be able to digest even if you take 2 or 3 days off, not to mention the time spent on manual labor. Intelligence will automatically save your recordings for you to review at your leisure. Many players usually need to wait for 4 or 5 days before applying for a second guidance session. Those who apply for one every 2 days, like him, are seasoned veterans who have accumulated thousands of points. But his ranking has always been stuck outside the top 10. This player is known as Waste Like a Dog, originally a Green Titan player who was as famous as the Liver Emperor, and in the game, everyone gives him the respectful title of Dog Brother. But recently, my status has dropped. The reason is that I overworked my liver some time ago, was hospitalized, and my points were surpassed by a fairy with athlete's foot. To my surprise, I wasn't selected for that procurement task. Watching those guys keep posting screenshots with large backgrounds on the forum, Dog Brother couldn't help but secretly resent himself for not having 2 powerful dog kidneys like his name suggests. In fact, under normal circumstances, players would not experience such incidents, because although you work hard every day by farming in the game, your body on D-Planet is actually soaking in the base's nutrition bay, in a state of 100% relaxation. The fatigue players feel after logging off is merely a spiritual fatigue illusion. But this guy, in a desperate bid to surpass the Liver Emperor, seemed to be giving it his all. For the following days, he only logged off for 2 hours each time, and then frequently logged back on, causing his brain to constantly switch between fatigue and relaxation of the body. Eventually, he made a mistake, leading to shock and nearly losing his life. This matter was even mocked by the fairy who surpassed him, calling him reckless for daring to compete with the Liver Emperor without even investigating his background. Dog Brother, upon hearing this, became instantly, and actually went to investigate, wanting to know who this incredibly hard-working individual was. The result was that he discovered that the so-called Liver Emperor was an ordinary programmer by birth, and even someone who was completely bald by the age of 26, a real big shot, he indeed couldn't afford to him. After giving up on the desire to win first place, Dog Brother calmed down and focused on enjoying the game. In his daily work, he would loaf around as much as possible and wasn't very concerned about the points either. Surprisingly, upon the Lord's return, he initiated a major reform, directly opening the channel for professional training, giving the original points used solely for ranking display an immense purpose. And it also announced that there will be a large-scale task in the future, where players from various races will be selected to cooperate and execute it. This once again ignited Dog Brother's immense enthusiasm. After all, although the game's graphics are stunning and the details are perfect, spending the entire day mining and nothing but mining can eventually lead to some aesthetic fatigue. But after initiating the mentor training, it instantly enriched Green Titan's originally monotonous mining life, whether it was the strength and physical training by the chief instructor or the skill training by other mentors, all of which filled him with an overwhelming sense of novelty. This authentic sense of learning martial arts, one style at a time, cannot be experienced even in some of the top-quality wuxia games in central China. And the noticeable physical improvement after training, along with the sense of truly mastering the use of cold weapons, was so delightful that the reborn passion in him wished he could spend every hour of the day in the game. And the fact that he couldn't attend the last mission has been a thorn in Dog Brother's side, leaving him with lingering regrets. This time, he vowed that he would absolutely not fall behind again. However, the process of rushing for rankings was not smooth. In terms of training, as a player who once nearly caught up with the Liver Emperor, he had a sufficient amount of points stored. The key issue was time. Since he was hospitalized last time, he was forcibly added to the control list by the Internet Management Bureau, with a rule that he could not log in for more than 8 hours a day, and the game was also very cooperative, reminding him to log off promptly when it was about to reach the 8-hour mark. This has made it extremely inconvenient for Dog Brother, especially in the area of skill training. Skill training requires a significant amount of time each day to practice and digest. Moreover, after finally digesting the content, he often finds that the mentor is occupied when he wants to continue with the course, forcing him to quickly log off to avoid using up his precious online time. But it's so hard to bear the time after logging off. As a rich heir who doesn't have to go to work, in reality, besides spending money, there seems to be nothing else to do. Can't I just be left to live independently and strive for success in the game? Alas, what a world. After logging off, Dog Brother stretched lazily and slowly emerged from his luxurious gaming chamber. Clearly, this male player, named for his fierce-sounding name, was not as brave in reality as his name suggested. On the contrary, his complexion was pale, and at a young age, his hairline already showed the signs of a 30-year-old, clearly a result of poor sleep habits. "Hey, baby? You're back so soon?" A woman with a very gentle appearance asked with concern from inside the villa. Dog Brother nodded and then sat on the sofa, lost in thought. In reality, he was surprisingly silent and uncommunicative. The woman suggested, upon seeing the situation, "With such nice weather, why don't we go for a stroll? The old house isn't very pleasant." "Dog Brother, not going out it's hot, but that's what's good about it." The woman laughed. "When it's hot, the girls on the streets dress up cool, with long legs everywhere. It's the best way to beat the heat." Dog Brother smirked at the words, tilting his head away and saying, "Don't give me that. Every time I bring something back that you all don't like, in the end, who we end up associating with isn't decided by you. That's the bottom line. That's because you have poor taste. Every time you bring someone back, it's a gold digger. But the only thing that attracts girls to my son is money, right? If the girls who come back with money aren't gold diggers, then what are they? Virtuous women." Here, the boy, looking at his mother's beautiful face and then at the reflection of his own plain one in the small mirror placed beside the sofa, couldn't help but wonder aloud, "Mom, were you ever when you were fishing for Dad? Why haven't I inherited any of your beauty? Ahem." Upon hearing this, the woman spat out a curse and angrily retorted, "It's your father who's ugly, not to blame on me. With your father's appearance, how could I have combined you into such a form? My genes are already quite powerful, aren't they? Boy, my dad is so ugly, why did you marry him? Woman, he's rich. Boy, woman, actually, son, you're not that ugly, you're just a bit plain looking. If you could tone up your body, you wouldn't be too bad, but at such a young age, to have such a weak body, and to look so lackluster in terms of masculinity, it's really not right. Your dad didn't let you hang out with those troublemaking friends, and you end up staying at home playing video games all day. That's truly unacceptable." The boy lowered his head in silence, and to be honest, he was somewhat regretful. At around 14 or 15, his body hadn't fully matured yet, and he was led by a group of friends who indulged in alcohol and flesh every day, leading to his current state at just over 20 years old, feeling as weak as a 35-year-old man. "Alright, Grandpa's birthday is coming up in a couple of days, and everyone in the family is supposed to attend, along with many other families' younger generations to celebrate. You should behave yourself at home these 2 days, play fewer video games. I've had the housekeeper prepare some tonics for you to take, to nourish your complexion. It would be best if you also find some time to exercise, to look more energetic, that way. We don't want Grandpa to see us and have cold words for us again." "Ah." The boy's face fell instantly upon hearing this. The old man his mother referred to was his grandfather, a retired military officer, a strict and stern character who always disapproved of his mother's penchant for ornamental things and his own wastefulness. He usually tried to avoid his grandfather as much as possible. Moreover, the grand celebration would be attended by a host of his uncles and cousins, as well as outstanding young members of the family. There would undoubtedly be comparisons made, making such an occasion particularly troublesome. "Oh, wouldn't it be great if I could live in a game world, even if it meant slaving away at it for life?" The first week after the Lord's return was relatively leisurely. In terms of planning, intelligence was employed, and I could simply observe the effects. Although I had purchased a lot of supplies, due to the limited scale of players, they were all stored temporarily, and it was not yet time to show off my abilities. The most pressing issue for Shiyu today is how to expand the population base. The current population of 10,000 at the base has reached its limit. To expand recruitment, we first need to enlarge the base. In terms of base size, there's actually no problem. From the Lord of the Wine Immortals, he has purchased an ample supply of large-scale base vehicles. With 30 billion in supplies, he is more than capable of creating several substantial cities on this Mars. But there are several issues involved, the first being the insufficient mentor resources. Currently, even the players within the base find it extremely tense when booking mentors. These newly recruited mentor staff have to work at least 12 hours a day. Although the work is relatively light teaching tasks, it is clearly exceeding the working hours stipulated by the Federation, and I haven't mentioned overtime pay at all. If this continues, it will definitely wear down the enthusiasm of the employees. To expand the population, we first need to expand the number of counselors, otherwise there won't be enough educational resources. However, it's quite for a newly established lord to recruit people. I've posted on the talent network for a week now, and nothing has come of it. It seems I'll have to keep an eye on the website to see if there are any other recruitment events organized. The meaning of SMART here is to implement a point-based ranking system, where new players must work for more than 200 hours before they can apply for teaching like veteran players. This method can temporarily alleviate the situation, but it is not a long-term solution, so recruiting personnel is urgent. Another issue at hand is the matter of the Defederation Monitor and the on Mars. The location chosen by Shiyu is exactly where the federal countries have not explored, but once large-scale construction begins, it will inevitably be discovered. How to avoid these people is a problem. With the level of technology he carries, it wouldn't be a problem to block those detection vehicles and surveillance issues, but what if humans land on Mars? The D-Ball Federation's technology has actually reached the capability of leaving the solar system now. According to the data quietly investigated by the intelligence, more than 30 countries are capable of landing on Mars. The intelligence proposes to create accidents when they land, but Shiyu is not very in favor of it. The Shiyu, who considers everyone watching D-Ball as his private property, does not want to lose even a single future golden citizen, let alone a high-end talent who could become an astronaut. In this developing civilization, those who become astronauts are often exceptionally outstanding in terms of knowledge, application ability, and all aspects. They inherently possess an excellent physique with high adaptability, coupled with the qualities developed through later growth. To him, they are a rare talent, and of course, there is no desire for any loss. Unless an accident can be engineered to capture them, which is a highly challenging operation, requiring both the creation of an accident that makes the D-Ball contact station believe it's a routine plane crash and the rapid rescue of the people inside the spacecraft after the ship's signal is interrupted. A very precise plan is needed. If the players can excel in completing the task of preventing the virus outbreak this time, then it would be possible to try and organize such a task for them later on. When it comes to the task, Shiyu suddenly remembered that there was only 1 week left before the deadline, and she wasn't sure about the training results of the players. Shiyu originally wanted to directly view the test data provided by the intelligence, but then thought that the data was just superficial. To truly understand the progress of the players, she needed to ask the instructors. With this thought, Shiyu quickly walked towards the main school ground. The main training ground was constructed on a flat area not far from the main base. Considering the need for a quick deployment of teaching, Shiyu had purchased some facilities that were ready for training, thus ensuring that these highly paid employees would not have nothing to do upon their arrival. The training ground is of F-class, but it is more than sufficient for training some first-class lifeform dolls, and as for the equipment, Shiyu has bought all high-quality items, at least that Goblin told him so. The school ground is vast, with 3 levels, covering an area of nearly 10 square kilometers. The material used is grade 3 black cloud steel, with an excellent texture. The ground inside is paved with seamless crystal cloud tiles, utilizing the professional rune tempering technology of the Bronze Clan, which is both sturdy and aesthetically pleasing, and offers an excellent comfort when stepped on. At least on the surface, it seems quite worth the price. I hope I haven't been taken for a ride, Sia thought to herself. The main hall on the first floor is primarily for the numerous titans to engage in strength training, filled with equipment for physical and muscle conditioning. In the grand hall, the chief instructor Xanda sternly instructed a group of new titan trainees in standardized training. Shiyu did not disturb them but waited silently on the side. He knew that the instructor was busy, and the citizens had spent points to apply for lessons, so they would not want to be disturbed. Then he stood silently for nearly half an hour, and only after Xanda announced their free training did he slowly walk over. Xanda hurriedly straightened his body and respectfully said, "Lord." Xanda's respect is genuine. One reason is that he is very satisfied with his current job. The quality of these green titans far exceeds his expectations, and it is extremely easy to teach them. Moreover, the excellence is not limited to just a few. He is confident that with a little polishing, each of these green titans will be a formidable fighter in the arena. The second is the obedience of these highly qualified citizens to their lords. To be honest, it was the first time he had seen such a proactive populace, whether working or training. If it were not for the simplicity of these indigenous people, it could only mean that the lord's management is excellent. Whether it is one thing or another, it represents this new force, with a promising future ahead. How are you feeling, Xanda? Are you getting used to it yet? Shiyu asked gently. Habits. Xanda nodded with a foolish smile. The environment here isn't as bad as I imagined. The climate temperature difference is far superior to that of an average 8-level planet. Although I'm not very knowledgeable about construction courses, I do know that with a little modification, this kind of planet can easily be transformed into a livable 7-level planet. Moreover, both the facilities of the base and the training ground are very good. The working environment isn't bad at all. The only drawback is the food issue. Everyone is still consuming nutrient solutions at the moment, and although the quality of these nutrient solutions is not low, neither the taste nor the long-term effects on the body are very good. How are these little ones training? Are they outstanding? Shiyu asked with a smile. Although he couldn't see the Lord's smile, Xanda could tell the Lord was in a good mood, so he smiled broadly. They are all excellent, each with well-developed muscles, no deformation, and a great potential of active cells within their bodies. In these past few days, I've only helped them release those cells slightly. These little ones grow as if they were on a spaceship. To be honest, I initially thought the ones you brought last time, Lord, were the models, but then I found out that all your subjects are at this level. The tolerance of these indigenous people might not be less than 15%, I suppose? Shiyu smiled faintly, yet she did not respond. Seeing that the Lord did not answer this question, Xanda was not bothered either, and instead, they began to chat about food. Lord, you must prepare a large quantity of fresh meat quickly. After the children's cellular activity is released, their bodies will have a great demand. Relying solely on nutrient solutions will greatly affect their future growth. Shiyu nodded solemnly upon hearing this. The cultivation of warriors cannot do without fresh meat, and to cultivate high-quality green titans, high-quality meat is essential. It seems I'll have to visit the advanced farm I just bought later. However, before that, he needs to inquire about the specific cultivation status of several highly ranked green titans. As the Green Titan chief instructor hired by Shiyu, the skill training mentors have to submit detailed data reports on the trainees daily, and he then conducts targeted basic training based on each trainee's chosen specialization. The extreme specialization in frenzied enhancement primarily focuses on cell activity development. They engage in a lot of anaerobic exercises, high-pressure workouts, endurance training, and chi and blood strengthening exercises. This type of player will be the most in need of meat later on. He once saw a level 11 Green Titan who specialized in frenzied enhancement in the arena, who reportedly consumes at least one level 5-star demon rhino meat every day. This individual is an ace under the boss of a certain arena, and it is said that feeding him costs over 1 million Tianxin coins per month. However, these types of titans are the easiest to train. There's no need to consider issues such as body size and muscle growth lines. On the contrary, weapon-specialized trainees can be relatively troublesome in the early stages. You must constantly keep an eye on their muscular contours, ensuring they possess the explosive power befitting a warrior while maintaining agility. Moreover, the Green Titans, who specialize in different types of weapons, require foundational training tailored to their specific needs. For martial artists specializing in the combat style, it is crucial to first ensure the stability of the abdominal muscles and transverse abdominis to maintain a solid core. The core muscles provide explosive power for warriors and martial artists while also offering balance and stability. Subsequently, strengthening the erector spinae muscles enhances back extension and core stability, as well as intensify side kicks and sweeping leg movements. The deltoids, along with the latissimus-dorsi muscles, serve as guarantees for your punching speed and strength. In other areas, such as the chest muscles, it is important to control the intensity to avoid affecting your arm span and the agility of your punches. Weapon specialization is no different. The corresponding muscle growth for different weapons is extremely precise. The Green Titan is a race with rapid physical growth, and if the foundation is not laid properly during their youth, and the growth curve of the muscles is not meticulously controlled, it will have a significant impact on their future development. As the chief instructor, he must communicate with each tutor to understand the situation of each student, confirm the next method of muscle training based on their progress. The human-like physique is a sophisticated machine. To ensure that every movement is as precise as possible, the most scientific exercise is required. When the Lord asked him for the information on the most outstanding group of students, as someone who had been closely following the growth of these little kids, his mind immediately conjured up the necessary data. Although the brain evolution of the Green Titan is not as advanced as that of purely spiritual races, as an 8-level lifeform, its brain domain development has at least reached the level of 4, not to mention the data of these thousands of Green Titans. Even if it were tens of thousands, it could still record each trainee's specific data in detail. Xanda quickly provided Shiyu with the comprehensive information on the top 15 Green Titan players he needed. The top 5 players in the ferocious specialty are the fairy with athlete's foot, integrity cracking, Lunxiang's old driver, reckless leg hair, oh my, and young master. This is a happy pulse. After thoroughly studying the indigenous language library here, Xanda found their names quite strange, and he commented, "Is that how people with parents name things so carelessly?" In the weapon specialty system, the best trained gun specialty takes up 4 spots. It's unavoidable, they're too popular, and Xanda is somewhat speechless about this. It seems that long guns are exceptionally popular among this indigenous tribe, even though they are the most difficult to train among the cold weapons. In the Federal Warrior Academy, the gun specialty has always been a niche, but surprisingly, it's so popular here, it has made Haishin, who is in charge of the gun specialty teaching, feel honored. As the most popular skill mentor, his schedule is booked solid every day. And together account for 4, while it takes up 2. Other light weapon categories such as long swords, bows and arrows, sickles, and daggers are almost never chosen, naturally leading to the birth of few talents, which is quite normal. The Green Titan is a strength-oriented race, and even if it follows the path of the weapon master, it leans towards heavy weapons. Long swords and bows are more suitable for agile races. This mentor, Shiyu, is reserved for those preparing to transform into battle elves. However, it seems that there hasn't been any successful transformation on the elf side yet. It looks like I'll have to go check the progress with the elf mentor later. The top performer in the gun specialization training is naturally the Liver King, not because he has the best talent, but rather because he has accumulated the most points and is highly dedicated, significantly outpacing others in training time, so he is currently leading in all aspects. Ranked second is a player named Cold Star, who was previously unknown, not even visible in the top 30 of the score list. However, Xanda gave him a very high evaluation in the comprehensive assessment, saying he has a strong sense of intuition, progresses extremely quickly, and, in ancient terms, possesses a high level of. He has risen to second place solely by his natural talent. In fact, he logs in for less than 5 hours each day. So to say there's really no great connection between being outstanding and how hard one works at bricklaying. The third-ranked player is You're Too Beautiful, also a relatively active player. However, unlike the Liver King, this guy has been highly praised by Xanda in terms of his talent. The only issue is that he often finds it hard to concentrate on willpower, and it's unclear why that is. Shiyu nodded upon hearing this, noting that this player had provided him with data. In simple terms, the player had overused his fingers, leading to weakened concentration in his brain, a problem many otaku have. With time, it can recover, and upon this realization, Shiyu also added him to his task list. Fourth in the ranking is the player. His waist is as thin as a dog. This evaluation by Jean D is quite polarizing. Firstly, he highly praised the player's intelligence, almost on par with that of the Cold Star, but in terms of obedience, he is quite poor, resisting basic training, and often questioning the instructor's teaching arrangements. Siye heard this and felt puzzled, picked up the materials to take a look, and curiously asked, "But I think his training schedule is quite reasonable. How did you get him to cooperate?" Xanda, a good beating would do the trick, Shiyu. Heeding the evaluation, Siye included this player on the reserve observation list. Although his basic abilities meet the requirements of this mission in all aspects, his personality is prone to causing mission deviations. Unless the leader can keep him in check, this needs to be verified for himself. If a more suitable player can replace him, Shiyu plans to remove him from the list of this mission. The player information for the broadsword and martial arts classes remains normal, with moderate talent. Compared to their peers, however, due to high scores and sufficient training time, they are currently considered a relatively outstanding group. CA also made a reservation for observation, and will replace it if a more suitable option is found later. Players in the Rage class tend to rely heavily on talent, and most of those who rank in the top few all have impressive abilities. To Shiyu's surprise, the number 1 spot was actually taken by that little fairy, a girl who was only about 1.5 meters tall in real life. She never expected to perform so well in the Rage class. Could it be that all little girls have a violent heart? Lastly, Shiyu felt that having 1 or 2 archery specialized night classes for this task was very necessary. It seems I'll have to go to the elf district till later. Weilin has recently been living quite comfortably. Before coming to the base, when she saw that there was only one elven instructor, she was slightly worried. She thought that the Lord was not primarily focused on cultivating elves, but rather was just taking a whim to nurture a few. This situation is quite common in the Federation. Elves are highly practical, yet they are fraught with a great deal of uncertainty before they are shaped. This leads many lords to initially give it a try, only to find that they do not meet expectations and ultimately choose to abandon it. The reason lies in the fact that the growth of fairies often does not come as expected. Are usually just a fluffy ball in their larval stage, and you can't tell what they will grow into. At this stage, the fairies require a professional guide to undergo transformation guidance. Otherwise, many fairies might still be a ball for decades. The guide can lead the spirits to transform into forms, but cannot dictate their specific appearance, which is the uncertainty of the spirits. For example, the Lord actually wanted a group of spirit assassins, but ended up raising a batch of weakly sung priests, or when they wanted sung priests, they ended up with a group of tree spirits. These are still good outcomes. Some sprites grow into something you have no idea what it is, some transform into half-human, half-bird wind sprites, some become even larger balls, and even some turn into lumps of fatty jelly, with a relatively high probability of becoming jelly. This group of races even named themselves slimes, due to their retention of the unique dried fruit fragrance of the sprite's juvenile stage, which often makes them a delicacy in the eyes of some people. So, on the way, she was still quite worried. If she didn't receive adequate use, or if she was just an indispensable presence in the power structure, the significance of joining a new power would not be very great, despite the high salary. But once she arrived, her heart immediately settled. At the time of her arrival, the Lord's subjects numbered over 7,000, of which 2,000 were elves. From the number alone, it seemed the Lord intended to cultivate a group of elf subjects, which greatly reassured her at the time. After the teaching, she discovered something that delighted her greatly. The quality of the wood elves under this Lord's command was not ordinary. Wood elves are an ancient species of elves, known for their extremely low carrying capacity, making them the most difficult to cultivate in the Federation. Their status is akin to that of the Green Titan, and generally, only very wealthy lords would consider cultivating wood elves. Of course, there were also lords in the early days who used them to maintain the countryside and ecology. That's why, at first, upon learning that she was cultivating a wood spirit, she was somewhat disappointed. In her understanding, a common wood spirit takes at least 5 years to take shape, and even less successful ones might not succeed in 10 years, so she wouldn't be able to achieve any significant results in the short term. There's a sense of regret that a top chef doesn't have quality ingredients to showcase their skills, but after starting the teaching, this thought was instantly invalidated by the super high quality of these elves. 3 days, just 3 days, most of the wood sprites began to show signs of transformation. The efficiency was even more exaggerated than that of the starlight sprites. At first, when she discovered this situation, she even thought she was dreaming. How could that be? It wasn't until she noticed that almost all the fairies were at this level during the subsequent teaching process that she realized, this time she might have actually found a big leg to hold on to. This lord must have found a group of indigenous people with an extremely high genetic compatibility with elves. By the look of it, a percentage of 15%? Or even 20% is possible. No wonder he's willing to nurture so many wood sprites. No wonder he's willing to offer such a high salary to a new recruit. It all makes sense now. Thinking of this, Weilin felt increasingly grateful for her decisive choice to come here. With the current qualifications of this lord, as long as there are no unexpected events, the pace of development would definitely far exceed that of an average lord. As one of the first core members to follow, she would surely have a place in the future. Her dream of becoming a senior Shinji, singer priest, finally seemed to have a glimmer of hope. Oh my, the teacher is right. A child as kind as me will definitely have good luck. Master Weilin, the Lord is calling for you. Just as Weilin was contemplating the ups and downs of life, the voice of a student echoed from below the base. Weilin snapped back to reality and promptly replied, I'm coming. As the sole elven mentor, the Lord had prepared an office space of exceptional quality for her. The space was spacious, well-equipped, and contained everything that should be present, far exceeding her expectations and not falling short of the training ground over there in Green Titan. In fact, according to her thoughts, if these indigenous people have such a high elf affinity, why cultivate Green Titans? Let them mine instead. It's just a waste of resources. Weilin dared not delay and ran all the way to the first floor of the training ground. Seeing Shiyu, he hurriedly bowed. Lord, greetings. Shiyu nodded, staring at the myriad strange and wonderful spirits in the arena, and said with a look, how is the guidance course going? Is there anything that's not going smoothly? Very smoothly. Weilin exclaimed with excitement. The quality of these wood elves under Lord Master's command is incredibly high. I've never seen such progress in just 1 week. Is that so? Ahem, that's good. Siye gave a light cough, then curiously looked at those oddly shaped individuals and asked, these, what will they turn into later? Lord, be at ease. Viring smiled. These elven forms are in good condition, although they are somewhat variable, but due to their inherently high quality, they will not degenerate into the inferior slime variety. Oh, that's good. Shiyu nodded with relief, then asked, can you introduce it? All right. Wei Lin hurriedly replied, then led Shiyu into the guidance room. First, she pointed to the ball tracks that had grown wings. The ones with wings are likely to become wind spirits. Currently, their physical stability and elemental sensitivity are both good, indicating that they should be at least level 2 or above as wind spirits, and many of them may also possess wind and thunder attributes. Oh? A wind and thunder attribute wind spirit? Shiyu's eyes lit up. That's a valuable asset. The 7th Lord of the Federation has a special force composed of wind and thunder attribute wind spirits, with tens of thousands of high-quality 7th level wind spirits that can instantly form a thundercloud storm of over 19 levels. They once instantly defeated an interstellar war team of a great lord, making them one of the most famous top-level forces in the Federation. If this thing can be more abundant in the future, with the capacity and quality of these players, as long as they are willing to play and spend money to cultivate, it's not impossible to replicate a legion of this level. Shiyu secretly fantasized in her heart, thinking that most of the flowers that grew out here were flower spirits, and those emitting green light had a high probability of becoming tree spirits. Those that would occasionally change their forms continuously were generally destined to become druids. Shiyu nodded upon hearing this, revealing a look of satisfaction. He was pleased with every transformation result mentioned, as he was with the flower spirit's ability to cultivate star beasts and rare plants, the Treant being a very powerful dual practitioner of song and martial arts, an agile javelin thrower. As for the druid, there's no need to elaborate. It's a highly valuable universal profession, and in the Federation, it's the most popular elf profession. With joy, she pointed to the soap sliding back and forth on the left and asked, "What will that soap turn into?" Wei Lin fell silent for a moment before finally saying, "Perhaps it's just a bar of soap." Shiyu, eh? An elf can it evolve into soap? Shiyu was somewhat shocked. Wei Lin sighed, "I've even seen evolution into a toilet." Not really? Shiyu, who didn't quite understand the elven genes, was even more shocked. After all, from a genetic perspective, what is this principle? Elf genes are fantasy-type wiring side. Now, many geneticists still haven't figured out what the complex variability of elf genes is all about. Instability has always been a major flaw for our elves, even sometimes within our starlight elves, where there can be occasional variants that pop up. We don't even know what kind of creature they've transformed into, and they're eventually just discarded. However, not all these variants are inferior. Sometimes, they might possess unexpected talents, like the former shadow elves, for instance. They transformed into a blob of dark shadows, and were initially disliked. Now, their unique profession is being eagerly sought after by a bunch of lords. Actually, your lordship, you might want to try nurturing them. Who knows, there might be a surprise in store. Trying to cultivate it, huh? Shiyu watched the soap, her eyelids twitched slightly, always feeling that this thing that takes on a form should not be a high-end variety. Ahem, first of all, let's not get sidetracked. I'm here to find out if there are any rangers who have had a smooth transformation process. Vagabond Vilington paused, nodded, and said, "Yes, there's a group of excellent rangers who are about to successfully transform. It's estimated to be around tomorrow or the day after, and they should be completely transformed by then." Tomorrow. Shiyu rubbed her hands together, calculated the time, and it seemed that there was still enough time. "Lord, is there something that requires the services of a mercenary?" Wei Lin asked curiously, gazing at Shiyu's expression. "Well, there's a task that requires the use of a hero, and Shiyu doesn't hide it." "Task?" Send the new game hero. To Wei Lin's expression immediately turned somewhat peculiar, and he promptly advised, "Lord, the quality of your subjects is very high, and their growth potential is excellent. It would be a great pity if they were to be injured or lost out there." "It's not a dangerous mission, it's just to give them some experience." "Ah," so Wei Lin nodded, then continued, "However, even if the transformation is successful, one must undergo professional night training, which requires a multifunctional simulation field and guidance from experienced night masters. Has Lord prepared for this?" Preparations are underway," Shiyu replied somewhat hesitantly. Actually, he was completely unprepared. He did have a multifunctional training ground that could simulate scenarios. Although it wasn't of very high quality, it was still usable. However, as a master of adventurers, those headhunters have no news at all, and I don't know if I'll be able to make it in time. As Wei Lin was about to go and take a look at the batch of nearly completed rangers, Shiyu suddenly saw a spiral-shaped thing wobble towards her. She stepped back 2 steps, hesitated, and pointed at it. "Xiang? There's actually a Xiang?" That pile of excrement, upon hearing this, immediately looked towards the Lord, while several companions around burst into laughter. "I told you that was excrement, didn't you admit it? I'm quitting the game." That pile of shit suddenly wailed, "Hey? That voice, isn't that the old guy who always posts?" Shiyu felt a sudden regret. This guy has made tremendous contributions to the game's promotion up to now. How could I have been so dismissive of him? I was about to comfort the other person by saying, "It's okay, even if you're a pile of shit, I won't abandon you," when Wei Lin suddenly said, "This isn't shit, your lordship." "Oh, right. The Lord immediately felt that this reassurance would be more fitting, and quickly agreed, "I must have mistaken, this is a blob of ice cream, isn't it?" "Ha ha ha." A group of elves around him immediately collapsed to the ground, laughing uncontrollably. Lu Leoi's entire body turned a deep red. Seeing that it seemed to have had the opposite effect, Shiyu silently thought it was not good. Just as he was about to organize his words to comfort him, Wei Lin directly interrupted him and said, "This is a phoenix breed." "Oh, right, this is a phoenix, huh?" Shiyu was taken aback, pointing at that blob and saying, "What do you say this is?" "Phoenix seed?" asked Wei Lin curiously. "Has the Lord never seen it?" "I've cultivated it with such effort, and I was just about to apply for a bonus from the Lord." "Is this little girl obsessed with money? When did the master say that there would be a bonus for cultivating a phoenix?" "That's not the point." Shiyu pointed at Lu Leoi and said, "Does the Feng breed look like this?" He certainly knows what a phoenix seed is. In the elven mutation, there are several top-grade items that are very rare. One is the chimera, and the other is the elven dragon, but neither of these is as rare as the phoenix seed. As the name implies, the phoenix seed is, of course, the phoenix. Although cultivating it is extremely expensive, this thing is a treasure, and it's not uncommon for there to be only one phoenix breed among 100,000 spirits. Is this girl? Shiyu suddenly began to suspect. Wei Lin blinked her innocent, large eyes and pointed at Lu Leoi, saying, Nirvana, isn't it just like this? This is Nirvana? Shiyu's eyes widened so much they nearly popped out of her helmet. Nirvana? Lu Leoi and the surrounding players were silent for a moment, then erupted into a sudden commotion. Player A, is this real or what? This pile of dung is a phoenix? My eyes are going to burst. Player B, I'm not satisfied, why? Player C, then what about my bar of soap? Is it a Qilin? Ha ha ha. Lu Leoi was laughing so hard because happiness came too quickly and continuously that he couldn't even. Are you kidding? Shiyu leaned in close to Wei Lin and whispered. No, Wei Lin immediately became dissatisfied and said, our family often has phoenix descendants. I wouldn't be mistaken, is Lord Master doubting my character? No, Shiyu shook her head quickly in denial. With what they just said, it should be true. The Starlight Elf race is the one with the highest probability of giving birth to the phoenix race, so this shouldn't be a lie. Great, keep a close eye on him and don't let this phoenix fall, okay? Siye became excited immediately. Lord, Wei Lin whispered, the and the phoenix are two different things. The cost of cultivating a phoenix is very high, and in our Starlight Elf tribe, only those with high purity genes dare to cultivate it. Although your people have a high tolerance, it's no more than 20% at most. This means that once you reach level 5, it will be difficult to continue. What I mean is to guide the second transformation and take the route of the no. Shiyu firmly declared, just follow the pure phoenix route. You don't need to worry about anything else. Cultivate according to this route, and if anything is lacking, just tell the master. This okay, Wei Lin finally nodded, though feeling it was a waste of money. After all, who can blame the boss for being the boss? Shiyu excitedly rubbed his palms, understanding in his heart that with the high tolerance of his people, the limit was definitely not at the 5th level. If he could transform a few more phoenixes, he could form a phoenix army. My god, just thinking about that scene is beautiful. Due to the fact that a large amount of supplies have yet to begin construction, the base, aside from the newly added training field, has only one additional large multipurpose building, which is that large farm. The farm is an enclosed environment that simulates an ecological recycling farm, featuring its own simulation of day and night, as well as the 4 seasons. The ecology is perfectly designed to ensure a closed loop cycle for all species within the farm. Species, they are the excellent biological species selected from the Lord of the Wine Fairies domain, at least that's what the goblin said. The highest yield comes from the red soil tuber, a high-yield tuber product from the red soil star, one of the 4 agricultural stars in the Lord of the Wine Immortals domain. It has a low crude fiber content of 2 to 4%, crude protein of 7 to 15%, and crude fat below 9%. The nitrogen-free extract is as high as 67.5-88, 15%, with the main components being easily digestible high-energy starch or pentasan. Features, large in quantity and satisfying in volume, with extremely low requirements for survival environment. You can try to transplant them outside once the finished products are grown within the farm. Low yield includes green fresh bamboo shoots, which are characterized by high fiber and low sugar content, making them suitable for warriors to mix with meat to supplement their nutritional intake. Mirth melon, a high-moisture fruit product, in addition to the nutrients possessed by ordinary high-quality honeydew melons, also contains trace mineral components of firefeather carbon. The cultivation conditions require a certain amount of firefeather phosphorus fertilizer, making it a premium fruit product suitable for who do not consume meat to supplement their nutritional intake. Vegetables and various mature products exceed 100 varieties. From the introduction and nutritional list, the quality is quite good. Shiyu was satisfied with the condition when she took over. As she stepped back into the farm once more, with a vast array of varieties now being tested, Shiyu was immediately enveloped by the fragrance of fruits and vegetables, making her feel refreshed all over. Lord has arrived? The agronomy tutor, Charles Villanter, was the one to greet him. The Federal Villanter family is a renowned agronomy dynasty, with their research and grafting of agricultural products always known for their high standards and yields throughout the Federation. Although they may not excel in the cultivation of delicate and rare plants as the elves do, they are frequently hired by many lords as agronomy experts. Only 2 developers in my own power chose agriculture, and with the courses being rather leisurely, Shiyu simply entrusted the farm to him to manage. There are many spirit orbs floating around the farm base, emitting a fragrance of flowers. These are the unincarnate flower spirits sent by Wei Lin to identify plant species. When was the first harvest? Shiyu asked directly. Charlie quickly replied, in half a month. I have figured out all the product characteristics of this farm, and I have a plan on how to adjust for harmless ripening. We will start tomorrow, and it is expected that within half a month, the first batch of fresh agricultural products will be ready. Shiyu nodded satisfactorily upon hearing this, thinking to herself, finally, I don't have to drink the damned nutritional liquid anymore. What about the meat? Shiyu asked about the issue that concerned her the most. Now, the green titans in the base are growing at an incredible rate, and their flesh is still getting accustomed to the genetic power. The nutrient solution can still suffice for now, but once they reach level 2, they will require a large amount of fresh meat to supplement their nutrition. According to Zhandi, it might take no more than a month, and a large number of green titans could successfully advance to level 2. If before this time there was no capacity for mass-producing meat, one would have to rely on imports. Such agricultural imports are easily exposed to detection, and Shiyu was very reluctant to do so. Even when facing the seemingly naive Lord of the Wine Immortal, Shiyu dare not expose her position. Sia understands that despite the guy appearing as naive as a panda man and posing as a loyal and upright character, he is far from being as benevolent as he seems on the surface. Being able to build such a vast empire in such a short time is not a sign of goodness. Once he learns about his secrets and coordinates, he might turn on a dime and swallow him whole without a second thought. So before returning, he had spent 100,000 divine coins to entrust the official organization with a comprehensive and precise inspection of the 300 billion worth of supplies. It's just to prevent any black technology from revealing our coordinates. Meat-wise, the farm has high-energy livestock such as helm yellow cattle, Pato star rhinoceros, and Nikon beasts, which are close to the level of beasts. They have already started mass production. With the assistance of mature flower spirits, it is estimated that we can begin supplying at a scale of 30,000 green titans in about 3 months. Charlie reported professionally. Sia stroked her chin upon hearing this. Hualing has the innate talent for and controlling the growth of beasts, making her the best star beast breeder and rare plant user in the Federation. Now, using her to raise livestock is truly a case of using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Keshiyu couldn't do anything about it either. The base is full of talents, and such high-quality green titans are still used for bricklaying? Some things always need to be done by someone, and as more colonized planets emerge, these basic tasks can gradually be transferred. After consulting the progress, Shiyu was generally satisfied, so she nodded and said, "You've worked hard." "No hard work, no hard work." Charlie kept waving his hand in response, saying, "As long as I don't disappoint the Lord's wages, that's fine." He's relatively satisfied with the current situation. A planet of level 8 can actually use such a high-level multifunctional farm. This lord is truly rich, you know. And so are his people. When he first arrived, those elves were still in their primitive state, and they were the most difficult to cultivate. Wood elves. At first, he thought the lord was truly extravagant. Such things are usually only used by lords to maintain their rural estates, yet he had even hired a professional guide. In just a matter of days, he saw that dozens of flower spirits were almost transforming. Suddenly, it became clear that the indigenous people under this lord's command actually possessed such high qualities. He guesses that it might be a hidden power cultivated secretly by other great lords, hiring these newly graduated deities to cultivate high-quality indigenous people for them. There are also deities secretly controlled by other great lords. Otherwise, why can't they see the origins of those indigenous people? However, it's for the best. Although I'm a puppet, at least I have a powerful force backing me, which is stable. Feeling rather satisfied with the current situation, the power is stable, the work environment is decent, and the salary is high. Finding such a job right after graduation is already quite lucky. After all, the market competition in the Federation is becoming increasingly fierce. After inquiring about the progress, Shiyu returned to the elf training ground. He had just received resumes from TalentNet about the Master Rangers and high-level mages. What delighted him the most was that this headhunter had even found 2 mecha instructors who were willing to consider joining his team. And there will also be a large-scale job fair tomorrow. Shiyu plans to go back for a visit, and also intends to buy some basic mecha products and some high-quality Star Beast eggs. The basic mecha products are designed for those who aspire to become mecha developers, serving as a foundation for their training. The Star Beast eggs are primarily targeted at the flower spirits within the base. Can't we really let these high-quality flower spirits always be used as livestock for breeding? Although the breeding work must be done, we cannot waste their talents. This time, I'll buy some high-quality Star Beast eggs and rare spiritual plants for future use. How many to buy will depend on asking Wei Lin, as she can estimate the future number of flower spirits. The result was that upon returning, I saw a large group of fairies spiraling around in the elf base, and I was startled, exclaiming, "What are they doing?" Wei Lin sighed helplessly, stimulated. Everyone wants to transform their own bodies into the appearance of the phoenix species. Shiyu pulled at the corner of her mouth, then addressed the AI. "Yugo called it Lu Leoi. Give him some materials, and ask him to write a guide about the fairy guide section. Try to minimize the role of those high-level species, and emphasize the advantages of the normal fairy professions more." Intelligence. What identity should I go by, my lord? Shiyu, the game's official backend. Today, Lu Leoi is very happy, as if he has swept away the previous gloom. Originally, when he transformed into that ghostly appearance 2 days ago, he was always very anxious. Although he claimed it to be ice cream publicly, he still had a bit of a clue about what it actually looked like. People around have been mocking it, asking if it will evolve into a feces pusher, or even just become feces itself. To be honest, in this game where you cannot delete your account and start over, he cannot accept any of the aforementioned situations. After 2 torturous days, he finally mustered the courage to ask his mentor what he would become. As he approached the mentor, the lord beside him pointed at him in a terrified voice. "Xiang, it's Xiang." At that moment, his heart sank halfway. The result was that his mentor's next words were that he was a phoenix breed, and suddenly he felt like a lottery ticket had hit his head. "I'm still feeling dizzy. What the hell, am I a phoenix? Ha, indeed, the heavens do not forsake those who put their hearts into it." Grandpa said it himself, "I've been writing posts for the official platform every day to attract traffic. Isn't there some merit in my hard work, even if not in terms of achievement? How could they really bear to let me be just a pusher of dung?" He was still caught up in the excitement when he suddenly received an official email. "Dear player, my ancestor, Lu Leoi, did not cheat. Hello. First of all, the backstage staff of the game group would like to express our heartfelt gratitude for your selfless promotion of the game. After discussions among the working group, we have decided to reward you with a hidden profession bloodline as a token of our appreciation for your support of the game. We believe you have already received it in the game. However, yesterday's intelligence report showed that many players are dissatisfied with the fact that you have a hidden profession. Therefore, we hope that you can write another guide about the profession to calm the public. The specific information and copywriting have been sent to your email. Afterward, this studio will provide you with a gratuity based on the effect of your guide. We also hope that you will continue to support this game. Thank you." The ending, Shiyu Studio pays tribute to you. After receiving the email, Grandpa was stunned for a moment and exclaimed, "Indeed." After watching it over and over, tears streamed down my face. My efforts have indeed not been in vain. What a conscientious studio it is. May our ancestors bless. With this hidden profession, your descendants will surely excel in the game, restoring the grandeur of our ancestors, and once again build a vast fortune for the Liu family, taking the game as the foundation. Thinking of this, he quickly replied to an email using the email address, "Dear official Big Shot, first of all, I am extremely honored to receive the official recognition of the game. It is a great honor for me, Liu Xiaowei, to write articles representing such a magnificent work. I greatly admire the strength of your team. Such a groundbreaking work has a heart that treats players so kindly, and it does not resort to the inferior operation model of charging for props. I am very impressed by the long-term vision of the studio's planners. I will certainly do my utmost to promote it. I have already done my bit, so please don't mention any honorariums anymore. Lastly, I am very grateful for the invisible profession you sent me. Sincerely wish Starsea great success and to become an immortal masterpiece of the era." Liu Lei looked at the email he had written, examined it several times, and then cautiously sent it back. He hadn't expected that his actions would catch the attention of the game's official, which was a huge surprise. Excited, he immediately politely declined the suggestion of a fee for his contribution. He no longer cares about that little honorarium. His Liu family's cafe has been thriving since his ancestors' generation, though it has declined a lot in his generation, but it's not short of that little fee. Compared to that, he values the commercial value of the game itself more. This game has shown no intention of creating a game store to date. It seems that it is most likely to adopt a pay-to-play or a one-time purchase version-based charging model. This represents what? It signifies a massive business opportunity for players. The item charges, meaning that those who spend RMB can simply brainlessly recharge with the official platform. High-level players have very little room to maneuver. If the item mall lacks balance, players will have absolutely no room to play. However, if it's like the Blizzard Titan game and has a version buyout nature, that would be a completely different matter. Everyone starts on the same starting line, so players who invest more time and effort have an advantage, and it also ensures greater fairness. High-level players will have more room to excel. And those wealthy individuals who have money but no time, where would they spend their money for a better gaming experience when they can't splash it on the official channels? Of course, it's towards these high-level players. Originally, after missing the Stormy Titan in his lifetime, he had always thought that he would never have another chance to restore the glory of his ancestors. However, he never expected that at the prime of his life, he would encounter such a masterpiece, and even have this kind of opportunity. If he fails this time, he truly would be ashamed to his family lineage. After all, my ancestor was a man who could hold his own against the great Demon King, so my gaming talent should also be pretty decent, right? Thinking of this, Liu Lei became increasingly excited. After taking a deep breath, he opened the official email containing his information and intended to edit it well, writing a good article. After all, the official had a favorable view of him, and he was on the right track. Perhaps in the future, he might receive some good deals. This was a rare backstage pass, so the matter had to be handled properly. Secondly, my hidden profession is indeed too ostentatious. People naturally tend to be more concerned with inequality than with scarcity. My hidden profession may provoke jealousy from those with malicious intent, and writing this article can also help reduce some risks for myself. So, he immersed himself in reading the materials, and upon reading, he trembled all over. This game's profession system is truly not as vast as it seems from the outside. If it weren't for the game's impressive performance in the early stages, he even doubted whether the game could balance such a massive and complex profession system. There are so many professions in the Elven race alone, and it's mentioned that more races will be developed in the later stages. Suddenly, my anticipation grew even more intense for what the game would become in its later stages. Shiyu, on the other end, felt a bit ashamed when she saw that the other party didn't even want to accept the honorarium in the email. She attributed the innate abilities of her subjects to the gifts from the back end, wondering if this approach was a bit too dirty. Am I truly a heartless lord? Well, this must just be a temporary expedient due to poverty, and once I, the future lord, become prosperous, I will definitely treat these simple players kindly. Ding! Dear Lord Shiyu, the highly advanced job seeker you have scheduled has been booked for an interview date. Are you available to attend? This sound startled Shiyu, who was deep in thought, before she realized it must be a response from her talent network email, and she quickly opened it, looked over the content, and it mentioned that the several senior mentors recommended by the headhunter were all willing to have an interview with him. Shiyu felt a surge of excitement upon seeing this, stood up, rubbed her hands, instructed the intelligent assistant to keep a close eye on the progress of this transformation, and then prepared to pack up for a solo trip. Once these things are settled, the initial basic combat force and the subsequent large-scale expansion of the star plan can be put on the agenda. Hello everyone, I am your beloved Lao Yi. Weren't you surprised that Lao Yi could be so productive? I'm sure some netizens who have received rumors already know. That's right, Lao Yi has turned into a phoenix. To those netizens who were looking forward to Lao Yi's next feces push, Lao Yi can only say that you are disappointed. Alright, to get back to the point, due to the hidden profession I obtained this time, many players have protested, so the officials found Grandpa me, asking me to write a guide to give the public a little explanation. As for why they themselves refused to make an official website, Grandpa me also doesn't know. Firstly, let's talk about the characteristics of the fairy race. The professions of the fairy race are only known after they transform into their human forms. This means that for all players who choose the fairy race, your profession is randomly assigned. How does that sound? Exciting, isn't it? Surprising? Haha, just kidding. Although this setting might be resisted by many, it also has its charm and can make it very distinctive. Grandpa, I dare say, in today's context, the elf race is undoubtedly the most distinctive one, because its transformation is closely related to your own personality. Yes, you didn't read that wrong. The game will choose the most suitable profession for you based on your personality. Although it might seem like the game is making decisions for you, you will find out later that the choices the game offers are absolutely suitable for you. This is not Lulei whitewashing for the authorities, it's backed by real data. Among the group of players in the base who are about to become successful, each one feels extremely suited to their profession after learning about their career characteristics. Not only do they excel in training, but also, when encountering content related to their profession, not a single one has expressed dissatisfaction to this day. If you still want to be in control, the game is not limited to just the elf race. There are many choices available. According to the inside information obtained by Lulei, the game will soon open up many new races, so there's no need to worry about the issue of limited options. For those who don't know what to choose, Lulei strongly recommends the elf race, as intelligence will definitely select the most suitable profession for you. Below, I will introduce all the player-shaped professions of the fairies currently appearing in the base, so that everyone can have a general understanding of the fairy race. Now, the most common shape taken by these beings is something like a radish. Okay, they are humanoid elves. The mentor said this is the most common form of elf transformation, known as the wanderer. This form corresponds to many professions, and according to the mentor, it mainly depends on where the energy is concentrated. Those with strong lower limb bones generally have strong explosive power and are suited for the role of a ranger. Those with stronger upper limb bones have better arm strength and can be a swordsman or a professional marksman, and if the transformation energy is all concentrated in the spiritual power, it is more suitable for the role of a song priest. The aforementioned situations are only applicable to travelers. Travelers, relatively speaking, have a certain degree of autonomy. For instance, if you have strong lower limb bones but still want to become a roamer, that is also permissible. However, the initial progress may be slower, and some advantages may be lost, but all of these can be made up for with time, making them a type that can be transformed later on. And what remains to be said is purely without choice. It is what it is, and players have no room for. There are a total of 7 varieties of this type that appear most frequently in the base, namely, Wind Demon, Flower Spirit, Tree Demon, Druid, Watcher, Stone Spirit, and Wood Spirit. I will introduce the characteristics and career information of these 7 common types one by one below. Wind Demon. Most of those who transform and grow wings are wind demons. It is said that they are half human and half bird in appearance. With a very beautiful form, they have sharp feathers as weapons and are the only profession that can fly from level 1. How about that? Jealous? Moreover, it is said that the faster they fly as they progress later on. The information states that wind demons above level 8 can fly in the universe with their own flesh and blood, directly participating in interstellar combat. They are a very popular military unit in the Federation. Players who choose this profession can breathe a sigh of relief. It is definitely a hot profession in the later stages. Floral Spirit. Those who carry the fragrance of flowers and occasionally release petals are usually floral spirits. This kind of profession tends to be reserved and meticulous. It is said that after successful transformation, their appearance is extremely beautiful. Floral spirits have the ability to cultivate star beasts and rare plants. According to the information, they can become excellent star beast trainers and plant masters later on, which sounds like a profession that involves taking care of and fighting with pets. The official even showed me some models of formidable star beasts, which were simply awesome. Players who love pets are in for a treat. The ones emitting green light are mostly tree spirits. From the model, they seem to be a half-human, half-deer creature. The information states that they possess the innate talent for song and sacrifice as well as the strength of a top-level javelin thrower, indicating they are a profession that practices both magic and martial arts. Mewling and Shirling are easily distinguishable. One is enveloped by stones when transforming, while the other grows numerous vines and leaves on its spherical body. These two professions seem to be inclined towards elemental mages, and it is said that they can directly communicate with elements to cultivate advanced elemental giants, making them belong to the high-end wizard class. Druids are well known, a popular profession that is indispensable in many Western games. It's said that advanced druids can transform into a 100-meter-long interstellar beast, capable of withstanding interstellar weapons. I don't know if this is an exaggeration. Finally, let's talk about the Watcher profession. The information states that it is a rare profession with a strong spatial talent, mainly leaning towards the assassin path in the later stages. This type of profession, by the end, possesses skilled manipulation of spatial power, able to navigate through various complex terrains and infiltrate the most tightly guarded bases with ease. They are the last welcome assassin prospects in the Federation. This type of player looks the same as before, but occasionally they will suddenly teleport a few meters away, so, a friendly reminder to such players, during the transformation period, it's best to stay in the center of the training ground to avoid accidentally teleporting outside and getting dried out, which might lead to becoming someone else's food. Several tragic incidents have already occurred in the base. Alright, after discussing the regular professions, let me talk about the irregular ones. People like me, similar to Lulei, belong to the irregular transformation. Our kind, with our peculiar shapes, were quite melancholic in recent times. Some look like hammers, others like bars of soap, and Lulei is in the shape of feces. In the elf community, we are truly outcasts. Our mentors don't say what we will become later. If it hadn't been for the Lord passing by and asking, I might still not know that this pile of shit I am could actually be a phoenix. Wow, it's truly a twist of fate. So, here I want to advise those alien siblings in the base not to despair. What if you're actually a Qilin, aren't you? Here, Grandpa, I'll give you a rough analysis. Although the official announcement hasn't been made, I think we, these aliens, should be considered as hidden professions that are not part of the mainstream. So, I once again urge those players who have already transformed into strange shapes not to lose heart. Maybe in the next second, you could become a high-end variety? Learn from Soap Brother, you see, he slides around the base every day, doesn't he seem very happy? Lastly, many of you might be curious about what advantages this phoenix of mine possesses. To be honest, Grandpa hasn't quite figured it out yet. Although the name does sound rather cool, up until now, it's still in the form of a pile of shit, with an incredibly slow rate of transformation. The mentor told me that such a transformation might be measured in months, and even if the transformation is successful, there will be no professional technique mentors to guide me, which will pose a significant obstacle in the evolution process. I suppose this is the balance the game has provided. Thinking about it, how could such a large-scale game not consider the issue of professional balance? So, everyone doesn't need to be too envious of Grandpa. This might actually be either good or bad for me. In conclusion, the race is much richer than the pure warrior race of the Green Titan, and the gaming experience is completely different. Overall, it's quite interesting. If you don't have a specific profession in mind and want to try something new, the elves would be a great choice. And here's some good news. The servers will be expanded shortly, and the queues may be much shorter than they are now. Grandpa will keep an eye on this information and will notify all players as soon as possible. I believe that more players will soon be able to experience the charm of the Star Sea. That's all, Grandpa is off to it. Lulei posted a thread here, and the Starry Evaluation Company pushed it to the homepage immediately, with over 10,000 comments below the post within 5 minutes. Is it true that it's based on personality? How does the game determine my personality? Did you hire a professional psychologist? And since it's supposed to match careers based on personality, Grandpa, with your ugly soul and appearance, why are you a phoenix? Shouldn't you be a Pichio instead? The upper answer is correct, and I also think this explanation is unscientific, but it's not important. This random pattern is quite innovative. I'm more concerned about the server expansion issue you mentioned. Is it true or not? Don't fool us, please. I've been queuing for a month, and it still hasn't been added. Poor baby, my heart is really sad. Oh, I wish you had released this guide sooner. I thought I hadn't succeeded in transforming, as I hadn't changed at all, and I kept appearing in places out of nowhere. I thought it was a game glitch, but it turned out to be the Watcher. Not mentioning it earlier, I ended up being dried out after being exposed to the sun while setting up a base, and had to start over from scratch. I don't know if I'll still transform the same way if I try again. A profession that can traverse through space sounds so cool. Wow, fellow countrymen, I initially thought it was my own fault. Damn it, it almost drove me crazy. What will that blob of soap turn into? I'm quite curious. Yes, I'm quite curious too. Could it really transform into a Qilin? What the hell? The spiral thing is somewhat understandable as Nirvana, but what the heck is soap turning into a Qilin? You guys are saying, is he just a bar of soap? The one above is trying to kill me with laughter. Is this game really that bad? What are the professional skills of the soap? Is it 100% picked up by others? Shiyu was taken aback when she saw this comment on the road, and she was also somewhat perplexed. How should she explain this to that soapy classmate in the future? Wow, even the Phoenix has come. That little guy Lu Xiaowei has pretty good dog luck. The dog brother who was forcibly logged off from the game room was bored and scrolling through his phone's strategy guide, and upon seeing the popular strategy post by Lu Leoi, he immediately felt jealous. Hiding a profession, a big shot. Should I invite him out for a meal of Lijuan white meat to deepen our brotherly feelings? It feels like it's been a long time since we've been in touch. Oh my ancestors, why are you still cooped up here? Dog brother hadn't been seated for long when he saw his mother rush down from the second floor, makeup still untouched. What's wrong? Dog brother asked mysteriously, did you not receive a call from your dad? Dog brother glanced at his phone upon hearing this, pondered for 2 seconds, and then suddenly realized, oh, I forgot to pay my phone bill. You brat. The woman suddenly tapped his loosely tousled head. You're almost becoming a god of seclusion. What's up? Dog brother asked curiously. He was well aware of his mother's personality. She was always busy shopping with her friends and playing cards, so where would she find the time to bother with him? Otherwise, how could he have ended up in the hospital by staying indoors? Is it still your old-fashioned grandfather? The woman immediately exclaimed, what do you mean you don't want to see you in that prematurely aged ghostly look on your birthday? I specially called an old soldier to exercise your body for you, to give you some manly spirit. My God, Mom, you didn't say that earlier. Dog brother jumped up immediately. I need to hide at Auntie's place. What a joke. The woman grabbed him by the arm as he tried to slip away, saying, don't even think about running this time. Not only your grandfather, but your father has given a strict order. Once your father speaks, none of my relatives on his side would dare to shelter you. Dad? Dog brother hesitated. It's quite strange. When does he have time to come and look after me? Isn't it your uncle? Back when you were just born, our families arranged a match for you too. After all these years, your uncle has been doing better and better, and his daughter is so impressive. Having attended Tsinghua University and studied at the Federal Star State Academy, your father wisely didn't bring up the matter, but I never expected your uncle to bring it up this time. He said that next month, when his Xiao Jia returns to the central China region, he wants the two of them to get to know each other. Such a good thing has left your father completely bewildered. When he called me, he was so happy he couldn't even speak properly, and he especially emphasized that you should do your best this time. Show off, you say? Dog brother immediately covered his face. Mom, you haven't seen Feng Xiaojia, that woman, before. She's proud as if she's the most important person in the world. Her own mother clearly looks down on your background. How could she let her daughter marry into your family? For all these years, she's never shown any interest in this aspect. Suddenly bringing it up must mean something has happened. What could possibly go wrong? The woman gave her son a cold look. Your Uncle Feng's career is doing wonderfully. The stock of the family business is soaring. Do you think it's like your dad's business, on the brink of collapse? Without the support of a few uncles, it might have disappeared long ago. What do you think they're after from your dad? Dog brother, that must be it, incurring a debt and coming back for me to take over. The woman did not immediately upon hearing the words, and a flash of evasion was clearly visible in her eyes. Seeing this, dog brother jumped up immediately. What the hell, is this really happening? Am I your real son or not? Ugh, what absurd thing is this child saying? After a woman's hacking cough, she scolded, "You're the flesh and blood I toiled over for 10 months while pregnant with you, how could I ever betray you? This is all for your own good, look at you now, with nothing to show for yourself. If your father's business falls into your hands, it's bound to be doomed. Having a strong in-law family isn't that great for you? Taking over is nothing to be ashamed of. There are people out there who would love to take over such a good opportunity, but they can't get their hands on it. Dog brother, besides, which girl hasn't had a few boyfriends before getting married? When I was young, I changed boyfriends every month. Couldn't your dad keep up?" Ha, dog brother shook his head with a cold smile. "Is it really that simple for it to be my turn to take over this project? Mom, do you still want to fool me? Not telling the truth? This little brat has become so cunning after playing games for just a few months? Could it be that the bloodline of my own intelligence has awakened within him?" The woman bit her tongue in silence, yet maintained a composed expression as she said, "Then tell me, what else could it be?" This dog brother felt at a loss for words, suddenly tongue-tied. One day, daydreaming here and there, hurry up and go outside and properly groom that greasy hair of yours. In the afternoon, I'll take you to meet the veteran uncle recommended by your grandfather. I tell you, be respectful when you meet him in the afternoon. He's been your grandfather's loyal bodyguard for decades, and he once shielded your grandfather from bullets. Remember to call him Uncle Lou when you meet him. Even your father has to address him as Big Brother Lou. Oh, dog brother replied on the surface, but he always felt that mom was diverting the topic. Hurry up, get a hairstyle that looks sharp. This untidy look will get you dad's lecture again. Dog brother. After being expelled from his home, dog brother wandered the streets, opting not to let the butler drive him around but choosing to walk instead, as it seemed to have been nearly half a year since he last walked outside. It is June now, and it's the height of noon. The scorching sun makes the entire street desolate, with only a few scattered pedestrians. Dog brother glanced at his phone, which indicated the temperature was 43 degrees today. In such weather, where the ground might as well be boiling eggs, it's no wonder no one is going out. However, dog brother inexplicably felt okay. The sun seemed scorching as it shone on his body, but it wasn't as exaggerated as he had imagined. Could it be because he was accustomed to the scorching sun on Mars from playing games? In the game, before there were dormitories, they sometimes had no place to log off at the mining spots, so they would just dig a hole outside and sleep there. The next day, they would climb out of the red-hot sand without a care in the world. Compared to the temperature difference between day and night there, this sun is just too gentle. But why do I compare myself like this? It's just a game, isn't it? In the game, I'm tough and resilient, but in reality, the wind can blow me over. Thinking of this dog brother, he shook his head and, while yawning all the way, walked into a hair salon that seemed to be decently decorated. Looked at the prices. A regular wash, cut, and blowout costs 100 federal coins, and advanced hairstylist services are 300, and the store manager's personal touch is 500. Instantly, I gave a wry smile to myself, thinking, really expensive. The purchasing power of the federal currency is not low, the financial market is now stable, and the value of the currency has been maintained well. The latest iPhone costs no more than 4,000 yuan, and a common student's monthly living expenses are probably not even 500 yuan, yet haircuts here are so expensive. It really has to be said that this business is quite profitable. Nowadays, with the prevalence of artificial intelligence, many popular positions have been impacted. However, conversely, some manual trades are gradually becoming more popular. Services such as hairdressing, catering, woodworking, carving, and photography are becoming increasingly prosperous. It makes sense, as with improved social welfare and more people staying at home, the cost of manual services has become higher, which also conforms to market principles. Hey, bro, are you here for a haircut or a perm? The store manager, seeing someone arrive, quickly shook off the midday drowsiness and warmly welcomed them. Do you have a familiar barber? Would you like me to recommend one? Dog brother, who is the store manager? It's me. The store manager wiped his hands and smiled. Dog waved his hand, speaking in the tone of a wealthy scion, then you go ahead and cut as long as it's done well, the price is irrelevant. Faced with such a bold statement, the store manager did not pick up the thread, but instead, he retracted his smile, stepped back 2 steps, leaned against the sofa, and squinted at the young man, asking, "Young sir, what kind of hairstyle are you thinking of?" Dog thought for a moment and replied, "Can you find a wife?" Upon hearing this, the store manager fell silent, took out a cigarette, lit it, took a deep drag, and then sighed deeply, saying softly, "It seems, young fellow, today you're here to stir up trouble." Dog brother, oh my little darling, why did you come back so late? Dad's phone is almost ringing off the hook. Upstairs, the woman, upon hearing the familiar footsteps from downstairs, hurriedly picked up the phone and scurried down the stairs, looking resentful, but as soon as she reached the bottom, upon seeing her son's appearance, the phone she was about to call her husband with slipped and fell to the ground with a clatter. "Hey, where did you get that haircut?" The boy across from me blushed and touched his head. "This isn't it bad?" The barber said it's an ancestral, and he said if this hairstyle can't find a wife, then there's no need to worry about hair anymore. Consider we're going to a urological hospital. The haircut was fantastic. The woman clapped her hands in admiration. You can turn a face as weak as a kidney into a normal person's appearance. It's simply miraculous. Get me the address of that shop. Mom will get a membership card tonight. Dog brother. Under his father's persistent urging, the mother and daughter hurriedly arrived at the designated location. To dog brother's surprise, the place was not a restaurant or an upscale club, but a fitness center instead. He felt a sudden unease in his heart. Could it be that we're about to get started tonight? This decisive and resolute manner truly befits someone who has served in the military. Entering the fitness club, led by the front desk staff, the mother and son made their way to the most interior VIP gym section. Inside, there is a gym specifically prepared for VIP clients who request one-on-one personal training sessions, equipped with private equipment tailored to your exercise needs. At this moment, on the treadmill inside, a middle-aged man, who was as round as a ball, was running as hard as he could, his face flushed bright red, drenched in sweat. Dog brother glanced at the speed, 2-3 kilometers per hour, and had only been running for 7 minutes. He couldn't help but twitch his eyelid, thinking to himself, if an elderly person can sweat so much in just a few minutes, how on earth did Dad do it? Is this the legendary watered-down meat? Sure you has arrived? Upon seeing the mother and child arrive, the middle-aged man hurriedly turned off the treadmill, leaping down from it with remarkable agility, causing dog brother to twitch his eyes again. In that instant, the old man's display of agility was nothing like that of a 200-pound fatty. Indeed, it is only when they are loafing that fatties can show abilities beyond the ordinary. Hurry up, come meet my Uncle Lou. The chubby man didn't wait for the person behind him to speak and hurriedly introduced with a warm smile, this is my Uncle Lou. Don't use your son as an excuse. We agreed on half an hour, not a minute less. It's still 23 minutes short. You can leave only after you've finished running. The fatty heard this and his face immediately turned bitter. Lou, go, it's been so long, why be so serious? In front of the child, give him a bit of face, will you? The middle-aged man with a square face behind him still remained unsmiling and said firmly, your body, if you keep giving face, it will truly be ruined. Uncle Lou. Dog brother greeted politely, and it was only after hearing this greeting that the middle-aged man turned his eyes towards dog brother, the unruly grandson that was always spoken of as such by this old leader of his family. Every time the old folks mention him, they can't help but have a bad expression, saying that this grandson is no better than his father. At such a young age, he looks as if he's on the brink of collapse. Just looking at him makes your eyes ache. But at this moment, it doesn't seem as terrible as one might imagine. His face is a bit pale, giving off an appearance of weakness in the chi and blood, which should be due to a lifelong indulgence in pleasures or staying up late. However, he hasn't completely lost the vitality of youth, especially those eyes, which are full of sharpness. They don't appear as timid as the old leader said. Thinking of this, he slightly nodded and said, follow me, please. The middle-aged man surnamed Lou, accompanied by the boy, walked into the interior. He then solemnly stated, let's not waste time with pleasantries. The old man has asked me to train you to instill some manly spirit. As his grandson, I believe it is necessary. Today, we will first test your physical condition. Tomorrow, I will tailor the training tasks to your specific situation. Rest assured, you are still young, no matter how much you train, you won't die. Dog brother, let's do 2 sets of bench presses first and see how you do. Yes, Uncle Lou. Dog brother lay down as instructed, picked up an empty rod, took a deep breath, and slowly raised it. Dog brother's dad saw his son immediately choose an empty pole and shook his head and sighed. Just outside, he had seen many girls who could add 10 kilograms to a single pole. No wonder the old man said this kid had no manly spirit. But that Lou uncle didn't see it that way. Instead, he gave the child a somewhat surprised glance. For someone who hadn't come to the gym for years, choosing an empty barbell first was a wise decision. After all, an empty barbell weighs 20 kilograms, and it's not easy for newbies to lift it completely. Many people can only barely handle an empty barbell during their first bench press, and it tends to sway left and right uncontrollably from time to time. But this kid's movements are very standard. His back is tightly pressed against the bench press, leaving no gap, and his lower legs are naturally perpendicular to the ground, clearly to avoid arching excessively. Most importantly, his breathing rhythm during the bench press is perfectly synchronized with his body, which is almost perfect. Those who are well-versed in exercise know the importance of breathing coordination, especially for someone who has practiced internal martial arts like him, who understands the significance of breathing in exercise even more. This breathing rhythm, it's something that even a master of the old internal martial arts might not claim to maintain at all times. This kid must have just stumbled upon it, right? Thinking of this, he asked, if I add more, can we continue? Dog brother hesitated for a moment, then said uncertainly, I don't know, I haven't tried. Let's give it a try. Old Lou wouldn't let him refuse, and directly added a single 10-kilogram plate to the horizontal bar, then said, try lifting it. Dog brother's face showed a hint of bitterness, but he dared not defy this elder. Though Uncle Lou is just an old guard of the grandfather, his status at home is very high. Mom said that even the most successful uncle in the family has to respectfully call him Lou Goo. He took a deep breath and exerted himself, only to realize in a split second that he lacked the strength. He felt embarrassed immediately, thinking that this weight could probably be lifted by many girls who have a bit of exercise. Suddenly, I missed the version of myself in the game, where he was a real man who could carry bricks for several meals. With insufficient strength, he naturally couldn't maintain his professional posture, and his body began to exhibit the action of lifting the bridge. The chubby dad beside saw it and called out immediately, bridge up, bridge up. Quick, straighten your posture. Shut up. Lubo glared at the chubby man watching the play before turning to dog brother and saying, keep going. Many people who perform bench presses believe that the bridge is an incorrect movement, and even many bodybuilders exaggerate its side effects. However, in fact, the bridge is very necessary when it comes to breaking through a strength plateau. Upper body strength is insufficient, and the body will unconsciously borrow the power from the waist and abdomen, causing the body to arch. This does not mean it is not permissible. As long as the movements are proper, it can even help you break through the current strength bottleneck. Otherwise, even if your movements are perfectly standard, can you only lift a 10-kilogram dumbbell your whole life? Indeed, after utilizing the strength of his waist, Dog Brother managed to lift the barbell that he had previously been unable to budge. Old Lou stepped closer. As most inexperienced individuals might injure themselves with a wrong move when breaking through their strength, he moved in to provide support at any moment. But to his surprise, the child was steadier than he had imagined. Even in situations where the breakthrough force was unstable, his rhythm was still perfect. As time went by, Dog Brother gradually became accustomed to that weight, and his body began to try to compensate, no longer relying on the strength of his waist and abdomen. Surprisingly, he could barely push the weight. The process was extremely smooth, to the point where even Lubo, a professional military trainer, couldn't find any flaws. He became curious and asked, "Xiaoyu, have you practiced before?" Dog Brother was taken aback. "To be honest, really not. Does that count in the game?" Seeing that the other person did not respond, Lubo slightly narrowed his eyes, then said, "Get up." Oh, Dog Brother cautiously put down the weightlifter, slowly getting up from the bench press machine, his breathing shifting from heavy to light. Without any awkwardness, Lubo noticed this and a spark of light flashed in his eyes. "You hit that for me to see." Eh? Dog, upon hearing this, looked at the punch force tester that Mr. Lou was pointing at, slightly bewildered. "Brother Lou, are you kidding? That's a professional tester. Anything below 80 kilograms is not up to par." Dad quickly came to his rescue. He knows his son, he's as weak as a chicken, and it would be too embarrassing if he can't even turn on the lights later. Dog Brother furrowed his brow slightly, feeling a bit uncomfortable with his father's apparent knowledge of his own lack of ambition. After all, his father had never cared about him while he was out partying all day. Thinking of this, he recalled the instructor's techniques about his force generation in the game. Subconsciously, he adjusted his posture, sinking his waist and straightening his legs, deeply regulating his breath. Several core muscles tensed from relaxation to tension with his breathing, maintaining an astonishing consistency. Instantly, Dog Brother suddenly opened his eyes, a ray of light flashing in them, and his aura became fierce in an instant. Bang! 209 kilograms. A skyrocketing number caused the chubby father who was drinking water to cough out a mouthful of water from his nostrils. After choking a few times, he was startled and exclaimed, "My God, is the tester broken?" Lubo squinted his eyes into a thin line, not the least bit suspicious of the data, although it sounds a bit far-fetched for a child who looks incredibly weak to deliver a punch with the strength of a near-professional boxer. The rhythm of his punches was fluid, almost utilizing his body to its fullest, disregarding the physical aspect. That punch was undoubtedly one that only a first-rate martial artist could have landed. "Has Xiaoyu practiced martial arts?" Lubo suddenly asked. "Ah?" Dog stood there, staring blankly at that number, and upon hearing Lubo's question, he snapped back to reality, feeling flustered. No, I haven't." Suddenly, it was as if he couldn't believe his own fist. To be honest, he even somewhat believed his dad's viewpoint. Was it that the tester was malfunctioning? After leaving the gym, old Lou, having said goodbye to the Na family, strolled down a quieter path. After walking for a while, he finally took out his phone and called his former supervisor. "Hey, little Lou, how are you doing? Are you getting used to living over there?" A strong voice came through the phone. Some are not accustomed to it. Laolu's face rarely showed a smile. "Too humid. Still, our old Beicheng is the best." "Ha ha." A hearty laugh came over the phone. "So eager to return to work already? What? Is that little rascal completely beyond redemption?" "This isn't." Lou Botton paused, lowering his voice and said, "Old leader, your son might not be simple." "Oh? How did the test results turn out?" The Du of Zhengzhou City asked, in his office, of the secretary who had gone to inquire about the situation. This is the third day of the school lockdown, with tens of thousands of students involved. Every day, parents are blocking the outside, and the external public opinion is under immense pressure. Even the federal minister has taken personal interest in it. The regional administrator here says he's feeling the strain. The secretary hesitated for a moment before delivering the bad news that had been passed on from the testing center. After inspection, it was confirmed that the monkey indeed contracted the unknown new virus this time. The Du heard this and immediately felt a jolt. This truly was the worst news. This means that all caregivers and family members who have had contact with that zoo and the monkey will be forced into quarantine, and the lockdown period for the tens of thousands of students will be indefinitely extended until the student who fed the monkey is found. "Duke, the news channel has been demanding that we grant the public the right to know. Should we step forward to explain?" The emotions of those parents are becoming increasingly unstable at the moment. The secretary asked hesitantly. "Explanation? How to explain?" The general gave him a glance and helplessly scratched his few sparse strands of hair. In the current situation of the blockade, if he didn't explain, the parents might just be anxious, but if he did explain, it might directly lead to a riot. The proposal from the General Inspection Center, tailored to the school's situation, is the dormitory management system. Although it is an unavoidable measure, it goes against humaneness when spoken aloud. Because a dormitory must have at least 4 people, this management plan can prevent widespread infection, but its drawback is that if the unwillingly admitting student becomes infected, his 3 roommates are definitely doomed. This plan, if revealed, would undoubtedly spark widespread media criticism today. Once parents' emotions are stirred by those with malicious intent, they might easily spiral out of control. Because no one can be sure whether their own child is one of the 3 unfortunate ones. The current situation requires holding back and not speaking out, allowing the student who refuses to admit fault to have a breakdown. Once the dust settles, I believe that, besides the families of the 4 students, the parents of the students who managed to avoid trouble will turn around and be grateful to them. Although it's realistic and cruel, sometimes one has to do so. Thinking of this, he dialed the regional military's phone number and explained the situation, hoping to send additional troops to stabilize the situation. As long as he could get through this period, it would be better than facing a collapse due to riots later on, even if he had some black marks that led to his forced retirement. Moreover, if the virus were to spread again, he would truly be guilty of 100 deaths. Thinking of this, he actually started to wish for the student who had contracted the virus to follow quickly, to die early and be reborn, not to drag others down with him. Just as I was thinking that, the secretary suddenly received a phone call. Her originally somber expression instantly brightened upon hearing the news from the phone. What did you say? The administrative chief furrowed his brow, wondering what was wrong with this Xiao Wang. At such a frustrating time, why was he still making a fuss? So unsteady, should he consider changing his secretary? Governor! The secretary exclaimed excitedly, that student, he has volunteered to confess. What? The governor abruptly stood up from his office chair upon hearing this. Is it true? Yes, just now, the message came from the blockade team. It's a female student from Area B who admitted it herself. After verification by the psychologist, it should be accurate. Good, good, good. The governor immediately rubbed his hands and smiled, a good child, with a sense of the overall situation, a brave child. Then, he asked in a hurry, did his roommate control the situation first? The secretary, upon hearing this, quickly picked up the phone to inquire, but then the originally excited expression on his face suddenly stiffened. What's wrong? The administrator's heart filled with unease upon seeing the secretary's expression, his voice becoming overly cautious, fearing another mishap. The secretary swallowed a sip of saliva, hesitated to look at the administrative director, and finally confessed honestly, they said one of the roommates ran away. What did you say? Ran away? The senior officer in charge of sealing off the school glared at the subordinate responsible for the report, his face as cold as iron, his anger and disbelief palpable. With so many of you, at least you have the name of professional special forces, how could you let a girl in her early 20s escape? Are you F***king kidding me? The team leader responsible for sealing off the dormitory was too embarrassed to raise his head. To be honest, there were a dozen or so people in their class, all from special forces backgrounds, and yet they watched helplessly as a little girl escaped. It's an absolute disgrace to talk about it. After being angry for a while, the officer finally calmed down and asked, tell me the specifics. The team leader bit the bullet and recounted the situation at hand. It was around 2 p.m. when, due to a circuit issue, the 43-degree weather without air conditioning, and being forcibly locked in the dormitory, many students erupted in discontent, cursing and verbally abusing the person who concealed the situation. The dormitory of Xiaoyun was no different, with the constant cursing of the two female roommates. Xinya, who had been under immense psychological pressure these days, could no longer hold back and knocked on the door to confess. Upon hearing the news, the team leader did not delay. First, he notified the higher-ups, and then called the isolation team to bring over isolation suits. However, he did not expect that one of them, upon seeing the situation, quickly ran back to his dormitory and locked the door. At that time, they didn't pay much attention, thinking that they would enter and apprehend the individuals after the isolation team arrived. However, they never expected that after the isolation team arrived and forcibly broke down the door, they discovered that the girl named Guo Xiaoyun had vanished. The former squad leader took a glance and saw that the room window was open, but he merely coldly smiled, thinking to himself, this little girl has watched too many movies, always thinking she can pull some little tricks. This is the 6th floor. A fool would believe she could jump down from the window. Immediately, with their teammates, they searched behind the door and inside the wardrobe, and they also forcibly pried open the tightly closed game room from the outside. However, after searching, they discovered, surprisingly, it's really gone. My goodness, could it be? Did it really jump off? The team leader was also flustered and quickly looked out the window. Outside the dormitory were air conditioning units. Theoretically speaking, with a bit of courage and delicate operation, it's not impossible to climb down. But does a 20-something-year-old student have such bravery? And she's a girl? This is not even mentioning the sweltering heat outside. The air conditioning outdoor units are so hot that they could fry pork belly to a 7-degree doneness. Just talking about the courage, a special forces soldier by birth wouldn't dare to casually jump down from the air conditioning unit. Do you think this is a movie scene? But what if they really did it? The thought struck the squad leader like a chill. To be honest, if it were true, he, as the squad leader, would really be in for a big mess this time. Because the downstairs used to be guarded, but since the target was locked in, all the manpower was called up. So, when you add it all up, it seems like it's all his fault.
郭晓云同志，你再不老实交代，我就向你家里人举报你旷课，和野男孩出去开车了。吃饭10几个围着他室友一脸坏笑道。被调侃的女孩正是游戏里一直在积分上力压甘地的头号玩家，与女无瓜。此时他正被自己的无良室友围攻，显得极为狼狈。你们胡说八道什么呀？郭晓云脸红了一下，解释道：“我真是在玩游戏，可能是备用电池电量够足吧，毕竟买的南湖的。你就净瞎扯吧。”众室友翻着白眼，心中暗道：真当1节更比6节强了。何况他们之前就看过游戏舱里面根本就没人。其中一个染了酒红色头发的女孩坏笑道：“你们就别逼她了，小丫头大学3年第一次外出开车，肯定脸皮薄，哪像你们这些老江湖，事后讨论男人敏感的东西信手拈来。”男人敏感的东西？小云愣了一下，下意识向众司机请教道：“是什么呀？”食堂里周围一群单身狗也竖起了耳朵，想听听这几个女司机的高见。当然是兵线了，还能是什么？温珊珊撇嘴道：“还有镀层。”旁边另外一女的接话道：“那你货多。”众屌丝连连点头，不愧是经验丰富的老学姐，把他们摸得如此通透。见话题终于从自己身上转移了，小云微微松了一口气，随即望着碗里的饭菜，却一点胃口都没有。怎么回事？自己在游戏舱里躺了差不多3天了，滴水未进，怎么一点饥饿感都没有？哎，你们听说没？昨天梦幻岛有猴子逃了出来，现在满城都在通缉那只猴子呢。温珊珊突然开启了新话题道：“ 有猴子逃出来了。周围人闻言，脸色顿时一变。最近联邦南非区爆发新型病毒，以猴子为媒介，迅速感染了南非大片领土，传染速度极快，而且几乎是100%致死率。现今已经引起了极大的恐慌，联邦东西联盟都分别封锁了那边所有通道，并对本地从南非进货的猴子进行全面检疫。这种大型检疫让很多动物园都发出了抗议，认为这是无端造起恐慌，极大的影响了那些大型动物生态园的盈利，涉及到各大资本家的利益，导致检疫工作在很多地方都受到各种阻碍，但唯独华中区检疫工作却进行得极为顺利。原因很简单，华中这片土地从古至今从来不存在能和政府叫板的大型资本，即便联邦成立之后，这里的政府强势态度依旧如此。在宣布检疫开始后，80%的动物园都老实配合，跳一点的，如这梦幻园的老板在抗议之后，听说昨天就被叫去喝茶了，至今未归。动物园也在第2天直接被封，上千亿的项目，政区封起来眼都不眨一下，这让华中区剩下的动物园老板都瞬间老实了起来。这样虽然霸道了一些，但效果也很明显。联邦成立200年以来，南非一共爆发过13次大型疫情，最严重的一次几乎席卷大半个地球，但身为人口最多的中亚区却从来没受过影响。身在中亚的联邦子民一直都感觉那些世界级的瘟疫离自己很远，但即便如此，在听到有猴子逃出来后，一个个还是脸色一变，毕竟外面听说都死几十万人了，心中还是有些发虚的。你说那猴子会跑哪里去呢？红发学姐也好奇道。应该就在我们大学城吧。一直没胃口的郭小云突然道。周围人闻言顿时一愣，几个女生也吓得筷子上的肉都掉回盘子里，嗔怪道：你这死丫头还学会吓人了呀？不是吓你们。小云若无其事地摆弄着范例道：梦幻岛进口的南非猴是树熊猴和金熊猴，均分布在动物园的 B14区，那个位置三面环水，唯一能逃出来的方向就是穿过 B16的森然区，从南山那一块往东北面逃，路过的方向除了盘龙区就是我们大学城区了。盘龙区是灯市区，从南山那里一路过去都是高速公路，如果是往那里走，早被路控看到然后被抓了。而且猴子是树栖动物，往我们大学城走才是正常选择。众人，他说的好像很有道理的样子呀。小云呀，一群室友呆愣愣道：你从哪里知道这么多的啊？郭小云自己也愣了一下，随即摸着下巴道：2年前他开业的时候我去逛过一回。你扯吧。几个室友顿时猛翻白眼，你才去过一次就那么熟，连什么动物在什么区都知道，还是2年前，真当过目不忘的神童呀。小云听到反驳后也沉默了起来，因为他也觉得自己说的那番话有些不可思议。自己的记忆力不算差，但绝对没有到过目不忘的级别，而且就算知道动物分区，连猴子走的方向都分析得那么清楚，自己有那么熟那里的地形吗？他发现自从最近开始玩那游戏成为开发者之后，好像老是会发生这种事，就是以前一些不经意的记忆总会在需要的时候突然冒出来，感觉自己的大脑就像一台高效的智能计算机一样。是玩游戏玩入魔了吗？就在这时，突然食堂外传来一阵嘈杂的声音，随后便看到他们那个秃头副校长带着一群穿军服的人走了进来。众人被这阵仗吓得一愣，小云却微微眯眼，心中暗道：不会真这么准吧？根据他的计算，那只猴子来大学城的路线由南到北，自己学校就在南山之下，猴子极有可能就藏在他们学校。同学们，请不要紧张。副校长尽量带着安抚的笑意，但那笑容笑得比哭还难看，反而让人更加紧张了。想必你们也看过新闻，关于昨日梦幻岛猴子出走的事情了。部队那边追踪到了那只猴子，已经成功捕捉，危机已经解除。但由于猴子出现在我们学校，而且我们发现这猴子在2小时前被人投过时，很有可能与那只猴子有过直接接触，所以请各位同学配合长官们找出那个人来。郭小云听到这话面皮一抽，大脑画面急转，突然一个极为不经意的瞬间回忆在脑海之中，让他顿时脸色阴沉了下来。就在刚才温珊珊提起猴子话题的时候，旁边那个酒红色头发的学姐身体却很明显的僵硬了一下，表情也闪过一丝不自然。这个画面其实在发生的时候，郭小云并没有在意，因为她满脑子都是在想游戏舱的事，对学姐那不自然的表情几乎是下意识略过。按道理来说，这种不经意的画面大脑会下意识遗忘才对，但此刻的她在听到秃头校长的话后，那不经意的画面瞬间被大脑找了出来，和眼前的局面串联。虽然有些惊讶于自己的能力，但此时郭小云更在意这个画面所传递的信息。难道不是吧？想到那个可能性，郭小云一颗心顿时感觉坠入冰窖一般。此时食堂众学员皆都面面相觑，只觉得这突如其来的剧情实在太过刺激，一时间都不知道该说什么。众人一脸懵逼之时，校长身后的那个军官却趁此快速地扫视着各个学员的表情。郭小云心中咯噔一下，看了一眼旁边脸色苍白的新雅学姐，突然想到了什么一般，立刻坐直了身体，极为细腻地挡住了教官扫过来的眼神。雅欣和周围学员的脸色有着明显的不同，苍白的没有丁点血色，显然是处于惶恐的状态。不是吧？小云脸色越发阴沉。如果刚才那些画面传递的信息只是展示这种可能，现在看学姐这表情，她几乎就可以完全确定，秃头校长口中给猴子投食的那个人就是他。我擦，这学姐是不是脑子有屎啊？满世界这2天都在谈猴变色，你遇到了居然还敢主动喂食， 就算没看昨天的新闻，你见到学校里突然出现只猴子，就不觉得奇怪吗？咋心就那么大呢？而另一边，那军官扫了一圈，并没有发现异常，微微皱眉。校长见状连忙道：“同学尽管放心，我们华中区检验外来物种一向是非常严格的，那只猴子大概率是健康状态，而且这次病毒并不是通过空气传播，只要没被抓伤，被感染的可能性基本没有，只不过是为了以防万一而已。请那位同学自觉站出来承认，好让我们第一时间能帮助你。”酒红色头发的学姐闻言，脸色变得更加苍白，颤抖着正要站起来的时候，旁边的郭晓云见状，赶紧一把按住了她。开玩笑，别看那秃头说的那么温和，只要学姐承认，她敢肯定，他们这一桌子一起吃饭的人绝对会抓去隔离起来，一个都跑不掉。几十万人。火星基地上，西月刚回基地没多久，猛然间听到这个消息，直接就如弹簧一般从床上蹦了起来，一脸愤怒道：“什么情况？314961人。”智能机械般的回答道：“这还只是官方收集到的数据，一些野外数据并未记录在内。”西月连忙问道：“那疫情控制住了吗？”开什么玩笑！如今每一个地球人对西月来说都是能孵化金凤凰的金蛋蛋，自己这边几千个都当宝一样，又买宿舍又请教官的，那边告诉他直接损失了几十万个，已经将地球当成自己私有物的西月，当然不能容忍这种事发生。几十万人，自己亏了多少钱？智能，地球联邦东西联盟都对南非区进行了封锁，也派遣了志愿者和军队支援，但根据本智能计算，这病毒易变成空气传播只是时间问题，地球联邦根本没做好准备。那会怎么样？西月闻言，心中咯噔一下，有些不安地问道：“南非局势恶劣，没有研究出疫苗的情况下，65%的情况下，病毒会大面积爆发，再加上那里本就不稳定的政治生态，很难有效组织抵抗力量，85%的可能性会发生暴乱。初步计算，一旦发生暴乱或病毒爆发，南非人口至少损失1000万级以上。”什么？1000万？西月顿时一脸阴沉的来回踱步，过了半晌才问道：“有什么办法可以解决这次危机吗？”领主，你刚刚招了人回来，要组织日常，不能离开基地。而且这次情况你亲自前去，并不如玩家前去的效率高。哦，西月一愣，玩家？关玩家什么事？你难道是想……智能，是时候来一场史诗级任务了。西月，开什么玩笑？他一下便听懂了智能打什么主意了。他居然想利用玩家去阻止病毒的爆发，这智能是疯了吗？自己到底买了一个什么坑爹产品？智能，领主是不信任自己的子民吗？西月，我是不信任你。智能，领主又在说笑了。本智能什么时候让您失望过？西月微微一愣，这家伙好像除了嘴损一点外，好像的确没让他失望过，至少目前看来。不过他并不能因为这样就答应这个疯狂的计划，于是发出了第一个质疑：万一暴露了怎么办？智能，不会，本智能调查过，南非那边非常落后，瘟疫区大部分都是原始设施，并没有多重监控，而且如今局势混乱，只要计划得当，绝对不会暴露。那玩家他们自己呢？难道不会怀疑吗？西月又质疑道：智能，只要计划得当，那些单纯的绿巨人玩家应该能忽悠过去。那开发者呢？西月一脸阴沉地问道：要执行这种任务，肯定要善于分析局势的开发者带队吧？他们难道会看不出问题来？智能，领主难道认为没有这次事件，开发者就察觉不到这所谓游戏的谎言了吗？西月闻言顿了一下，没有回话，显然是默认了智能的说法。如今基地发展顺利，在智能设计下，那群单纯的玩家似乎并没有发现破绽，但时间长了，自然会慢慢发现问题。比如说身体进化这方面，虽然玩家们进化的身体和他们本来的身体不是同一个，可随着生命等级增加，脑部开发也会渐渐增加。到那时候，玩家便会发现自己能做到常人所不能做到的事。这其中发酵最快的应该就是开发者，因为他们进化的方向就是脑域。现在大家都还在一级生命范畴，还不至于显得太夸张。开发者要在进入2、3级的时候，才会发现自己能精神力能外放。但即便是现在，这些开发者也该也能发现异常，比如记忆力、反应力、大脑计算能力会有一个质的提示，甚至能提升到很夸张的程度。适应能力强一点的，甚至会发现自己的大脑计算能力不亚于电脑。当他们反应过来的时候，这游戏的秘密自然也就瞒不了这群人了。智能继续道：尊敬的领主大人，与其被动被揭破，不如化被动为主动，借由这次任务，向开发者玩家们提前说明游戏秘密，并签订保密协议，这样靠谱吗？西月有些担心道：当然。智能肯定道：脑子聪明了，自然计算得出利弊，这也是开发者的好处。如果领主不信，我们来看一个例子吧。什么例子？西月愣了一下道：智能，如今正有一个开发者玩家陷入病毒危机当中，已经被当地军队隔离。如果他的选择是想办法重连游戏，找我们来帮他，就证明这些开发者知道该如何选择正确的道路。那如果他选择泄密呢？西月反问道。本智能吞愤自尽。西月不知道为什么，他突然很期待对方泄密呢。人大多都是自私的。小云直到此时才深有体会，因为如果他今天没有和这个学姐在一桌吃饭，哪怕和他再熟，恐怕都会以大众安全为借口举报他。就算不明着举报，也会暗地里给教官提示，哪里会像现在这般反而阻止他自首。 曾有数据表明，大部分染上病毒的人都不愿被隔离，很多人明知自己得了病毒，依旧会想方设法往家乡跑，或是想落叶归根，或是想报复社会，或者想见一见家里人。尽管他们自己心里也清楚，自己可能会传染家人、朋友，甚至自己最亲密的人，但大部分人依旧会这么做。原因有很多，有的人心存侥幸，有的人就是破罐子破摔，在外人看来很不能理解，但只有身在其中的人才知道，在死亡逼近的瞬间，人的自私会显示得淋漓尽致。小云便是这心存侥幸的众多凡人之一。作为一个受过良好教育的大学生，他自然知道病毒泄露的后果，严重点可能会死成千上万的人，但他依旧心存侥幸。就像那秃头校长说的，那猴子可能并不是病猴，一切只是虚惊一场，没必要小题大做。他不想被隔离，哪怕是拿千万人的命做赌注。小云那酒红色头发的学姐再没了以前那大姐姐的模样，害怕道：“真不是故意的。”小云眼角眯了一下，没有一丝同情。这种有可能被对方害得染上病毒的情况下，他才没心情去同情对方。但这时候，为了不让那教官看出名堂来，只能低声安抚道：“没事的，学姐，你也听秃头说了，那猴子很大可能情况是健康的，而且你也只是投食而已，不会有事的。”雅欣本来自己也心存侥幸，在被对方这么一说后，更是连连点头，那样子看得小云一阵胀眼睛。但他还必须鼓励对方这种情绪。可是学校会不会把我们全部抓去隔离啊？雅欣担心道。不可能，郭小云摇头道，咱们大学加老师一起有7、8万人，C 市没有这种资源隔离所有人，最多封锁学校，不让我们出去。要封锁学校吗？雅欣顿时又慌乱起来，看到对方这姿态，小云暗自抱怨，真是没用的家伙，但不得不继续摆出安抚的姿态，直接握住对方的手道，不用担心，只要这几天没人出现病毒症状，那边猴子的实验结果出来后就没事了。这样啊。雅欣闻言，情绪稍稍缓和了一些，但小云却心中猛地一沉，因为刚才她握住学姐双手的时候，只感觉像冰块一样。这么热的天，人不太可能手脚冰冷成这样吧？现在仔细看看，学姐脸色苍白，一开始还以为是吓的，可现在看来的确不太正常，人哪里可能吓成这样？难道学姐你脸色不太好，等会容易被单独审问，来吃点辣椒润润脸色啊？雅欣一愣，结巴道：“我吃不得辣，吃不得辣最好，这样才更容易辣出脸色来。不要了吧？”雅欣可怜兮兮道：“小云，来张嘴。”此时小云的情绪几乎到了快爆发的顶点，她虽然很不想承认，但心中明白自己大概率可能被眼前这家伙给坑了。病毒会不会通过空气传播，她不知道，但通过唾液能传播几乎是100%的。要是通过血液传播，根本就不可能那么短时间造成新闻里那么可怕的规模。学姐这身体表现来看，恐怕多半中招了。而和她一起吃饭的我们也多半也，还真是最坏的情况发生了。想到这里，再看到对方还一副半可怜的模样，郭小云恨不得一筷子插死对方。雅欣也察觉到对方眼中的冷意，顿时哆嗦了一下，不敢再卖萌，听话的张开了嘴巴，心中不禁暗道：这丫头眼神怎么能这么可怕呀？你们在干什么？坐对面桌的2个女室友看到小云一筷子一筷子的夹着大块辣椒皮往雅欣嘴里塞，顿时一脸诡异。刚才食堂议论纷纷，声音嘈杂，他们没听到对面2人的小声对话，此时看到这幅场景，顿时有些懵住了。小云一边往雅欣嘴里塞辣椒，一边面无表情道：学姐脸色不太好，我怕她被那些当兵的为难。雅欣含着泪连连点头，看得2人一阵无语，暗道：再为难能有你这样为难的呀？门口的校长见没人承认，脸色变得不是很好看，于是沉声道：既然没人承认，那就配合一下调查吧。所有人吃完饭后依次排队回宿舍，没有得到允许的情况下，不可以随意走出宿舍门。到饭点的时候，会有专门的人引导你们去食堂，请大家遵守秩序，不要做一些过激举动。这话一出，所有人顿时哗然，这是什么意思？是在监禁他们吗？开什么玩笑？一群人顿时闹了起来。校长还在说，一旁的军官轻咳一声后缓步上前：安静。这军官的声音很沉，再加上他那张充满威严的脸和有别于普通人的气场，一下镇住了食堂那些皮猴子。但小云却显得很平常，这军官给的压迫力和他在游戏里遇到的那些驻守军人差太远了，他根本感受不到任何压力。关于病毒的新闻，想必你们大多也看过了，这病毒很危险，哪怕是1/1000的可能性，为了你们和外面人民的安全，我们都不得不这样做，也请你们谅解。这次上面从军区调了一个团的陆战部队，全方位封锁了学校，外面都是全副武装的战士，请你们配合，不要做什么过激的举动。众人闻言顿时一脸铁青，这是赤裸裸的威胁他们呀。不过众人还是老实，这毕竟不是网络上，并没有哪条好汉敢跳出来说你他妈有种打死我呀之类的俏皮话。真遇到武力威胁了，哪怕是群雄孩子都还是很识时务的。小云那边依旧面无表情的喂辣椒，只为的学姐满脸通红，这才放下了碗筷，点点头道：脸色正常很多。雅欣哪里正常？嘴唇都肿了。小云没有理会他，而是站了起来举手笑道：校长，我们这里吃好了。校长和那军官都微微一愣，总感觉这丫头是太憨憨了，看不懂局势，还是神经太过大条，还能笑得这么灿烂的，却不知小云脸上抱着笑容，心中却是无比焦急。她要赶紧回宿舍去， 如今这种近乎绝望的情况，他心中却知道他还没有彻底到绝路。只要自己回到游戏舱，只要自己能回到那个游戏，那款游戏能救自己。小云，看你把学姐欺负的，2个室友心疼的围着嘴巴肿的和香肠一样的新雅学姐，一脸责怪的瞪着郭小云。雅欣，嘤，嘤你没啊？郭小云没好气的翻了个白眼，懒得理会他们，直接扒到窗户看了看外面，脑袋飞速运转着。华中编制一个标准团一般是1500人，他们天府区属于西南编制，调用最近的部队应该是长江岸分区的驻扎部队，因为是特殊区，一个团的编制可能会比其他地方多一些，可能会有2000人左右。他们学校占地5200余亩，有 A、B、C、虎溪4个校区，校舍建筑面积近160万平方米，老校区不算在内也有近60万平米。一个团的兵力想要完全封锁这里根本不可能。学校是公园式外墙，很多地方成年人随便攀爬一下便能翻出去，把学校全部围住是不可能的，所以只要突破宿舍封锁这一关，想要逃出去还是有可能的。小云看着外面，暗暗计算着如果被迫要逃跑的话，最好的路线。毕竟他也摸不准那个游戏到底是不是自己心中想的那样，要做好最坏打算才是。小云，说你呢？几个室友见他不回话，学姐又一直嘤，顿时都脸色不满地瞪着他。郭小云这才回过头来，看着2个还被蒙在鼓里和一旁装可怜的学姐，顿时一阵不耐烦，摆手道：“我要上游戏做任务，你们自己休息吧，下午吃饭前我会出来的，没事不要打扰我。”说着头也不回地走进了自己房间，关上了房间门。众室友甚至还听到咔嚓一声锁门的声音。嘿，这死丫头什么态度呀？一短发室友顿时恼怒起来。算了，可能也是被吓的。温珊珊柔声劝解道，说的我们没被惊吓一样，被吓了就拿学姐撒气。学姐招他惹他了？短发室友一愤难平，旁边的新雅捂着的眼睛露出一丝闪躲，依旧低头嘤不说话。欢迎回来，编号117号玩家，与女无瓜。熟悉的声音响起，让小云眼中闪过一丝喜色。刚才他在进入游戏舱前已经检查过一次了，游戏舱的确是一点电都没有了。他抱着试试看的心情躺了进去，按照往常的样子点开屏幕，屏幕依旧亮了起来。如果不是南湖电池变异了，那就只能说明游戏舱被改造过了。果然，这绝对不是什么正经游戏。随着智能提示，小云漫步地走出了营养舱，望着周围熟悉的场景，悠悠道：“没关系吗？就这样放我出去，不怕其他玩家感染病毒？和那些绿巨人或者精灵不一样，他们开发者并没有新的身体，下线的时候也不需要在营养舱里换回原本的肉体，所以他猜测现在自己的身体就是地球上那一副。检测到未知病毒，但病毒等级低于1级，并不具备突破1级生命体免疫力的感染力，请玩家放心。”郭小云闻言，身体抖了一下，虽然已经猜到，但在听到对方承认后，他绷紧的神经这才微微放松，暗道：“得救了，请玩家根据路线图提示到领主屋待命。”郭小云很顺从的点了点头，他知道现在自己的命运全都捏在那个所谓的领主身上了。基地里有单独隔出一个领主的专门住所，平时是禁止玩家入内的。此时看到与女无瓜一路走向那里的时候，周围的玩家又开始叽叽喳喳起来。玩家甲，难道又有新任务？玩家乙，这不公平呀，一直优先那些积分高的，我们这些底层玩家毫无体验感呐。玩家丙，就是，望着一群绿巨人那一副无知又带着羡慕的表情，郭小云微微叹气，暗道：搬砖真悲哀。一路进到领主室里，随着防护门的关闭，小云望着那桌前坐着的高大领主，沉默不语。西月望着自己手底下最优秀的开发者，心情也是复杂，既高兴对方确实够优秀，知道第一时间求助于这里，又遗憾自己看不到智能吞粪了。但说实话，如果智能输了，他准备以什么形态吞粪？如果是操控一个机器吞粪，算不算数呢？果然自己还是被耍了吗？没什么想说的吗？沉默了良久，西月轻咳一声后主动问道。小云沉默了一阵后抬头道：“您那叫诈骗合同，在我们那里这种合同是不算数的。”嗨嗨，西月呛了一下，他没想到对方第一时间会提起这事儿，顿时颇有些尴尬，没好气的问道：“你这时候不是应该关心一下你自己的处境吗？”有什么好关心的？小云翻了个白眼道：“刚才智能说了，病毒无法感染1级以上的生命体。我看了看资料，我也是1级生命体吧？这病毒应该对我无用才对。”西月捂头，所以说属下人太聪明也不是什么好事。你不会真打算一直这样让我们打白工吧？小云继续问着尖锐的问题。怎么会？西月正色道：“我可是一个仁慈的领主，怎么会做那种不要脸的事？”小云，那你准备什么时候发工资？年轻人不要动不动就谈钱，作为新人，你应该要更在意自己的成长、前途，在意自己能积累多少东西，能做出多少贡献，而不是张口闭口就问老板要工资。小云，那你就是不想给喽？西月真是油盐不进的家伙，看来隐瞒大众的策略还是要继续进行。想想前段日子作为玩家的时候，这些家伙是多么朴实，加班加点，无怨无悔，钱什么东西都没人提过。现在一下知道自己是个打工仔，就变成了那副死要工资的丑恶嘴脸。可你们现在还不是转正员工， 在你们身上，本领主花了很大代价让你们进化，任何公司势力都不会去无偿花代价培养人的，这一点你能理解吧？郭小云愣了愣，在并不知道自己基因只值1.5块的情况下，他憨憨的点了点头，一时间没能反驳。但本领主也不是吝啬之人，这样吧，你身上的病毒智能已经提取样本，通过你的免疫血清制作出了解毒剂。此次本领主会发布一个大型任务，由你带头指挥。如果你能完美解决这次病毒危机，本领主就破例让你这个实习期的员工享受正式员工的薪资，怎么样？多少？500日薪？想屁吃！当然是月薪。小云，开什么玩笑？我们那里一天搬砖都不止500。西月，年轻人，你不要欺负本领主，是外星人就随意乱扯。你们那个区域搬砖的行情，本领主是调查过的，一天最多150。小云，我记错了，开挖掘机的一天不止500。西月冷冷一笑，很随意地调出一组招聘数据，只见上面写着高薪8000，聘请挖掘机手，包吃包住。可人家那也是月薪啊，你这一个月500太黑了吧？我捡矿泉水瓶子卖一个月也不止这一点吧？西月，那是你不知道我们天神币的购买力，你们华中区100联邦币连10斤苹果都买不起，我们这里100块能买一货车的普通7级星球居民，一年收入能有500天神币都是小康之家了，你居然还嫌少，是吗？小云有些怀疑道。可我那天在你们星球上看到那一套机甲，好像都要上1起，那是高端市场的最尖端产品，当然不是现在的你能奢望的。等你进化到那个阶层了，自然就有那种购买力了。如果你想往操控室方向发展的话。一听到自己能有机会拥有机甲，小云顿时眼睛一亮，最终半信半疑的被西月哄了出去。在小云离开领主室后，智能的声音响了起来：机甲不是应该领主为子民配对的吗？怎么听领主大人的意思，好像是想要他们自己买的？不是你说按照游戏套路的吗？我看了一眼这个星球的游戏，那些玩家买装备不都要自己花钱吗？智能，你居然连武器装备都打算让他们自己掏钱？可这个会比较像游戏一点，不是吗？领主大人变坏了，以前的你不是这样的，是被那地精坑了一波的原因吗？西月，闭嘴！领主回来的第二天，原本淹了吧唧的卢老爷，在看到多了那么多 NPC 后，突然来了精神，兴致勃勃地观察了一天后，又开始第一时间在晨曦评测的专栏里写出了第2篇攻略。大家好，还是我，你们敬爱的卢老爷。首先感谢各位网友对本人上次攻略帖的点赞，连续1个月占据游戏帖网络热搜，并一直没有被志哥教你吃饺子这种恶趣味帖超越，老爷我深感欣慰。很多朋友都在催老爷更新第2篇，在这里老爷我解释一下，不是我不想更新，而是真没什么可更的。游戏出街就那么点内容，该说的我都在第1篇帖子里说了，再开第2篇也没什么可说的。好在这游戏节奏虽慢，但还是知道不能一直一成不变。于是，在3天前，领主分别清点了每个种族荣耀积分最高的一个玩家，跟随他回大联盟进行采购任务。老爷，我很荣幸成为这次木精灵的代表。下面我先说一下这次任务的体验。首先，老爷要说的是，这游戏绝对不是一个半成品。我知道最近由于这游戏热度渐渐提高了后，就有很多公司雇水军开始黑这款游戏了。老爷我也是服了，游戏里玩家总共就几千来人，然后评测区居然有近乎70万条来自不同用户对这款游戏的一星评论，有的人还长篇大幅批判这是一个半成品。老爷我很想问，你玩过？你玩过吗？你特么玩过有种爆 ID 啊，里面就那么点玩家，平时都挤在新手村。你说个名字，老爷我绝对能帮你证明你的存在。下面老爷我先放一组截图，这些截图能证明老爷我的话。截图来自于这次我们任务旅程里见识过的场景，有几千丈的星际列车，天神皇宫一般的学院场景，还有超大型的自由贸易市场。特别是那个贸易市场，地图规模远超老爷我的想象，光一个市场感觉可能比我们一个市区还大。足足走了3个小时，一眼望去还是数不尽的商铺，商品种类更是亮瞎了本老爷的钛合金狗眼。有卖高科技产品的，有买魔法道具的，有卖星际怪兽的，还有卖机甲的。对，这个游戏是有机甲的。在这里，我要为之前劝广大玩家们不要选择开发者这个职业向你们道歉。最新消息，职业后期成长中，只有开发者有可能成为机甲士，并且除了机甲士，开发者还可以选择法系职业。那些已经入坑，因为受到老爷上篇文章影响而没有选择开发者的，老爷我真的表示很抱歉。其实老爷也很冤，这游戏一点口风不漏，谁他妈知道这么个坑爹职业后面有如此光大的前景啊？又有谁能想到一个科幻游戏居然还有法爷？不过老爷还是要说，开发者这个职业前期极为枯燥，相当于一个流水线工人。优秀一点的，就如同于女巫瓜大佬那样沉迷各种算法，乐趣远不如精灵和绿巨人。如果不能忍受的，老爷还是不推荐这个职业。后面说说这个游戏的变化。如今基地里新雇佣了一批 NPC， 似乎是用来辅导我们进阶的，人数最多的是开发者辅导员，辅导学科包括机电、机械、化学、生物、农学，还有医学系之类常见工科。根据领主规定，无论后期想进阶法师系，还是机甲士或者其他什么精神系职业，必须选择一门工科进修。如果有志成为机甲士的，必须精通机械和机电2门学科。这简直就是大学重修呀！在游戏里学知识，老爷我活这么久，还真是头一次听说，真是一款正面积极的模范游戏啊！再次为开发者玩家默哀。当然， 对于开发者玩家来说，最好的消息莫过于基地里那几个法系专业的辅导员了。法师系一共有4个导师，分别教导奥数、元素速能、预言和恶魔系专精。法系专业分得那么细，不知道后期战斗系统会是怎么样的，因为大家都才刚刚开始接受教导，所以老爷我并不清楚这4个法系职业的特性，尤其是预言系，这玩意到底是用来干什么的？战斗时预言你会出左拳还是出千年杀？绿巨人的辅导员也很多，加上那威武无匹的总教官，一共有16个。P.S. 那总教头是真特么威武，和复杂的开发者不同，绿巨人看样子是妥妥的战士种族了。根据领主大人规定，绿巨人玩家在搬满200个小时的砖后就可以申请教学了，所以新来的还是老老实实搬砖，不要怨声载道。在你们之前，我们都搬了2个月砖了，好吗？何况申请教学都是要用积分的，你不搬砖，哪来的积分给你用？教学的内容都是战斗系的，老爷我大概去了解一下，主要分2个大系：狂暴系和武器专精系。狂暴系具体训练内容好像就是引导血脉狂化。我采访过2个学过狂化的玩家感受，听他们说，狂化的时候感觉自己无所不能，但5秒后就有种虚脱致死的感觉，其中落差贼特么酸爽。武器专精类的训练则比较朴素，是关于冷兵器的训练，10个辅导员分别对应10种不同的冷兵器。如今最受欢迎的是枪系和战斧系，最冷门的是弓系和铁拳系。不过对应这点，老爷我有些好奇，这好像是一款科幻游戏，之前那么大的场景，老爷也见过，是一个有机甲和战舰的背景时代，这冷兵器训练到底有什么用呢？最后剩下的就是我们木精灵的导师了，也不知道为什么，我们木精灵导师现今只有一个，是一个非常漂亮的萌妹子，人跟画里走出来的一样。本老爷新老婆预定，这妹子如今的工作是引导我们木精灵成型的。对于这个说法，老爷我现在也没搞懂是什么意思。引导了1天后，大家都变得千奇百怪，变化小一点的就是从球变成椭圆球，变化大一点的直接就变成了一坨肥皂，本老爷就变成了一坨类似冰淇淋之类的东西。听那导师妹子说，精灵成型是一个非常重要的过程，不同的形态会预示着你今后的职业，所以老爷很奇怪，那坨肥皂以后会是什么职业呢？最后再透露一个消息，刚刚领主宣布之后会有一个大型合作任务，会抽取一批训练成果优秀的玩家参加，标准具体没说，不过老爷估计自己是没戏了。自从上次在星球被干王那家伙才死之后，老爷回来好像重新换了一副身体，原本已经熟悉精神力外放的老爷，感觉现在又要重新适应。老爷推测这游戏好像是死亡清零制，一旦身陨，虽然能重生，但之前进化的那个肉体好像是不能复制的，所以请大家以后在外执行任务要万分小心，在外面千万不要去摸不该摸的东西。老爷我就是例子，原本老爷我是精灵第1玩家，如今重生后做引导进度还赶不上一些新人，估计这次任务是轮不到老爷我了。那该死的甘地祖上一定是个鸡杂，老爷我余生必与其死磕到底。好了，今天就写这么多了，如果后面有新的进展，老爷会第一时间更新，有什么没提到的地方也请游戏里的大佬指正。老爷找老婆做引导去了，各位回见。西月看完帖子后习惯性的往下拉，这帖子才贴出来半小时，但底下评论却显示已经过了1万条，失踪人口终于回归了。我靠，你倒是多讲一点呀！那个法师职业有没有什么要求啊？是不是选了开发者就一定能当法爷啊？就是啊，你光说你们辅导员漂亮，给张截图呀！哇，这个列车截图真酷，这美工哪里请的？太特么给力了！这机甲才酷，我擦！你看这细节，这质感，老子决定了，要做机甲士，学机电就学机电，大不了当重读一回大学。话说里面的机电专业知识靠谱不？学了现实中能用不？老爷，你确定你变的是冰淇淋？是坨屎就是坨屎吗？又没人笑你。话说你们精灵按照形态确定职业，你会是什么职业？推粪的。看样子还是没人怀疑这游戏的怪异性。看完评论的西月满意的点了点头，那只要和开发者玩家签下保密协议，应该还能这样隐瞒的运营很长一段时间。话说这次任务到底靠不靠谱呀？西月心中有些担心。根据智能大数据计算，病毒爆发和内乱爆发大概率在1个月以后，任务制定时间为7天，也就是说玩家只有半个月的时间来训练，真的能派去执行任务吗？想到此，西月又开始忧虑起来。果然老板难当呀！咔嚓，一道熟悉的开锁声响起，宿舍里3个人都眼皮一跳，暗道吃饭时间到了。学校如今已经被封锁3天了，在没有网络的情况下，几个女生只能凑一起八卦来打发时间。但显然郭晓云并没有参与他们无聊的活动当中，但他们却发现了郭晓云的异常。这家伙前2天没电，这2天没网，硬说自己在打游戏，除了饭点，一天到晚都在里面锁着，连特么厕所都不上。如果不是每次饭点还会给个面子出来恰顿饭，室友甚至都觉得他是不是成仙了。而且他掐饭点的时间掐点贼准，每次他出来没多久，门口士兵就会来催他们去吃饭了。果然大约几秒过后，门外就传来士兵的敲门声，出门吃饭了。几人连忙起身收拾了一下后，乖乖地站到了门口。士兵提醒一般就只有1次，你要错过这顿饭就没得恰了。因为第1天他们就是故意没理会，导致那1天都没能吃到东西，只能眼睁睁看着郭晓云那死丫头挺着滚圆的肚皮回来，一脸羡慕。从那之后，几个大小姐再不敢作妖，老老实实的按时出门吃饭，每次都显得积极无比。 加上郭晓云人形闹钟一般的准时特性，让他们几乎每次一听到小云的开锁声后，就会自动到门口集合。几人在士兵护送下，很快到了食堂，安排到了一个4人位置上。学校被封锁期间，学生只有在饭点的时候被允许出门，会有士兵护送，极为有秩序的依次进入食堂，并且强制以宿舍为单位，强制拼一桌吃饭，不能随意乱做。这样做的目的很明显，倘若有人染了病毒，那这样的安排能让病毒扩散至最小，最多感染一个寝室的人。饭桌上，郭晓云一如往常般狼吞虎咽，吃相可怖，引得周围人一阵侧目。几个室友也是很无语，以前多文静的一个姑娘，受点刺激咋变化这么大？吃饭和赶命一样，至于吗？光是这样也就罢了，可她现在每次吃完后就直愣愣地盯着他们，那眼神贼恐怖，感觉比武帝电影里贞子那死鱼眼都不妨多让。大白天的，硬是让他们吓得连筷子都差点没拿稳。我说你能不能别这样？短发室友亚楠忍不住捂头道。小云面无表情，依旧直愣愣地盯着他们。你们能不能吃快点？我还要回游戏里做任务呢。由于军队人力有限，所以规定都是一个寝室一个寝室的集体护送回去。室友没吃完，小云一个人也走不了，所以才会这样在吃完饭后对室友展开死亡凝视。啪！亚楠猛地放下碗筷，显然已经到了爆发的顶点。温珊珊见状，连忙也放下碗筷，抢在亚楠爆发前劝道：“小云，你平时吃慢点呀，吃这么快对身体不好的。”郭晓云不为所动，继续面无表情道：“游戏做任务，时间急。哪来的游戏啊？”辛雅也忍不住放下碗筷，皱眉道：“学校都断网了，你玩什么游戏？这2天封锁学校外面早就闹翻天了，很多媒体也紧盯着这里，学校哪里敢让学生上网乱说，直接就拔了网线。但还好，没有丧心病狂般的把电也掐了。”郭晓云抬头回道：“单机游戏？什么单机游戏？好玩吗？”温珊珊好奇道：“这2天他关的也有些无聊，几个女的除了八卦还是八卦，扒多了也觉得没意思。也许和小云一样，玩玩游戏也是个不错的选择。好玩，叫什么名字？”小云，女皇的3000男宠。众女，温珊珊顿时捂脸。小云呀，这种游戏要少玩，很容易变腐女的。辛雅也跟呛道：“就是啊，何况那种游戏什么时候不能玩，用得着吃饭都这么急吗？你就那么饥渴啊？”这话一出，温珊珊顿时眉头一皱，觉得学姐这话就过了。小云抬起头冷冷地盯了对方一眼，被盯得心头毛躁的辛雅顿时怒道：“干什么呀？难道不是每次都这样，搞得我们饭也没吃好？本来这几天就够糟心的了，糟心的日子不是某些人自找的吗？”小云冷冷地打断他道：“学姐这2天气色恢复的不错呀，都敢吼这么大声吸引注意力，是觉得自己身体没问题了是吧？”辛雅顿时一噎，恶狠狠地看着对方，却没有再继续争吵了。小云看到对方模样，心中越发厌烦。她其实很不想把解毒血清给对方注射的，但也没办法，总不能很看另外2个室友和她陪葬吧。而且一旦整个寝室都染了病毒，就她没有，她肯定会被拉去研究的。这种事她自然不能让其发生。于是，在前天半夜里，他只能悄悄潜入另外3人房间，给他们注射了解毒剂。虽然解决了学校病毒问题，但他却没办法解除学校封锁。毕竟上面为了不让病毒泄露，肯定会封锁一段时间的。而自己又不能明着告诉他们病毒已经解决了。这其实也没什么，反正他平时也是宅游戏不出门，唯一麻烦的就是这强制的饭点时间了。其实，在知道这个游戏真实内幕后，他便知道自己就算天天待在里面也没关系，因为那一头本来就是真实存在的，自己完全可以在那边休息饮食，并不需要像现在这样在食堂浪费时间。而且作为一个学霸，在接触到那些 NPC 传授的新知识后，他瞬间就被吸引住了，每天都沉浸在全新的知识海洋中不可自拔，恨不得每一分每一秒都在吸收那些新知识，根本就不想被食堂那难吃的饭菜浪费哪怕1秒的时间。但他又不能不出来，否则几天不吃饭肯定会引起周围人怀疑，等士兵强行进自己屋子里发现自己不见了就很麻烦了，所以才会出现那般狼吞虎咽的吃相，其实就是想早点回到基地里面继续自己知识海洋的遨游。这几天由于他几门课程表现都非常优异，几个导师都啧啧称奇，西岳并决定给他开放了奥数课程。原本一心想当机假释的他，是抗拒成为一个法爷的。不过当奥数知识摆在眼前，他不经意地瞄了几眼后，便真香的时时刻刻都捧着那本奥数基础宝典。如今他已经身兼5门基础课程，外加1门奥数专精，但学起来依旧毫不费力，顿时越发觉得开发者血统太适合自己了。现在的他是一点也不羡慕那些搬砖的大汉了，果然还是读书有意思。由于自己出色的学习能力，西岳领主终于完全确定由自己来担当这次大型抗病毒合作任务的总指挥。任务定在了16天以后，想到任务，小云微微有些担心，也不知道这边会封锁多久。如果半个月后还没解封，那自己操作起来会很不方便呀。毕竟这次任务不仅仅是阻止病毒那么简单。妈，我不是躲避相亲，是真的很忙。最近公司才接新业务，每天都加班到半夜，我哪有时间去相亲啊？什么？女老师还是地罩杯？那又怎么样？地罩杯就能耽搁我加班了吗？儿子，我现在找份工作不容易，您就别老操心我那方面的问题了。等这边忙完了，我会主动和您联系的啊。就这样，挂了哈。经理那边还等着我改 bug 呢。蒲云川挂了电话后，长松了一口气， 随即直接关机，躺进了游戏舱里，一边点开游戏，一边不满地嘟囔道：“真不知道老妈怎么想的，一天到晚就知道叫我相亲，搞得好像我去相亲了她就要媳妇似的，真是想得多。还是玩游戏实在啊。”所以程序员并不是不愿脱宅，而是很有自知之明。欢迎玩家，继你太美回归，您积累的工时已超过48小时，已自动兑换成积分，现目前您的积分总数为271分。随着一声熟悉的提示音后，蒲云川走出营养舱，点击转换按钮，换取自己绿巨人身体。一阵眩晕过后，蒲云川从一间光线昏暗的房间里醒来。对，是从房间里，并不是从某个沙堆或者某个矿工厂里。这次领主回来之后，除了带回一批导师 NPC， 还给他们这些玩家带来了独立的宿舍。宿舍是一种类似压缩包一样的东西，只要找到一个稍稍平稳的地势，按下解压按钮，就会自动形成一个小铁屋子，一室一厅一卫，设施相当齐全，装修也很有科技感。这项福利让他们这些绿泰坦玩家大大的点了个赞。有了宿舍，他们便再也不用因为自己体型过大而被赶到外面睡沙地了。虽然说绿泰坦皮糙肉厚，但每次上线还要呼救队友把自己从沙堆里挖出来，确实不太好过。不过缺点也有，有了房间便要时刻注意房间卫生，也再不能像以前那样随地大小便了，必须在房间里的马桶转换器里解决，而且还要手动控制转换器，将自己的粪便和尿液转换为有机化肥结晶，给农业部那些小精灵们送过去。话说这游戏特么的居然还有大小便，真实的也特过分了点吧。吐槽了一番之后，蒲云川点开了系统，打开了自己的日程和资料。玩家：继你太美，种族：绿泰坦，生命等级1级，职业：矿工，积累积分271，属性面板：力量 1.6， 敏捷 0.4， 精神力 0.1， 体质 1.9。 哇，体质都 1.9 了。蒲云川心中一喜，排名第一的干王也就 2.0， 自己体质也该算出类拔萃的了，只要把技巧课再练上去，这次大型任务的名额应该就稳了吧。想到此，他连忙对着系统道：“系统，请帮我预约导师。”智能：好的，请问要预约那一位导师？海尔星老师最近的空余档期是什么时候？蒲云川问道。正在查询中，请稍等。玩家您好，海尔星导师最近档期在4小时后，一共有27名玩家预约，还剩最后3个名额，是否预约？我靠，果然是最抢手的导师。想到此，蒲云川不敢犹豫，连忙点头道：是。预约成功。您预定了海尔星导师枪术专精初级篇指导以及初级战器引导课程，请在4小时后准时到达指定训练场等候，在此之前尽量保持体力，最好2小时内不要申请上工。请玩家注意，预约成功后无法取消，请合理安排您的时间，不要缺课，否则公分会照常扣除。明白。这游戏还真是苛刻呀。蒲云川如此想到。自从基地里多了一群训练导师后，他们绿泰坦日以继日的搬砖生涯终于发生了改变，变成了训练加搬砖。总的来说就是搬砖依旧是主流工作，但在现在搬砖得到的积分有了实质性的作用。通常按工时算，平均12小时的搬砖工时能兑换6个积分，6个积分能用来申请1个小时的专业指导课。他们绿泰坦的职业导师一共有16个，5个是狂化专精训练，剩下的10个则是武器专精的训练，还有一个总教官。总教官现今暂时负责基础训练，主要帮助绿泰坦玩家锻炼肉体，提升基础属性。不得不说，那总教官贼特么的威武，那一身霸道肌肉实在太有说服力了，导致即便他的课程很贵，依旧每天有大量玩家排队等候。当然，除了基础训练，技巧训练成绩也是这次大型任务参与者的审核标准，导致众多玩家最近拼了命的赚积分。技巧课程，蒲云川选择的是武器专精路线，现主攻枪系专精，和传统游戏叮一声就掌握技能不同，这里居然是真的实打实的训练。导师会手把手教你怎么握枪，怎么发力，搞得和武侠小说里一样，教的极为专业，而且真是那种把你从不懂慢慢练成了一个好像能武的像模像样的那种情况，感觉贼特么有意思。他也见识过这游戏的逼真，但没想到细节会做到这种地步，这简直就是妥妥的神作啊！贴吧里那些死喷子还天天在黑，这是个半成品，这群屌丝一辈子也就配赚那5毛1条的钱了。话说这些武学常识感觉很逼真呀，游戏策划是从哪里收集的资料？在现实中能用不？蒲云川这几天经常会想到这个问题，有时候看到阳台上的晾衣杆，都有种忍不住拿起来捂一下的冲动，但怕室友看到后会骂自己二逼，还是没有做出这么二的举动。看着还要等4个小时，蒲云川微微叹气。枪系专精差不多是武器专精系列里最受欢迎的课程了，毕竟现在玩家基本都是华中区的，冷兵器这一块长枪的热度在重兵器里对华中人来说地位实在太高，毕竟华中古代历史里出名的大将都是用枪的，那些拿弯刀或者斧头之类的，要么是山贼，要么是龙套。还有4个小时需要2个小时保持精力的话，那要不先搬2个小时的砖吧。蒲云川如此想到，毕竟最近积分用的太快，不能光出不进啊。想到此，蒲云川决定不再耽搁，熟练的选择了最近的一个矿点，预定了工位后便狂奔而去了。所以说自己又要搬砖赚积分，又要训练冲名次，哪里有时间去理会什么地罩杯啊？即可修，又被预约满了。这些狗玩家一天都不上班的吗？社会要你们这群蛀虫有何用？ 火星某出一个绿泰坦玩家上线后，第一时间就开始预约导师，结果还是提示要等6小时以后，顿时气急败坏起来。除了总教官，游戏里的战士训练导师都要提前预约，通常导师只能同时教导30名学员。按照导师的说法，过了这个数，教学质量就会下降，所以想要上指导课的都得预约，而且还只能根据你学习进度匹配相同进度的玩家一起预约。一开始听到这个规则后，很多玩家表示不解，基地里那么多人，这种规则的话，导师明显不够吧？但事实证明是够的，因为指导的那1小时内容，你空下来花2-3天的时间也不一定能消化得完，还不算你搬砖的时间。智能会自动帮你保存录像，供你闲时自习。很多玩家通常都要4-5天才会申请第2次指导，像他这样2天就能申请一回的，都是积累了上千积分的老玩家了。但他的名次却一直被卡在10名以外。这个玩家叫妖如公狗，原本是和甘地齐名的绿泰坦玩家，在游戏里人见了都给面子的称一声狗哥，但最近地位有所下降，原因是前段时间干过头了，住了次院，积分被有脚气的小仙女赶超，结果居然没能被选上那次采购任务。看着那几个家伙在贴吧里不断发大背景的截图，狗哥心中就不仅暗恨自己没有如自己名字一般拥有2颗强大的狗肾。其实正常情况下，玩家是不会出这种事的，因为你虽然每天上线搬砖很是辛苦，但实际上你地星球的身体是在基地营养舱里抛着的，处于100%放松状态。玩家下线后会感到疲劳，也只不过是精神上的疲劳错觉而已。但这家伙为了赶超甘地，仿若拼了命一般，后面几天都只下线2个小时，又频繁上线，让大脑在疲劳身体和放松身体中不断转换，最终出错，引起休克，差点狗带。这事儿还被赶超他的小仙女嘲讽过，说他不知死活，居然敢和甘地对干，也不查查人家背景。狗哥听了这话，顿时不服气了，还真去查过，想知道那么能干的家伙到底是何方神圣。结果查了才知道，那叫甘地的家伙居然是一个地地道道的程序员出身，而且还是那种26岁就秃的一根头发没剩的大佬，自己果然惹不起。在绝了争第1的心思后，狗哥便放平了心态，专心享受游戏。平时上工也是能划水就划水，对积分也不是很在意了。结果没想到这次领主回来后，居然来了一次大改革，直接就开启了职业训练的通道，让原本只用来显示排名的积分有了偌大用处，而且还宣布了后面会有个大型任务，会择优挑选各个种族的玩家进行合作执行。这又激起了狗哥他极大的热情。本来也是，虽然这游戏画面雕炸，细节完美，但整天除了挖矿就是挖矿，时间长了还是会有一些审美疲劳的。但这次开启了导师训练之后，让绿泰坦原本枯燥的挖矿生涯瞬间丰富了起来。无论是总教官的力量训练、体质训练，还是其他导师的技巧训练，都让他感觉充满了无比的新鲜感。这种一把一式教你练武的真实感，就是在华中一些精品武侠游戏里也体会不到。而且训练过后，那种身体明显的提升，以及那种真的能熟练使用冷兵器的进步感，实在太美妙了，让重生热情的他恨不得每天24小时都待在游戏里面。并且上次没能去参加任务，一直是狗哥的心病，让他耿耿于怀。这次他发誓绝对不能再掉队了。不过赶冲名次的过程却并不顺利。训练方面，他作为曾经差点追上甘地的玩家，积分储存还是比较够量的，但关键就是时间这一块。自从上次他进了医院后，他便被网管局强行拉入了管控名单，规定每天上线不得超过8小时，而且游戏智能也非常配合，每次快到8小时的时候就提示他赶紧下线了，这让狗哥变得极为不方便。特别是技巧训练这一块，技巧训练每天要花大量时间去练习消化，而且好不容易消化完后，想接着课程时，经常又提示导师被占用了，让他又不得不赶紧下线，以免占用自己宝贵的上网时间。可是下线后时间好难熬啊！作为一个不用出去上班的富二代，在现实中除了花钱感觉就没什么事做，就不能让我安安静静在游戏里自力更生、奋发成才吗？唉，什么世道！下了线后，狗哥伸着懒腰从自己豪华游戏舱里慢慢走了出来。显然，这名为公狗的玩家在现实中并没有如他名字那般勇猛，相反，他脸色虚白，年纪轻轻，发际线却已经有30岁的标准，显然是没有良好作息习惯造成的。哎，宝贝，这么快就出来了？别墅里，一个容貌非常柔美的女人一脸关心地问道。狗哥点了点头，便坐在沙发上发呆。现实中的他出奇的沉默寡言。女人见状提议道：“天气这么好，出去逛逛吧，老宅家里也不好。”狗哥，不去热，就是热才好。女人笑道：“天气热，街上的女孩才穿得清凉，满大街的大长腿最解暑了。”狗哥闻言嘴角一扯，撇开头道：“少来，每次我看中带回来，你们都不满意。说白了，最后要和谁来往，还不是你们定。那是你眼光不好，每次带回来的都是拜金女啊。可你儿子，我吸引女孩的地方只有钱呀，用钱砸回来的不是拜金女，难道是烈女？”说到这里，男孩看着老妈漂亮的脸蛋，又看了看沙发旁老妈摆放的小镜子里反射出自己那张平凡的脸，不由疑惑道：“妈，你以前钓老爸的时候是不是整过容呀？为什么你的美貌我一点没继承？”啊呸！那女人闻言顿时呸了一声，怒道：“那是你爹丑，可怪不得老娘我，就你老爹那个样子，我能把你综合成这么副模样，老娘我的基因已经很给力了好吗？”男孩，我爸那么丑，你为什么嫁他？女人，他有钱呀。男孩，女人，其实吧， 儿子你也不算难看，最多是长得平凡了点，要是能把身体锻炼一下，也不是太差嘛。结果年纪轻轻搞得身体那么虚，平时看起来一点男子气概都没有。你老爸不让你去和那群狐朋狗友混了，你就天天宅家里打游戏，确实太不像话了。男孩低头沉默，说实话，他是有些后悔的。14、15岁，身体还没长熟，就被那群酒肉朋友带着天天声色犬马，搞得他现在才20来岁，虚得跟个35岁大叔差不多。对了，过2天老爷子过寿，家里的人都要去，还有很多家的晚辈也会去祝寿。你这2天在家老实一点，少玩点游戏。我叫保姆给你准备了一下补品，好好补补气色。你最好也抽空锻炼一下，让自己看起来精神一些，免得老爷子看到我们娘俩又冷言冷语的。啊！男孩闻言顿时苦着脸，母亲口中的老爷子是他爷爷，是个退伍老军长，性格严板的要死，一向看不惯花瓶的老妈和败家的自己，他平时是能不见就尽量躲着的。而且大寿肯定还有一大堆堂兄堂弟和一些家族的优秀子弟，到时候肯定少不了比较，这种场合最麻烦了。哎，要是自己生活在游戏世界里就好了，哪怕搬一辈子砖呢。领主回来的第1周，相对来说还是比较清闲的，规划方面有智能，自己只要观摩效果就可以。虽然买了那么多物资，但由于玩家规模还没扩大，暂时都是囤着的，还没到大展手脚的时候。现在对现今的西月来说，最主要的问题是如何扩大子民基数。现今基地1万子民已经是极限了，想要扩招，首先要扩大基地规模。基地规模这一块其实问题不大，从9仙领主那里，他买了足够多的大型基地车，30亿的物资已经够他在这火星上创建数个规模不小的城市。但涉及到几个问题，第一个便是导师资源不够的问题。如今仅仅是基地里的玩家，在预约导师的时候都显得极为紧张。这些才招来的新人导师，一天最少都得工作12个小时，虽然都是轻松的教学工作，但很明显是超了联邦规定工时的，自己又没提加班费，这回事长此以往肯定会消磨员工的积极性。想要扩招子民，首先得扩招辅导员，要不然教育资源不够。不过自己一个新建的领主，想要招人很麻烦呀，人才网挂了1个星期了，一点屁没冒。看来只能关注一下其网站有没有组织其他招聘会了。智能的意思呢是先搞积分等级制，新来的玩家必须上工超过200个工时了，才能和老玩家一样申请教学。这个方法倒是可以一解燃眉之急，但终归不是长远之计，所以招人迫在眉睫呀。还有一个问题便是火星里关于地球联邦监视器和探测车的问题了。西月选的位置正好是联邦各国都没探索到的位置，但一旦大规模开始建设，必然会被发现的，该如何规避这些人是个问题。以他所携带的科技水准，想要屏蔽那些探测车和监控问题不大，但如果人为登陆火星了呢？地球联邦如今的科技其实已经具备走出太阳系的能力了。根据智能悄悄调查的数据来看，能登陆火星的国家超过30个。智能的提议是在他们登陆时制造意外，西月并不太赞成。是地球所有人都是他私人财产的西月，并不想损失哪怕一个未来的黄金子民，而且还是能当上宇航员的高端人才。在这种发展期的文明，能当上宇航员的，往往无论是知识储备能力、应用能力以及各方面都是非常优秀的，本身就具备高容纳力的优秀体质，再加上后天成长的素质，对他来说可谓不可多得的人才，当然不会希望有所损失，除非能制造意外把他们抓过来。不过这个操作难度比较大，既要制造意外让地球联系台那边认为这是场普通的空难，又要在飞船信号中断之后快速的把飞船里的人救出来，需要非常精细的计划。如果这次阻止病毒爆发的任务玩家们能出色的完成，后面倒是可以试着让他们组织一下这个任务。说到任务，西月顿时又想起好像离任务时间只有1个星期不到了，也不知道玩家们训练的成果怎么样。西月本想直接看智能给出的测试数据，但想了想，数据只是表面上的东西，真正想要了解玩家进展的，还是得去问那些教官。想到此，西月快步往总校场走去。总校场修建在主基地不远处的平地上，由于考虑到要迅速展开教学，所以西月预先买了一些设施成熟的训练教场，这样不会让这些拿着高薪的员工一来没有事情做。教场的规模是 F 级的，但用来训练一些1级生命体的娃娃是绰绰有余的了。而且设备方面，西月买的都是高级货，至少那个地精是这么对他说的。教场很大，上下3层，占地差不多有数万平方米，材料用的是3级黑云钢，质感极佳。场内铺垫无缝金云瓷砖，用的都是青铜一族专业的符文钢化技术，既结实又美观，而且脚踩上去舒适感极佳。至少表面上看，花的还是挺值价的，应该没被坑吧？西月暗自想到。1楼的大厅主要是供众多泰坦进行力量训练的，到处都是训练体能和肌肉的器材。大厅里，总教官赞达一脸严肃地教导着一批新人泰坦进行规范式的训练。西月并没有打扰他们，而是在一旁静静地等候。他知道教官很忙，子民们花了积分申请课时，肯定也不希望被打扰。于是便静静站了近乎半个小时后，赞达宣布他们自由训练后，他才缓缓走了过去。赞达连忙站直身体，尊敬道：“领主大人。”赞达的尊重是发自内心的，一个是因为他很满意现在的工作，这群绿泰坦的品质远超他的想象，教导起来极为顺手，而且优秀的不是1、2个，他很确定这些绿泰坦只要稍加打磨，个个都会是竞技场的好手。第二个便是这些高资质子民对领主的服从能力。说实话，他还是第一次看到无论干活还是训练都如此积极的子民。 如果不是这些土著民太过朴实，那就只能说明这个领主管理有方呀。无论是哪样，都代表这个新势力前景可期。感觉怎么样，赞达？还习惯吗？西月温和地问道。习惯，习惯。赞达一脸憨笑地点了点头。这里环境并没有想象中那么差，气候温差远比一般8级星球要优越。他虽不太懂建设课程，但也知道这种环境的星球稍加改造变成一个宜居的7级星球完全没问题，并且无论基地设施还是训练场的设施都非常优良，工作环境并不差。唯一缺点就是食物问题。现在大家都还在吃营养液，虽然这些营养液品质并不低，但无论口感还是对身体长期方面都不是很好。这些小家伙训练的怎么样？可有出色的？西月笑问道。虽然看不到领主的笑容，但赞达听出领主的心情还不错，于是咧嘴笑道：都很出色，各个肌肉都长得很好，没有出现变形的情况，体内活性细胞潜力很大。这几天我只是稍稍帮着他们解放那些细胞，这些娃娃成长便像坐飞船一般。说实话，我一开始还以为领主大人您上回带的那几个是模范，结果发现您所有子民都是这种级别，这些土著容纳力恐怕都不小于15%吧。哼，西月微微一笑，却也不答。见领主不回答这个问题，赞达也不介意，而是聊起了吃食问题。领主大人，您得快点准备大量新鲜肉食了。这些孩子细胞活性被解放后，身体需求会很大，光是营养液的话，会对今后的成长造成很大影响。西月闻言严肃地点了点头。战士的培养最离不开的就是新鲜的肉食，而且想要培养高品质的绿泰坦，就需要高品质的肉食。看来等会要去自己采买的高级农场那里逛一逛了。不过在此之前，他得先问一下几个排名高的绿泰坦的具体修行状况。作为西月聘请的绿泰坦总教官，那些技巧训练导师每天都要将学员的详细数据报告给他，他则要根据每个学员所选专精不同来进行针对性的基础训练。狂化专精的主要加强细胞活性开发，多做无氧运动、高压运动以及耐力训练和气血强化训练。这一类玩家是之后最缺肉食的。他曾在竞技场见过一个11级的专修狂化的绿泰坦，每天起码要吃一头5级的心魔息肉，是某个竞技场老板手下的王牌。养他光吃食方面，听说1个月都要花上百万天神币。不过这一类泰坦是最好训练的，不需要考虑体型和肌肉成长线之类的问题。相反，武器专精的学员前期反而相对麻烦，你要时时刻刻盯着他们的肌肉曲线，既要他们拥有战士应有的爆发力，又不能丧失敏捷性。而且针对每一类武器专精的绿泰坦要有针对性不同的基础训练。比如武斗系专精，在肌肉方面首先要保证腹肌、腹横肌，稳定身体核心。核心肌肉为战士和武术家提供爆发力，又能提供平衡性和稳定性。而后加强数几级锻炼，提高背部伸展，稳定核心，还能提高侧踢、扫腿动作的强度。三角肌则和背阔肌肉是作为你出拳速度和力量的保证。而在其他如胸肌这方面，则要适当控制，以免影响你臂展和出拳的灵敏性。武器专精也是一样，不同武器对应的肌肉成长都非常精密。绿泰坦是一个肉体成长很快的种族，如果不在幼时将基础打好，精密控制好肌肉的成长曲线，对今后的发展将会有很大影响。作为总教官的他，必须要和各个辅导员沟通每个学员的情况，根据他的进展来确认下一步肌肉训练的方法。人形的体质是一部精密的机器，想要每个动作都精准无比，则需要最为科学的锻炼。听到领主向他询问最为优秀的一批学员的资料时候，作为天天关注这群小娃娃成长的他，脑海里立刻就浮现了应有的数据。虽然绿泰坦脑部进化比不上纯精神系的种族，但作为一个8级生命体，脑域开发也起码到了4级的水准。别说这几千人绿泰坦的数据，哪怕是几10万他也能详细的记录每个学员的具体数据。赞达很快为西月提供了他所需要的综合能力前15的绿泰坦玩家资料。狂暴系专精综合前5名分别是有脚气的小仙女、节操嘎嘣脆、蓝翔老司机、放荡不羁的腿毛。哎呦我去，少年你这是喜慕啊！5名玩家在熟读这里土著的语言库之后，赞达对这些人的命名表示很奇怪。用他们的话来说，妈老汉取名都那么随便的吗？武器系专精里锻炼的最好的枪系专精占4个，没办法，太受欢迎。对于这一点，赞达有些无语。好像长枪在这个土著民族异常受欢迎，明明是冷兵器里最难锻炼的项目，联邦的战士学院里枪系一直都是冷门，却不想在这里如此受热捧，搞得负责枪系教学的海尔星最近受宠若惊。作为最受欢迎的技巧导师，他每天预约的排表都排得满满的。战斧系和阔刀系一共占4个，武斗系占2个，其他例如长剑、弓箭系、镰刀、匕首之类的轻型武器系几乎没有人选，自然也诞生不了多少人才，这也很正常。绿泰坦是力量型种族，即便走武器大师路线，也是偏向重型武器，像长剑和弓箭更适合一些灵巧的种族。这方面的导师西月是留来给一些化形成战斗精灵准备的，不过精灵那边暂时好像还没有化形成功的，等会看样子还得去精灵导师那里去看看进度。枪系专精锻炼成果最好的第1名自然是干王，并不是说他资质最好，而是他由于积分最多又能干，训练的时间大幅度超越其他人，所以现在各方面暂时都是第1。排名第2的是一个叫冷心的玩家，这个玩家之前名不经传，在积分榜上前30都看不到他，但在综合评价上，赞达却给出了很高的评价，说他很有灵性，进展极快，用古代的说法就是悟性极高，硬凭天资到了第2名。 每天上线时间其实还不到5个小时。所以说，优秀和搬砖勤奋与否真没有太大关系。排名第3的是姬你太美，也属于比较活跃的玩家，但和干王不一样，这家伙资质方面赞达也给出了很高的评价，就是意志力方面经常不容易集中，也不知道是为什么。西月闻言点了点头，这个玩家智能给过他数据，简单来说就是撸多了，导致大脑集中力薄弱，很多宅男都有这个毛病，时间长了便能恢复过来。想到此，西月也将他拉入了任务名单之中。排名第4是玩家妖如公狗，这家伙赞达给出的评价比较两极化。首先，他高度赞扬了这家伙的悟性，几乎和冷星都差不了多少，但在服从性方面很差，比较抗拒基础训练，还经常质疑教官的教学安排。西月闻言疑惑，拿起资料看了看，好奇道：“可我看他训练日程挺合理的啊，你是怎么让他配合的？”赞达冷冷一笑：“毒打一顿就好了。”西月听了评价，西月将这名玩家列入了备选观察名单之中。虽然他的基础能力各方面符合这次任务要求，但性格方面很容易让任务出岔子，除非领头的能镇得住他，这一点需要自己证实一下。如果有更合适的玩家替代他，西月就打算将他剔除这次任务名单。剩下几个扩刀系和武斗系的玩家资料都很正常，属于资质中等，相对于同类而言，但因为积分够高，训练时间够多，所以暂时比较优秀的一批人。西月也做了预留观察，如果后面发现有更合适的，就做替换。狂暴系玩家比较吃天赋，能排名前几的大多都资质不差。让西月没想到的是，第1名居然是小仙女这家伙。现实中她只是一个1米5几的小萝莉妹子，没想到在狂暴系里成绩这么好。果然萝莉都有颗暴力的心吗？最后西月觉得这次任务1-2个攻系专精的游侠类职业还是很有必要的，看来等会得去精灵区那边催进度了。威灵最近的日子过得还算很舒心，一开始来基地之前看到精灵导师只有他一个的时候，他还稍稍有些担心，认为这个领主并不以培养精灵为主，只是心血来潮培养一些精灵而已。这种情况在联邦很常见，精灵具有很高的实用性，但在成型之前又充满了很大的不确定性，这导致很多领主一开始都只是尝试一下，到最后发现达不到预期便会选择放弃。原因在于精灵的成长很多时候无法按照预期而来，通常无论是什么精灵，在幼生期的时候都只是一个毛球，你完全看不出它后面会长成什么。这个时候的精灵需要专业的引导师来进行化形引导，否则很多精灵可能数十年都还是个球。引导师虽然能引导精灵化形，但却无法引导精灵具体化成什么样，这就是精灵的不确定性了。比如领主其实是想要一批精灵刺客，结果却养出一批柔柔弱弱歌祭祀，想要歌祭祀却养出一批树妖，这都还是好的情况。有的精灵长出来你完全不知道那是个什么玩意，有的会变成半人半鸟的蜂妖，有的会变成一坨更大的球，甚至还有人变成驼肥果冻，变果冻的概率还不小。这群种族后面还给自己取了个名字叫史莱姆，由于他们保持了精灵幼生期特有的果干香味，导致很多情况会成为一些人眼中精美的食材，所以来的路上他心中还是很担心的，倘若得不到重用，或者自己在势力里是一个可有可无的存在，那来一个新势力的意义就不是很大了。尽管工资挺高，但来了之后他那悬着的心一下便安稳了。来的时候这个领主的子民大概有7000多个，其中精灵就占2000，从数量上来看，这个领主似乎是打算重点培养出一批精灵子民，这让他当时安心不少。随后在教学之后，他又发现了一件让他极为惊喜的事，这个领主手底下的木精灵品质不是一般的高。木精灵是精灵的远古种，以其极低的容纳力，在联邦成了最难培养的精灵品种，地位和绿泰坦差不多，一般不是非常有钱的大领主是不会培养木精灵的。当然也有领主初期用它们来维护田园和生态的，所以一开始在得知自己是培养木精灵的时候，他还是微微有些失望。以他的认知里，普通木精灵化形起码5年起，差一点的10年都不一定能化形成功，自己短时间是出不了业绩了，颇有种顶级厨师没有上好食材大展身手的遗憾感。但在开始教学之后，这个想法一下便被这些精灵的超高品质给瞬间打脸了。3天，仅仅3天，大部分木精灵都有了化形的征兆，这个效率比他们星光精灵还要夸张。一开始发现这种情况的时候，他甚至认为自己是在做梦，怎么可能？在接下来教导过程中，发现所有精灵几乎都是这种水准的时候，他才明白自己这回恐怕是抱到大腿了。这个领主定然是捡到了一批对精灵基因契合度极高的原住民，看这架势，15%或者20%都有可能。难怪他愿意培养这么多木精灵，难怪他愿意给自己一个新人这么高的薪水，原来是这样。想到此，威灵越发庆幸自己当时果断选择了这里。按照这个领主现有的资质，只要不出意外，发展速度绝对远超一般领主，自己是第一批跟过来的骨干，今后肯定会有一席之地，自己能成为一名高级歌祭司的梦想总算有苗头了。呜呜，老师说的对，自己这样善良的孩子一定会有好运气的。威灵老师，领主找您。就在威灵感叹人生大起大落之时，基地楼下传来学员的声音。威灵回过神来，连忙应道：这就来。作为唯一的精灵导师，领主给他预备的办公场地质量极高，场地大，质量好，应该有的装备一点不少，远超他的预期，完全不输那边绿泰坦的训练场。其实按照他的想法，这些原住民有这么高的精灵契合度，还培养什么绿泰坦？让他们挖矿就行了呗，简直浪费资源。威灵不敢耽搁， 一路小跑到了训练场1楼，看到西月后连忙上前行礼：“领主大人好。”西月点了点头，望着场地里千奇百怪的各种精灵，有些愣愣道：“引导课程怎么样？有什么不顺的地方吗？”“很顺利。”威灵一脸兴奋道：“领主大人手底下的这群木精灵品质非常高，才1周便有现在这种成果的，我都是第一次见。”“是吗？嗨，那就好。”西月轻咳一声，随即又好奇地看了看那些古怪造型的家伙，忍不住问道：“这些后面会变成什么东西啊？”“领主放心。”威灵笑道：“这些精灵化形状态良好，虽然有些多变性，但因为本身品质较高的原因，并不会变成史莱姆那种下等品种的。”“哦，那就好。”西月欣慰地点了点头，随即又问道：“能介绍一下吗？”“好的。”威灵连忙应道，随即带着西月走进了引导室里面，首先指着那些生出翅膀的球道。那些长翅膀的大概率会变成蜂妖，从目前来看，它们身体稳定性和元素感应力都表现良好，应该至少都是2级以上的蜂妖，而且很多可能会带着风雷属性的。哦，风雷属性的蜂妖？西月眼睛一亮，那可是好东西。联邦第7领主手底下就有一支风雷属性蜂妖组成的特种军团，上万高品质的7级蜂妖能瞬间形成19级以上的雷云风暴，曾经瞬秒过一个大领主的星际战队，是联邦里极为出名的顶级军团之一。这玩意要是以后能多一点，以这些玩家的容纳力品质，只要肯玩花钱培养，也不是不可以复制一个这种级别的军团啊。西月心中暗自歪歪道：这些长出花瓣的大多后面都是花灵，散发着绿光的大概率会成为树妖，那种时不时会不断变换形态的，一般都会成为德鲁伊。哦，西月闻言点了点头，露出满意之色。对方说的每一个化形结果他都很满意。花灵能培养星兽和稀有植物，树妖是非常强大的歌舞双修类的敏捷头毛手，德鲁伊就不说了，使用价值非常高的万能职业，在联邦可以说是最受重的精灵职业了。高兴之余，西月又指着左边那坨划过去划过来的肥皂问道：那坨肥皂会变成什么？威灵沉默了一下，最终道：或许就是坨肥皂吧。西月，哎，精灵还能进化成肥皂的吗？西月顿时有些震惊。威灵叹了口气，进化成马桶的我都见过。不是吧？不太懂精灵基因的西月顿时更加震惊了。关键从基因学的角度来讲，这是个什么原理呢？精灵基因是幻想型的。威灵叹气道：现在很多基因学大师也没搞懂精灵基因那复杂变性是怎么回事，不稳定一直我们精灵的一大诟病。哪怕我们星光精灵里有时候也会冒出那种异类品种，化形了都不知道那是个什么玩意，最终就干脆淘汰掉了。不过这些异类品种也不都是劣等货，有时候可能会有意想不到的天赋，比如曾经的影精灵不就是这样，化形出来是一坨黑黢黢的影子，一开始被人嫌弃，结果现在他们一族独有的幽鬼职业被一堆领主抢着要。其实领主大人您可以试着培养一下，万一有惊喜呢？尝试培养嘛。西月望着那坨滑来滑去的肥皂，眼角微微抽搐，总觉得这东西化形的玩意应该不会是什么高端品种吧。可先不说这个，我这次来是想知道有没有化形比较顺利的游侠。游侠呀？威灵顿了一下，点头道：有的，有一批品质很好的游侠马上就要化形成功了，估计在明后天左右吧，应该就能彻底化形成功了。后天嘛。西月搓了搓手，算了算时间，好像还来得及。领主大人是有什么东西要用到游侠吗？威灵望着西月的表情好奇道：有个任务需要用到游侠。西月也不隐瞒：任务让新手游侠去。威灵脸色顿时变得有些古怪，顿时劝道：领主大人，您的这些子民品质很高，成长性都是很好的，万一折在外面了，很可惜的。可不是什么危险的任务，拿给他们积累点经验而已。这样啊。威灵点了点头，随即又道：不过即便化形成功了，也要经过专业的游侠训练呀。游侠训练需要多功能模拟场，还要经验丰富的游侠大师来指导。领主大人可有准备？正在准备当中。西月有些没有底气的回道：其实他完全没有准备，那种能模拟场景的多功能训练场他倒是买的有，虽然不是非常高品质的，但也能将就用了。不过游侠大师嘛，那些猎头一点消息都没有，也不知道到时候能不能赶得上。正随着威灵想要去看一下那批快要成型的游侠的时候，突然西月正面看到一坨螺旋状的东东摇摇晃晃的朝自己走来，顿时退后2步，支支吾吾指着他道：翔，居然还有翔！那驼翔闻言一顿，顿时一脸委屈的看向了领主，周围几个伙伴顿时哄堂大笑。我说你这个是翔吧？你还不承认？我要退游！那驼翔顿时嚎啕道：咦，这声音不是那个老爱写帖子爆料的卢老爷吗？西月顿时有些后悔，这家伙至今为止为游戏宣传做出了巨大贡献呀，自己怎么能这么嫌弃人家呢？正打算安慰对方说没关系，就算你是驼翔本领主也不会抛弃你之类的话时，旁边威灵突然道：这不是翔，领主大人。哦，对，领主顿时也觉得这样安慰会比较好，连忙应和道：本领主看错了，这是驼冰淇淋对不对？噗嗤，周围一群精灵顿时一个个趴在地上狂笑不止，卢老爷顿时浑身憋得通红，见好像起了反效果，西月暗道不妙，正打算再组织一下语言安慰2句的时候，旁边威灵直接打断他道：这是凤种。哦，对，这是凤蛤。西月一愣，指着那一坨懵逼道：你说这是啥？凤种呀。威灵好奇道： 领主没见过吗？我好不容易培养出来的，正打算向领主申请奖金呢。这小丫头钻钱眼里去了。本领主什么时候说培养出凤种了就有奖金的？不对，这不是重点。西月指着卢老爷道：“凤种长这样。”他当然明白凤种是什么。精灵异变里有几种顶级货是非常难得的，一个是奇米拉，一个是精灵龙，但这两种都不如凤种来的稀有。凤种顾名思义就是凤凰，虽然培养价值极为昂贵，但这玩意可是个宝贝，10万个精灵里都不一定能有一个凤种。这丫头不会是在欺负本领主是外行吧？西月顿时有些怀疑起来。威灵眨了眨他无辜的大眼睛，指着卢老爷道：“涅槃呀，不就是这样？这是涅槃。”西月眼睛瞪得滚大，差点从头盔里挤了出来。涅槃！卢老爷和周围玩家先是沉默了一阵，随后瞬间哗然。玩家甲，我去真的假的呀？这驼翔是凤凰？我眼睛要瞎了。玩家乙，我不服，凭什么？玩家丙，那我这坨肥皂是什么？是麒麟吗？呵呵呵。卢老爷则是因为幸福来得太快，一直不停傻笑，都忘记反驳了。你没开玩笑吧？西月靠近威灵，压低声音道：“没呢。”威灵顿时不满道：“我们家族经常出现凤种，我不会认错的。领主大人是在怀疑我的人品吗？”没有没有，西月连忙摇头否定。对方这么一说，应该就是真的了。星光精灵一族是诞生凤种几率最高的精灵种族，这话应该没说谎。太好了，你好好给我盯着他，千万不要让这只凤凰折了。西月顿时兴奋道：“额领主大人！”威灵低声道：“凤种和凤凰是两码事，培养凤凰代价很高的，在我们星光精灵一族都是拥有高纯度基因才敢培养。您的子民虽然容纳力很高，但最多也不过20%吧，这样最多升到5级就很难继续走了。我的意思是引导第2次化形，走凤血祭祀的路线。”不，西月坚决道：“就走纯凤凰路线，其他你不用管，按照这个路线培养就是，差什么对本领主说就是。”这好吧，威灵最终点头道，虽然觉得这样太浪费钱，但谁叫老板是人家呢？西月则是兴奋地搓着手掌，他心中明白，以自己这些子民的高容纳力，极限绝对不止5级，要是能多化形几只凤种就好了，组建一支凤凰军团，我擦，那画面想想就美啊！由于大量物资都还没开始动工，基地除了新增的训练场外，唯一多出来的大型多功能建筑就是那个大型农场了。农场是全封闭式环境模拟的生态循环农场，农场里有自己的昼夜、4季模拟，生态针对农场内各类物种完美循环。物种呢是9仙领主领地里挑选的优秀生物物种，至少那个地精是这么说的。其中最高产量的是红土金块，产自9仙领主4大农业星中红土星的一种高产块茎类产品，粗纤维含量低，为2%至4%，粗蛋白为7%至15%，粗脂肪低于9%，无氮进出物高达67.5%至88.15%，主要成分为易消化的高能量淀粉或物聚糖。特点：量大管饱，生存环境要求极低，在农场内种出成品便可试着往外移种。产量低一点的有绿纤精笋，拥有高纤维低糖的特点，适合战士用来混合肉类补充身体营养。蜜炭瓜，高水分瓜果类产品，除了普通高等蜜瓜所拥有的营养外，还拥有火雨炭的微量矿物质成分，种植条件需要一定火雨林的营养化肥，高端果品，可用于不喜肉食的精灵类，用来补充体内营养。蔬菜和各类成熟产品超过上百种，从介绍情况和营养列表来看，品质倒还不错。西月当时接手时还算满意，此时再次进入农场时，由于大量品种都已经开始试种，西月只觉一片果菜芬芳，顿时觉得浑身舒爽。领主大人来了！出来迎接他的是农学辅导师查理·威朗特尔。联邦威朗特尔一族是很有名的农学大族，他们研究和嫁接出来的农产品一直都以高水准、高产量闻名联邦。虽然在精细稀有植物培养上不如精灵，但却是很多领主最常用雇佣的农学人才。自己势力里选择农学的开发者只有2个，课程清闲的情况下，西月就干脆将这个农场归他管理了。农场基地里还有很多浑身散发着花香味的精灵球飘来飘去，这些是威灵派过来识别植物种类的未化形花灵。第一批丰收是什么时候？西月直截了当地问道。查理连忙答道：“半个月后，这个农场里所有产品特性我已经弄清楚了，大概怎么调节进行无害催熟也有了方案，明天就开始实行，预计半月内就会有第一批新鲜农产品了。”西月闻言满意的点了点头，暗道：终于不用吃那该死的营养液了。肉类呢？西月问起了比较关心的问题。如今基地里那些绿泰坦成长极快，现在肉体还在熟悉基因力量，营养液还可以对付，一旦等他们升到2级之后，就需要大量新鲜肉食来补足营养了。按照赞达的说法，最多1个月，可能一大批绿泰坦就会成功进阶2级。如果在此之前还没能量产肉食，自己就只能进口了。这种农业进口很容易暴露位置，西月是非常不想的。即便是面对看起来那么憨厚的9仙领主，西月也不敢让自己位置暴露。西月明白，别看那家伙看起来如熊猫人一般憨厚，还一副很仗义的模样，但能那么短时间打出那么大片家业，绝对不是表面上看起来那么良善的易主。一旦他知道自己的秘密和坐标，说不定瞬间翻脸，将自己吞得一口不剩。所以回来之前， 他可是花了10万天神币，委托了官方对那30亿物资进行了全面的精密检测，就是为了防止里面有什么能暴露自己坐标的黑科技。肉类的话，农场里赫尔姆黄牛、普多斯星犀、尼康兽都是接近魔兽水准的高能量牲畜，已经开始量产。要是有成熟花灵的帮助的话，大概3个月后就可以开始进行3万绿泰坦规模的供给了。查理很专业的报告道。西月闻言摸了摸下巴，花灵有催生、异化和控制兽类成长的天赋，是联邦里最好的星兽培养师和稀有植物师。如今用来培养牲畜，确实有些大材小用了。可西月也没办法，基地里都是人才，品质那么高的绿泰坦，还不是用来搬砖？有些事情总得有人来做呀。等后面殖民星球多了，这些基础活便可以逐渐移交了。咨询完进度后，西月大体是比较满意的，于是点头道：“辛苦你了。”“不辛苦，不辛苦。”查理连连摆手回礼道：“没有辜负领主大人的工资就好。”他还算比较满意现状，一个8级星球居然能用得上这么高级别的多功能农场，这领主真他外有钱呀！而且他那些子民也是，他刚来的时候，那些精灵都还是原始状态，而且还是最难培养的木精灵。一开始他还觉得这领主真奢侈，这种东西一般领主都只拿来维护田园，他居然还请了专业引导师。结果才几天的时间，他就看到好几十只花灵都快化形了，顿时明白这领主手底下的土著品质居然这么高。他猜测可能是其他大领主暗自培养的小势力，雇佣这种刚毕业的天神来为他培养自己高品质的土著民。这种暗地被别的大领主控制的天神也不是没有，要不然自己等人为什么看不到那些土著民的来源？不过这样也好，虽然是个傀儡，但至少背后有大势力靠着，安稳。想到此，心中还是比较满意现状的，势力安稳，工作环境不差，薪水还高。刚毕业能找到这种工作已经算比较幸运的一类了，毕竟现状联邦市场竞争是越来越大了呀。问完进度后，西月又回到了精灵训练场。他刚才收到人才网发过来的关于游侠大师还有高等魔法使的简历，最让他高兴的是，这猎头居然还给他找到了2个愿意考虑来他这儿的机甲师训练师，并且在明天还会举行一个大型招聘会。西月打算回去一趟，顺带买点基础机甲产品和一些高品质的新兽卵。基础机甲产品是用来给想要成为机甲师开发者用来基础训练的，新兽卵主要针对基地里的花灵。总不能真让这些高品质的花灵一直当牲畜催生的吧？虽然催生工作是要做的，但不能浪费他们的天赋。这次去买点高品质的新兽卵和稀有灵植回来备用，具体买多少得先去问问威灵，他估摸花灵的今后的数目。结果一回去便看到精灵基地里一大堆精灵在那里螺旋旋转，顿时愕然道：“这是在干嘛？”威灵无奈地叹了口气，被刺激了，个个都想把自己身体也转成凤种的那个模样。西月扯了扯嘴角，随即对着智能道：“你去叫那个卢老爷给他一些资料，让他写一篇关于精灵片的攻略，尽量把那些高等种的作用降低，多多提一下正常精灵职业的优势。”智能，领主叫我以什么身份去呢？西月，游戏官方后台。卢老爷今天很开心，可以说一扫之前的阴霾。本来前天化形成那个鬼样子，他心里一直很惶恐。虽然对外号称是冰淇淋，但具体像个什么玩意，自己心里还是有点逼数的。周围人一直在嘲笑他是进化成一个推粪的呢，还是干脆就进化成88。说实话，在这个不允许删号重来的游戏里，无论变成上述哪种情况，他都是不能接受的。如此煎熬2天后，他终于鼓起勇气，决定去问一下导师，自己究竟会变成什么。结果刚一靠近导师，旁边那领主就指着自己惊恐地叫道：“翔，是翔！”那一刻，他心都凉了半截啊。结果导师下一句他是凤种，顿时一种6合彩砸脑袋的感觉，直到现在都还是晕乎乎的。我他妈是凤凰，哈哈哈，还真是皇天不负有心人呀！老爷，我就说，我天天给那官方写帖子吸引流量，没有功劳也有苦劳吧？怎么可能真忍心让我当个推粪的？还在兴奋中无法自拔的他，就突然收到来自官方的邮件了。亲爱的玩家，我祖先卢老爷没有开挂您好。首先，游戏组幕后工作人员非常感谢您对游戏的无私宣传。经过工作组商议决定，为了答谢您对本游戏的支持，特地奖励隐藏职业血统1个。相信您已在游戏里收到。但昨日智能报告，众多精灵玩家对于您拥有隐藏职业这一回事表示诸多不满，所以希望玩家您能再写一篇关于精灵职业片的攻略，以安抚众心。具体资料和文案已经发送您的邮箱，之后本工作室会根据您攻略效果给予您一笔润笔费。也希望玩家您能继续支持本游戏，谢谢。落尾，西月工作室向您致敬。收到邮件后的老爷愣了半晌，大叫：“果然如此！”之后反复看了多遍，顿时泪流满面。自己的努力果然没有白费啊！真是个有良心的工作室啊！祖宗保佑，有了这个隐藏职业，您的子孙一定会在游戏里大展拳脚，重现老祖宗您当年的威风，以游戏为本，再为卢家打下一片偌大家业。想到此，他赶紧就着邮箱地址回复了一封邮件：“官方大佬您好，首先本人非常荣幸能得到游戏官方认可，能代表如此伟大的作品写文，鄙人卢小伟表示万分荣幸。鄙人非常仰慕贵工作组的实力。如此跨时代的作品，却拥有一颗如此善待玩家的心，并且没有使用道具收费这种劣质运营模式，鄙人非常钦佩工作室策划的长远目光，必然竭尽全力宣传，以尽微薄之力，什么润笔费之类的就不要再提了。最后非常感谢贵工作室送我的隐形职业， 中心祝星海大红大紫，成为一代不朽神作。卢老爷看着自己写的邮件，审视了好几遍后，才小心翼翼地发了回去。没想到自己的行为居然能得到游戏官方的关注，实在是一个大大的惊喜。兴奋的他立马婉拒了润笔费这个说法，他才不在乎那点稿费呢。他卢氏家族咖啡馆在他祖宗那一代开得红红火火，虽然到了他这一代衰退了很多，但也不缺那点润笔费啊。相比而言，他更看重这游戏本身的商业价值。这游戏至今没有丝毫制作游戏商城的意思，看样子多半是点卡制或者版本买断制的收费模式了。这代表什么？代表着玩家巨大的商机啊！道具收费，那些 RMB 玩家只要向官方无脑充钱就可以了，高昂玩家能发挥的空间很少。道具商城要是平衡性做得差点的，玩家根本完全没有发挥空间。但如果和暴雪泰坦那款游戏一样，是版本买断制性质就不一样了，大家都站在一个起跑线，那么花费更多时间和精力的玩家就更有优势，也更加具有公平性，高玩的发挥空间也会更大。而那些有钱没时间的大佬，为了更好的游戏体验，他的钱在无法砸向官方的时候，他会砸向哪里？当然是砸向他们这些高玩呀。原本有生之年错过暴雨的泰坦之后，他一直以为自己再没有机会重现老祖宗辉煌了，却没想到正值壮年之际还能遇到这么一款神作，而且还有这种机遇。自己这次要是再不成，那真就是愧对家族血统了。毕竟自己老祖可是能和大魔王五五开的男人，自己的游戏天赋应该也差不到哪里去才对。想到此，卢老爷越来越激动，深吸一口气后，打开了官方邮件给自己的资料，打算好好编辑一下，将文章写好。一来，毕竟官方看好自己，自己又这么上道，说不定今后还会优惠自己一些好东西，这可是难得后门，所以事儿一定得办好喽。第二嘛，自己这个隐藏职业的确也太张扬了，人都是不患寡而患不均的习性，自己这个隐藏职业可能会引起有心人的妒忌，写好这篇文章也可以给自己降低一些风险。于是他专心读阅起了资料，这一读顿时浑身一颤，这个游戏职业体系还真不是一旁的庞大，如果不是前期这游戏表现得太过给力，他甚至都怀疑这游戏能不能平衡得了如此庞大而复杂的职业体系。仅精灵一族就有这么多职业，上面还说后期还会开发更多种族，顿时心中越发期待这游戏后期会变成什么样子。西月在另一头看着邮件里对方连润笔费都不要了的时候，顿时微微惭愧，将子民自身的天赋能力归功与后台的赠送，这个套路是不是太脏了点？难道自己真是个黑心领主？这肯定只是因为贫穷暂时的权宜之计，今后本领主发达了，绝对会善待这批朴实玩家的。叮，尊敬的西月领主您好，您预约的极为高级求职者已经定好面谈日期，是否赴约？这声音让正想事情的西月一愣，随即反应过来应该是自己人才网的邮件里收到的回应，连忙点开看了看内容，上面说猎头推荐的那几个高级导师都愿意和自己面谈一下。西月看到此心中一震，站起身来搓了搓手，吩咐智能帮自己多多关注一下精灵那边的化形进度之后，便准备收拾一下，单独出一趟远门。只要这些东西搞定了，自己第一批基本战斗力和后面大面积开拓星球计划就要提上日程了。大家好，我是你们最爱的卢老爷，是不是很意外，老爷我居然能如此高产？想必有些收到小道消息的网友可能已经知道了。没错，卢老爷我变凤凰了。那些期待老爷后面推分的网友，老爷只能说让你们失望了。哇哈哈哈哈！好，言归正传，由于这次我获得的隐藏职业让很多精灵玩家发出了抗议，所以官方找到了本老爷，让本老爷出一篇精灵攻略，给大众稍稍解释一下。至于为什么他们自己死活不做一个官网，本老爷也不得而知呀。首先说一下精灵特性，精灵一族的职业都是要化形后才知道，也就是说，所有选择精灵族的玩家，你们的职业都是随机的，怎么样？刺不刺激？惊不惊喜？哈哈哈，开玩笑的。虽然这个设定很多人或许会有抗拒，但也有其魅力所在，会显得很有特色。老爷我敢说，现今来讲，精灵族绝对是最有特色的一族，因为它的化形跟你本身的个性有很大关系。对，你没看错，游戏会根据你的个性来让你拥有最为适合自己的职业，虽然有点为你做主的意思，但在之后你会发现，游戏给你选择的绝对是非常适合你的。这一点不是卢老爷替官方洗地，这是有真实数据的。基地里那群快化形成功的玩家，每个人在知道自己职业特性后，都会感觉异常适合自己，不仅在训练上得心应手，接触自己职业内容的时候，至今没有一个是不满意的。如果你还是想自己做主，游戏并不是只有精灵一个种族，选择还有很多。根据卢老爷得到的小道消息，游戏不久后会开放很多新的种族，所以大家不用担心游戏选择性单一的问题。而那些不知道自己该选择什么的玩家，卢老爷强烈推荐精灵一族，因为智能绝对会给你选一个最适合你的职业。下面我为大家普及一下现今出现在基地里的所有精灵玩家化形的职业，让大家对精灵一族有一个大概的认知。如今化形最多的是一种像萝卜一样的东西，哈哈，好吧，是人形的精灵。导师说这是最常见的精灵化形，成为行者。这种化形对应的职业很多，根据导师所说，主要看能量集中在哪一块。下肢骨健壮的一般爆发力比较强，适合做游侠；上肢骨比较健壮，臂力会比较好，可以做剑士或者专业射手。而如果化形能量都集中到精神力一块去了，就比较适合做个祭祀。上述几种情况只针对行者，行者相对来说有一定自主力， 比如你明明下肢骨强壮，但就是想做游侠，也是可以的，只不过初期进度会慢些，而且会丧失一些优势，但都可以用时间弥补回来，属于可后期改造的类型。而剩下我要说的那些就是纯没得选的了，是什么就是什么，玩家没有任性的机会。基地里关于这一类出现的最多的一共有7个品种，分别是风妖、花灵、树妖、德鲁伊、守望者、石灵、木灵。下面我一一为大家介绍一下这7种常见类型的特性和职业资料。风妖，那些化形后长出翅膀的大部分都是风妖了，据说是半人半鸟的模型，形态会非常好看，有锋利的羽毛作为武器，是现今唯一一个1级就会飞的职业，怎么样？羡不羡慕？而且听说越到后期飞行速度越快，资料上说8级以上的风妖可以肉身在宇宙中飞行，直接参与星际作战，是联邦非常受欢迎的兵种，选到这个职业的玩家可以松一口气了，绝对是后期大热门职业。花灵，凡是身上带着花香，还时不时飘出花瓣的，大多都是花灵了。这一类职业比较偏向内敛和细心的人，听说化形成功后模型极为美丽，花灵拥有培养星兽和稀有植物的能力。资料上说，后期可以成为优秀的星兽训练师和植物师，听起来应该是带宝宝作战的那种职业。官方还给我看过一些威武星兽的模型，简直帅爆了！喜欢宠物的玩家可有福了。冒绿光的大多是树妖，看模型好像是一种半人半鹿的生物。资料上说，他们既有歌祭祀的天赋，又有顶级头毛手的臂力，看来是魔武双修的职业。木灵和石灵很好辨认，一个化形时浑身会被石块包围，一个则会在自己球体身上长出很多藤叶。这2个职业好像偏元素使，听说可以直接沟通元素，培养高级的元素巨人，属于高端法爷类职业。德鲁伊大家都懂的，很多西方游戏里都少不了的热门职业。听说后期高级的德鲁伊能变身100丈的星际魔兽，硬汉星际武器，也不知道是不是夸张。最后说一下守望者这个职业，资料上说这是一种很有空间天赋的稀少职业，主要后期是往刺客方面走。这类职业到后期拥有熟练操作空间的力量，能穿梭各种复杂地形，潜入最严密的基地都不在话下，是联邦最后欢迎的刺客苗子。这一类化形的玩家平时看起来和以前一样，但时不时会突然一下就瞬移到几米远的地方，所以友情提示一下这一类玩家，化形期间最好在训练场中心活动，免得一不小心瞬移到训练场外面就被晒成干了，又会沦落成为别人的口粮。基地里已经出现了好几起这种惨案了。好，说完常规职业，我来说一下不常规的，类似卢老爷我这种就属于不常规的化形。我们这一类奇形怪状，前段时间可谓郁郁寡欢呀，有的像个铁锤，有的像坨肥皂。卢老爷，我就直接是坨屎的形状，在精灵群当中简直就是异类。导师也不说你后面会变成什么。上次卢老爷如果不是领主路过问了一下，我可能到现在都不知道自己这驼翔居然是只凤凰。哈哈哈哈，还真是峰回路转呀！所以在这里，我要劝基地里那些异形兄弟姐妹不要自暴自弃，万一你是只麒麟呢？是不是？这里老爷我也大概分析一下，虽然官方还没公布，但我觉得我们这类异形应该就是非正统的隐藏职业，所以再次劝导那些已经化为奇形怪状的精灵玩家们不要丧气，也许下一秒你就变成高端品种了呢。要学学肥皂兄，你看他每天在基地里滑来滑去，不知道多开心呢。最后，大家可能关心我这只凤凰到底有些什么优势。说实话，老爷我暂时还没看出来。虽然名字听起来挺炫酷的，可到现在依旧一坨屎的模样，化形进度贼慢。听导师说我这样的化形可能要按月算，而且即便化形成功，也没有专业的技巧导师做辅导，在进化上面会有很大阻碍。想必这就是游戏给我的平衡性了吧？想想也是，这么大规模的一款游戏，怎么会不考虑职业平衡性的问题呢？所以大家也不用太过羡慕老爷，我这个还不知道是好事还是坏事呢。最后还是说一下总结，精灵这个种族比起绿泰坦那种纯战士种族要丰富得多，游戏体验也完全不一样。总的来说还是很有意思。如果你没有特别固定想玩的职业，又想尝试一下新鲜玩法，精灵会是一个不错的选择。再告诉大家一个好消息，在不久后服务器会扩充，到时候排队可能会比现在宽松得多。老爷会时刻关注这方面的信息，到时候会第一时间通知广大玩家，相信很快就会有更多玩家能体验到星海的魅力了。就这样，老爷去也。卢老爷这边帖子一发，星辰评测公司那边第一时间便将他帖子推送到了首页，不到5分钟，帖子下面就有了上万条评论。根据性格随机，真的假的？游戏怎么测出我性格的？请了专门的心理大师吗？而且既然是根据性格配备职业，老爷你心灵和样貌都那么丑陋，为什么会是只凤凰？不应该变成一只貔貅吗？楼上正解，我也觉得这个解释不科学，不过也不重要，这种随机模式挺有新意的。我更关心你说的服务器扩充的问题，真的假的？可不要忽悠我们呀！我排队都排了1个月了，他歪的还没排进去，宝宝心里苦呀！哎呀，你这个攻略怎么不早点出呀？我还以为我没化形成功呢，一点都没变，而且还经常出现在莫名其妙的地方，还以为是游戏卡了，原来是守望者啊！不早说，结果后面一下出基地被晒成干了，又要从头再来，也不知道重新化形会不会还是一样的。能穿梭空间的职业听起来好酷啊！哇，同胞啊，我开始也以为是自己卡了，麻蛋，气死老娘了！话说那坨肥皂后面会变成什么啊？我挺好奇的。是啊，我也挺好奇的。 难道真会变麒麟？屁嘞！螺旋的那坨是涅槃，还稍稍能勉强说一下。肥皂变麒麟是什么鬼？你们说他会不会就是坨肥皂？楼上的是要笑死我，这游戏不会那么坑爹吧？肥皂的职业技能是什么？100%被人捡吗？西月在路上看到这条评论时，顿时也有些为难了。这以后该如何向那个肥皂同学解释呢？我去，凤凰都来，卢小伟那小子狗运气不错啊！游戏舱里被强制下线的狗哥无聊地刷着手机里的攻略，看到卢老爷那张热门攻略帖子后，顿时嫉妒起来。隐藏职业是个大佬，自己要不要请他出来掐顿李庄白肉，加深兄弟感情呢？感觉好久都没联系他了呀！哎呦，祖宗哎，你怎么还在这里宅着？狗哥刚坐下没多久，便看到自己老妈连妆都没化，就急急忙忙从楼上跑下来。怎么了？狗哥莫名其妙道：“你没接到你爸给你打电话？”狗哥闻言看了看手机，想了2秒后恍然道：“哦，忘记交话费了。你这孩子！”女人顿时拍了一下他乱松松的脑袋，都快宅成神仙了，有什么事吗？狗哥好奇道：“他老娘的性格他还是很清楚的，整天忙着和闺蜜逛街打牌，哪有时间管自己？要不自己能宅进医院，还不是你那个古板的爷爷？”女人顿时气道：“说什么不想大寿的时候看到你那副未老先衰的鬼样子，特地叫了个老兵来给你锻炼身体，说让你长点男子气概。我去，老妈你不早说！”狗哥顿时跳了起来：“我得去姨妈那里躲躲。”躲个屁！女人一把揪住要溜的他道：“这次你是想都不要想着跑，不光是你爷爷，你老爹也是下了死命令的。你老爹发话了，你老娘我那边的亲戚可没谁敢收留你的。”老爹？狗哥愣了一下，真稀奇，他什么时候有时间来管我了？还不是你方叔叔？以前刚生你的时候，两家定了娃娃亲，这么多年后，你方叔叔后来越混越好，女儿又争气，又是清华又是留学联邦新州学府的，你爹后面也识趣的没提这件事。没想到这次你方叔叔主动提起，说等下个月他家小家回华中区了，让2个孩子处一处，这种好事可把你爹砸得晕头转向，给我打电话时都乐呵得语无伦次了，特别叮嘱了这次要你好好表现表现。表现个锤子！狗哥顿时捂脸：“老妈，方小家那女人你又不是没见过，傲得跟什么似的，他家那个老娘也明显看不起你出身，怎么会让女儿嫁过来？这么多年一点这方面的意思没表现，突然提起，肯定是出了什么事。能出什么事？”女人顿时白了他儿子一眼：“你方叔叔事业好得很，家族企业股票一路飙升，你以为像你老爹那个企业那样半死不活的？没你几个叔伯帮衬，说不定早没了。你说人家还图你老爸什么？狗哥，那就肯定是惹了风流债，回来让我接盘的。”女人闻言却没有第一时间反驳，眼中明显闪过一丝闪躲。狗哥见状立马跳起来：“我靠，还真是！你们这也太做得出来了吧？我是不是你们亲生的呀？这孩子说什么混账话呢？”女人干咳一声后嗔怪道：“你可是老妈我怀胎10月辛辛苦苦掉的肉啊，怎么可能坑你吗？这还不是为你好？你看你现在一事无成，你老爹的企业落你手里，估计也是完蛋。有个给力岳家，这不是给你铺路吗？接盘怎么了？这种好盘，别人想接还没得接触呢。狗哥，再说现在的女孩子，哪个结婚前没耍过几个男朋友？你老妈我当年1个月换一个，你老爹不接得上好？”哼，狗哥不上当的摇头冷笑：“真是那么简单，会轮到我来接这个盘？老妈，你还想蒙我？不说实话，这小兔崽子玩几个月游戏咋变得这么精明？难道老娘机智的血脉在他体内觉醒了？”女人暗自咬牙，但表面上却面不改色道：“那你说说，还能是什么情况？”这狗哥觉得一时间也想不出来，顿时有些语塞。一天想东想西，赶紧给我去外面把你那一头油毛好好理一下，下午就带你去见你爷爷推荐过来的那个老兵叔叔。我跟你讲，下午见面时放规矩点，那可是你爷爷几10年的老护卫兵，当年是给你爷爷挡过子弹的关系，见面记得叫一声刘伯伯，你爹见面都得叫一声刘大哥。哦，狗哥嘴上回应，但总觉得老妈是在转移话题。快去快去，剪个精神点发型回来，这邋遢的模样，等会又要被你老爹说。狗哥被从家里赶出来后，狗哥一路在街上游荡，他没有选择让管家开车接送，而是选择自己走一走，毕竟自己好像快半年没在外面走过了。此时正值6月，又是大中午的时段，毒辣的太阳让整个街道都变得很冷清，稀稀疏疏就那么几个行人。狗哥看了看手机，上面提示今天气温43度，这种地面说不定都能煮鸡蛋的鬼天气，没人出门也正常。不过狗哥却莫名觉得还好，太阳看似毒辣照在身上，却没有想象中那么夸张。难道是自己玩游戏习惯了火星那毒太阳的缘故？在游戏里以前没宿舍的时候，他们有时候下线矿点没有位置，直接就在外面挖个坑就睡了，第二天从那烧红的沙子里爬出来，屁事没有。对比起那里的昼夜温差，这个太阳简直不要太温柔。不过自己为什么会这么比较？那可是游戏啊，游戏里自己皮糙肉厚，现实中风吹就到。想到此，狗哥晃了晃脑袋，一路打着哈欠走到了一个看起来装修还行的理发店，看了看的价格，普通洗剪吹要100联邦币，高级理发师操刀要300，店长亲自操刀要500。顿时撇了撇嘴暗道：真黑。联邦币的购买力并不低，如今金融市场稳定，货币价值一直维持得很好， 一个苹果的最新手机也最多4000，普通学生1个月生活费恐怕都没有500，这里个头发却这么贵，不得不说这生意还真好做。如今人工智能盛行，以前很多热门岗位都遭到了冲击，但相反像一些手艺活却慢慢吃香起来，理发、餐饮、木工雕琢、摄影之类的服务行业反而越发繁荣起来。想想也是，社会福利好了，宅的人多了，人工服务代价变得更高，也符合市场原理。哟，兄弟，理发还是烫头？店长见有人来了，连忙一甩中午的困意，热情迎接。有没有熟悉的理发师？要不要给你推荐一个？狗哥，谁是店长？鄙人就是。店长搓了搓手，笑道。狗哥摆了摆手，一副富家子弟的语气道：“那你来剪吧，剪得好，多少钱无所谓。”面对如此豪气的话，店长却没有接茬，而是笑容一收，后退了2步，靠着沙发眯眼道：“小兄弟想剪个什么样的发型？”狗哥想了一下，回道：“能找媳妇的。”店长闻言沉默，掏出一支烟点上，吸了满满一口，随即长叹一声，悠悠道：“看来小兄弟今天是来砸场子的呀。”狗哥，小祖宗哎，怎么才回来啊？你爸电话都要打爆了。别墅里，女人听到楼下熟悉的脚步声，顿时赶紧拿着电话蹭蹭下楼，一脸埋怨。可刚一到楼下，看到儿子模样，女人手中正准备给老公打电话过去的手机，哐当一声就掉在了地上。儿呢？你这发型哪儿剪的？对面那男孩有些不好意思的扣了扣头。这个剪得不好吗？那理发师说是祖传的渣男烫，还说如果这个发型都找不到媳妇的话，以后就不用在头发上做功夫了，考虑整形或者男科医院。剪得太好了。女人顿时抚掌而叹，你那么一张肾虚的脸都能剪成正常人模样，简直就是鬼斧神工呀！把那家店地址给我，妈晚上就去办张会员卡。狗哥，在老爹不断催促下，母子2人一路慌慌张张到了约定地点，但让狗哥诧异的是，地点居然不是饭店或者高档会所之类的，直接就是一个健身中心，心中顿时忐忑道：不会今天晚上就要开搞吧？这雷厉风行的作风，真不愧是当兵的呀！走进健身会所，在前台的带领下，母子2人一路走到了最里面的 VIP 档的健身房。里面是给专门1对1请教练健身的 VIP 客户准备的，会根据你要锻炼的情况给你配备私人器材。此时里面的跑步机上，一个浑身肥成一团的中年人在上面死命奔跑着，满脸憋得通红，浑身汗如雨下。狗哥瞄了一眼时速，2.3公里每小时，才跑了7分钟，不仅眼角一抽，暗道：这种老年人跑速都能几分钟跑出这么多水来，老爸怎么办到的？难道这就是传说中的注水肉？是雨来了。中年人见母子2人到了，连忙趁机关掉了跑步机，很灵敏的从上面跳了下来。看得狗哥再次眼角一抽，老爹这瞬间展现的身手一点也不像一个200斤的胖子，果然只有在偷懒的时候，胖子才能展现异于常人的能力啊！快来见过你刘伯伯。胖子不等身后那人发话，连忙一脸热络的介绍道：不要拿你儿子打幌子，说好的半小时1分钟都不许少，还差23分钟，等会跑完才许走。胖子闻言脸色顿时苦了起来，刘哥这么久没见，要不要那么认真？孩子面前多少给点面子呀！身后那方脸中年人依旧不苟言笑，正声道：你那身体再给面子就真废了。刘伯伯，狗哥上前礼貌地打着招呼。那中年人听到这声招呼，这才正眼看向了狗哥，这个自家老领导口中最不成器的孙子。每每老人家一提起，他都没好脸色，说这个孙子比他老子还不如，年纪轻轻，一副虚的要死的模样，看着就眼睛胀。但此时看上去却并没有想象中那么不堪，脸色是苍白了点，显得气血虚浮，应该常年声色犬马或熬夜造成的，但并没有完全失去年轻人的朝气，特别是那一双眼睛，很有锐气嘛。并不像老领导说的那般畏畏缩缩。想到此，他微微点了点头道：您跟我过来。这姓刘的中年人带着男孩走到了里面，随即正声道：客套话就不说了，老人家叫我来操练一下你，长点男儿气概。身为他老人家的孙子，我也觉得很有必要。今天先测试一下你的体能情况，明天我会根据你的具体情况进行任务训练。你放心，你还年轻，怎么练都不会死的。狗哥，先做2组卧推我看看。是，刘伯伯。狗哥一言躺下，拿起了一根空杆，深吸一口气后缓缓举起。狗哥老爹见自己儿子第一时间就选了一个空杆，顿时摇头叹气。刚才在外面，他看到很多女孩子都能一边加个10公斤单片，也难怪老爷子会说这小子没一点男子气概。但那个刘伯伯却不这么看，而是有些诧异的扫视了一下那个孩子。常年没来健过身的人，第一时间选择空杆是很明智的选择，毕竟空杆也是有20公斤的，一般新人想要完整的举起它，其实并不是那么容易。很多人第一次做卧推时，都只能勉强驾驭一根空杆，而且还会时不时不稳定的左右乱晃。但这小子动作很标准，背部紧贴卧推凳，没有一丝缝隙，小腿和地面自然垂直，显然是为了尽量避免起翘。最重要的是，做卧推时，他那呼吸节奏和身体配合简直堪称完美。精通锻炼的人都知道呼吸配合的重要性，特别是像他这种练过内家拳的，更加明白呼吸对于锻炼的意义有多重大。这种呼吸节奏，就是自己这种老内家拳的拳师都不一定敢说自己随时能保持这种状态。这小子应该是刚好撞到的吧？想到此，他问道：夹片的话，能继续吗？狗哥顿了一下，随即有些不确定道：不知道，没试过。那便试试吧。 老刘不由他拒绝，直接在单杠旁一边加了10公斤的单片，随后道：“举了试试。”狗哥脸上露出一丝苦涩，但不敢违抗这个长辈。别看这个刘伯伯只是老爷子曾经的一个护卫，在家里地位可是很高的。听老妈说，家族里最有出息的大伯，看到他都得尊敬的叫声刘哥。他深吸一口气后，用力举了一下，只瞬间就知道自己力气不够，顿时也有些尴尬。这个重量，恐怕很多稍稍锻炼过的女孩子都能举得起吧。突然有些怀念游戏里的自己了，在游戏里他可是能搬几吨砖的真男人。力气不够的情况下，他自然不能保持现状的专业姿态了，身体开始有了起桥的动作。旁边的胖子老爹看到了，连忙叫道：“起桥了，起桥了，赶紧把姿态放正。”闭嘴！刘伯瞪了那看戏的胖子一眼，随即转身对着狗哥道：“你继续。”很多做卧推的人都认为起桥是不标准的动作，甚至很多健美先生还夸大起桥的副作用。但事实上，在需要突破力量瓶颈的时候，起桥是很有必要的。上半身力量不够，人体下意识就会借用腰腹的力量，身体便会拱起。这并不是说不可以，只要动作得当，反而会有助于你突破现今力量瓶颈。要不然，你就算动作再标准，一辈子都只能举个10公斤单片有球用。果然，狗哥在借用腰腹力量之后，开始推不动的举重器居然勉强的举了起来。老刘稍稍靠近了一步，大部分没经验的人在突破力量时一个操作不当，可能会伤到自己。他靠近，准备随时支援。但让他诧异的是，这孩子比他想象中要稳，即便是突破力量这种不稳定的情况下，他的节奏依旧完美。随着时间推移，狗哥慢慢熟悉了那个重量，身体也开始试着回趟，不再借用腰腹之力，居然也能勉强推得动这个重量了。过程非常流畅，让刘伯这个专业的部队训练师都挑不出半点毛病，顿时好奇问道：“小雨，你以前练过？”狗哥一愣，说实话还真没有，游戏里算不算？见对方没回答，刘伯微微眯了眯眼，随即道：“你起来。”狗哥忐忑地放下举重器，从卧推器上缓缓起身，呼吸由重转轻，没有一点违和。刘伯见状，眼中闪过一丝异芒：“你对着这个打一拳给我看看。”哎，狗哥闻言望着刘伯指着的那个拳力测试器，微微发呆。刘哥不要开玩笑吧，那个是专业测试器，低于80千克都是不上当的。老爹赶紧解围道：“他那个儿子他是知道的，虚的手无缚鸡之力，等会要是灯都打不亮，就太丢人了。”狗哥微微皱眉，自己老爹一副很了解自己有多没出息的模样，让他心里微微有些不舒服。明明一天到晚在外面鬼混，都没管过自己。想到此，他想起了游戏里教官关于他发劲的技巧，下意识的沉腰立马，深深的调整呼吸，几块核心肌肉随着自己的呼吸从放松慢慢绷紧，节奏保持了惊人的一致。瞬间，狗哥猛地睁眼，眼中一道光芒闪过，气势瞬间变得凌厉起来。砰！209 kg， 一个标红的数字让后面喝水的胖子老爹瞬间一口水从鼻孔里呛了出来，猛地呛了几声后，愕然道：“我擦，这测试器坏了吧？”刘伯则是将眼睛眯成了一条线，他一点不怀疑这个数据。虽然一个看起来无比肾虚的孩子打出了近乎职业拳手的力道，说出来有点扯，但那出拳的节奏之流畅，几乎将身体利用到了极致。不考虑身体的话，这一拳绝对是一流拳师才能打得出来的一拳。小雨练过武？刘伯突然问道。啊？狗哥愣愣地望着那个数字发呆。听到刘伯的问话后，回过神来的他顿时慌乱道：“没有啊。”随即有些不可思议地看向自己的拳头。说实话，他甚至有点相信自己老爹的观点，是不是测试器坏了？从健身中新出来的老刘，在与娜娜一家子告别后，漫步走到了一个比较安静的大道上。走了良久后，最终还是拿出了手机，给自己的老上司打了电话过去。喂，小刘呀，怎么样？在那边住的习惯不？电话那头传来一阵中气十足的声音。有些不习惯，老刘脸上难得的露出了笑容。太湿热，还是咱老北城好。哈哈。电话那头传来爽朗的笑声。这么快就想翘工回来了？怎么？那小混账是不是完全没得救了？这倒不是。刘伯顿了一下，压低声音道：“老领导呀，您这孙子可能不简单呢。”哦，检验结果怎么样？中州 C 市的都督在办公室里问着去打听情况的秘书。这已经是封锁学校的第3天了，几万个学生啊，外面家长天天都在外面堵着，对外舆论更是饱受压力，甚至联邦总长都亲自过问了。他这个地区行政长表示有些扛不住呀。秘书犹豫了一下，还是实打实的报出了检测中心那边传过来的坏消息。经过检验，那只猴子的确感染了这次的未知新病毒。都督闻言顿时咯噔一下，这还真是最坏的消息啊！这代表那个动物园和那只猴子有过接触的护理员以及家属都会被强制隔离，几万学生的封锁期会无限加长，直到那个投食的学生被找出来为止。都督，新闻台方面一直在要求我们给予大众知情权，我们要不要出面解释一下？现今那些家长的情绪是越来越不稳定了。秘书弱弱地问道。解释？怎么解释？都督白了他一眼，无奈地挠着自己那几根稀疏的头发。如今封锁的情况，自己不去解释，那些家长可能还只是急躁，一旦解释，说不定直接就暴动了。总检中心那边针对学校情况给出的方案是寝室管理制度，虽说是迫不得已，但这说出去却是不符合人道的。因为一个寝室至少4人，这种管理方案虽然可以避免大面积感染， 但弊端就是那不肯承认的那个学员一旦染病，他3个室友铁定跟着完蛋。这种方案要是说出去，现今绝对会引起大面积新闻抨击，家长情绪一旦被有心人挑动，也可能会瞬间失控，因为谁也把不准自己家的娃娃是不是那3个倒霉蛋之一啊。如今的局势就是要死撑着不说，让那个不愿承认的学生发病，等尘埃落定，相信除了那4个学生的家属会愤怒，其余躲过一劫的学生家长反而会转过头来感激他们。虽然很现实，也很残忍，但有时候不得不这么做。想到此，他拨打了地区军方的电话，说明了情况，希望再加派兵力将局势稳住。只要拖过这段时期，即便后面他有了黑点，导致不得不内退，但也好过后面暴乱导致局势崩溃。万一病毒再扩散出来，那他真就是百死难辞了。想到此，他心中居然开始盼着那个染了病毒的学生赶紧发病吧，早死早超生，不要连累别人呢。正想间，那秘书突然接了一个电话，原本有些低沉的脸色，在听到电话里的消息，顿时神色一震。你说什么？行政长顿时眉头一皱，这小王什么情况？这种糟心的时候还咋咋呼呼的，如此不稳重，自己要不要换一个秘书？总督，秘书兴奋道，那个学生主动自首了。什么？总督闻言猛地一下从办公椅上站了起来。真的？是的，刚才封锁队那边传来消息，是 B 区一个女学生主动承认的，经过心理师核实，应该不会错。好好好，总督顿时搓着手笑道，好孩子，有大局观，是个勇敢的孩子。随即连忙问道，那他室友第一时间控制起来没有？秘书闻言连忙拿起电话询问，但随即原本兴奋的脸色突然僵硬了起来。怎么了？行政长看着秘书的表情，心中顿时升起一股不安，生怕再出幺蛾子的他，声音都变得有些小心翼翼。秘书吞了口唾沫，有些不敢看行政长，最后还是老实道，那边说有个室友跑了。你说什么？跑了？负责封锁学校的高级军官一脸铁青地看着负责报告的下属，气急败坏之下还有些不可思议。你们那么多人，好歹也挂着专业特种的名号，让一个20来岁的小姑娘跑了，你们特么的演我是吧？负责封锁那个寝室的小队长也不好意思地低着头，说实话，他们一个班10来个人，还是特战队出身的，眼睁睁让一个小女孩跑了，说出去真是丢死个仙人。军官气了半晌之后，还是冷静了下来，问道：说说具体情况。小队长硬着头皮回述了当时的情况，大概是下午2点的时候，由于电路出了问题，43度的天气没有空调，还被强行锁在宿舍，让很多学生都爆发了不满，骂骂咧咧地诅咒那个隐瞒情况的人。小鱼那个宿舍也是这样，在2个女士有不断咒骂的情况下，原本这几天心理压力极大的新雅顿时再也绷不住了，主动敲门选择了自首。在得知这个消息后，小队长不敢怠慢，先是通知了上面，而后呼叫隔离组带隔离服过来，却没想到里面其中一个见状赶紧跑回了自己宿舍，还反锁了房间门。当时他们也没在意，想着等隔离组来了之后再进去抓人，却没想到等隔离组到了之后，强行破门的他们在打开房门后，居然发现里面那个叫郭小云的女孩消失不见了。当时的小队长看了一眼，房间窗户是打开的，但第一时间却只是冷冷一笑，暗道这个小姑娘电影看多了，竟会耍些小聪明，这里可是6楼，傻叉才会信她会从窗户那里跳下去。当即带着队友把门后和衣柜位置搜了个遍，还有那个紧闭的游戏舱从外面强行撬开，可搜完之后他们发现居然真不见了。我勒个擦，难道真跳下去了？当时的队长也慌了，赶紧从窗户往下看了看，宿舍外面都是空调外机，理论上来说胆子大一点，操作细腻一点，不是说不可能爬下去，但一个20来岁的学生有这种魄力，还是个女孩子，这还不说外面温度那么高，那些空调外机烫的能把煎五花肉都煎个7分熟，光说胆量这一块，他这个特种兵出生的也不敢随随便便跳空调外机下楼呀。你以为拍电影呢？但如果人家真的办到了呢？当时想到这一点的小队长只感觉浑身一凉，说实话，如果是真的，他这个队长这次真要背大锅。因为楼下本来是有人看守的，但因为目标锁定了，所以人手都被他调了上来。这么一总和，好像全是他的锅啊。